Tantor Audio, a division of recorded books, presents Marked by the Devil by Joanna Blake, narrated by Troy Duran and Kendall Taylor. The night it all changed. Call away. Not tonight, ladies. I felt a little guilty about all the disappointed faces, but I had somewhere to be. A birthday to celebrate. And to be honest, I was kind of bored with the constant hooking up with the club girls. They were more than just easy. They were literally always available and down to do just about anything a truly perverted mind could think up. Some of the guys called them skanks, but I did not think that was a nice way to talk about a lady. Of course, that did not mean I had not spent many a night fucking them stupid. Usually 2 or 3 at a time. More than a couple of times, 4 and twice 5. Yeah, I am kind of a legend around here. Not just for the way I use my ink gun either. I am the latest addition to the inner circle of the club. I had come up with whiskey and had been brought inside on his word. Devlin, Jack and Donahue all counted me as a brother. All the club guys were brothers in theory, but we were close brothers. Tight. Blood brothers. I had not had much of a family growing up other than my nana. My parents had been addicts and both died young. Not before scaring the shit out of me a bunch of times though. It had been my phone call after finding my mom lying in her own sick with a needle in her arm that made my nana come and get me. She had tried to protect me for years, but my mom had put on a good show for Child Protective Services. This was the final straw. I had been 6 years old but smart to call my nana, who called 911. She had driven hours in the dead of night to sit with her grandson and speak to the EMTs and the police. They treated the lifeless body of my mother like she was a piece of garbage. Just something in the way to deal with. An inconvenience, not a person. I had had an aversion to cops ever since, and a boatload of respect for my grandmother. I could never disrespect any woman because of that respect. Yes, they were more or less interchangeable to me sexually, but I never turned down a good time. But lately things were changing. Lately I had not been feeling it. I wanted more than a place to put my dick. That was easy. I needed more than that. It was sneaking up on me, but it was there. I was like an uncle to the child of Becky and whiskey. It had started to give me the itch for one of my own. Of course, that meant I would have to find a woman worth staying home for. I could hardly imagine it. But maybe, just maybe, I was willing to put away my wild nights for one very lucky lady. I could say my future old lady was lucky for a couple of reasons. But number one was my incredibly long tongue. Even before I was a full club member, I had never been at a loss for women. Guys all thought it was because I had a pretty face and some major ink. Some thought it was my piercings, or the fact that I had a gigantic dick. Nope, none of those things. All I had to do to get a woman was one thing. I just had to show her I could lick my eyebrows. Oh yeah, my tongue was longer than the dicks of most guys, and I could work miracles with it. Of course, I did not treat just anyone, but now and then I would show a lady a really good time. I held a fist in the air as I left the clubhouse. It was still early, but there were women lining up looking for fun. I had a bag of coke in my jacket pocket, a bunch of rolled joints, 3 bottles of tequila, and a case of beer at my crib. But tonight I was going to be a good boy. Tonight was her birthday. I jumped on my ride and tore off, making sure to stop home to pick up the present I had bought for her earlier. I had had just enough time to swing by the fancy florist in town before they closed. I headed to the skilled nursing home where my nana was living. I paid for every cent of her care and it was expensive too, but she was worth it. Because of the house I had bought her a few years back, and all the money I had sent her over the years, she did not quite qualify for low-income medical insurance. So it was all out of my pocket. It was a good place though, and she liked it. And if she ever took a fall again, someone would be there to help her. I had nearly lost my mind last year when she took a tumble and was too far from the phone to call for help. If I had not dropped by because of a weird twitchy feeling in the back of my mind, well, she might have lain there overnight. She was alone on the bathroom floor for a couple of hours as it was. I doubt I would ever forgive myself for those hours. I parked in the lot and pulled off my helmet. I ran a comb through my hair too, just to be respectful. Thankfully, Nana had never objected to my leather and ripped denim, but she did tell me to comb my hair every time I forgot. She never criticized me or called me a delinquent, even though I clearly was. A successful delinquent with my own shop, but still I was not exactly a Boy Scout. Far from it. I had started acting out at school early. Even later, when I wised up about keeping my mouth shut, I was up to no good. I had been chasing and being chased by girls and even women from the moment puberty hit. I was tall for my age and already had a bad attitude. Then I discovered drugs and alcohol. If I had not learned how to use a tattoo gun, who knows what would have become of me? If it were not for Nana, I know what would have happened. Nothing good. That is for damn sure. She loved me through all the bad times and the good. Now it was my turn. And damn if I was not going to do my best to make her final years the sweetest. I nodded to the lady at the front desk. She knew me. They all knew me here. I kissed the cheek of a white-haired lady who passed by on her walker. I was pretty sure her name was Eloise, but I could not be sure. She would not smile like that at everyone. But it was such a sweet smile, so I always gave her a little kiss. Her door was open, signaling that she was open for visitors. I always had a moment of worry right before I walked in. Worry that she would be hurt or lying on the floor, or worse yet, that she would be gone. But she was there sitting in her favorite easy chair with her feet up. Her bed neatly made by the staff I suspected. And a cup of warm tea on the little side table we had brought from home. Most of the stuff in here was hers. It was like a little time capsule of her house and her life. There was even a photo of my parents together on one of their rare sober days. Hinana. She used the side lever to lower her legs and waved me over. Get in here, you rascal. I bent down to give her a kiss and got my cheek squeezed for my troubles. Woman, how are you so strong? She giggled like a schoolgirl. What do you have there? This? I held up the flowers and presents. This is for an adorable woman who lives here. I pretended to look around. If only I could find her. She swatted at me and cackled, but her eyes were shining as I handed over the gift and sat on the edge of her bed holding the flowers. She opened the gift and crowed when she saw it was the latest book from her favorite author. She loved murder mysteries. I had teased her for years for being so bloodthirsty. She had even had a murder mystery book club for a while. I had never seen anything like it. 6 sweet as pie white-haired grannies sitting around and talking about gory murders. That was too funny. Oh, there you are. Come in, sweetheart. I turned my head in time to see a young woman tentatively waiting just outside the door. I saw dark wavy hair, an exceptional figure, and the prettiest damn face I had seen in my life. My entire life. She looked like a doll with tawny skin and pink luscious-looking lips. But it was the huge, shy, deep blue eyes that caught and held my attention. She was too pretty, too sweet. Not to mention she looked innocent and pure, which instantly made me want to defile her, and not just once like usual. Maybe 4 or 5 times just for starters. And just like that my dick got hard. In a nursing home. Even worse, in the presence of my granny. I barely even noticed. Oh, I did not know you had a guest, Miss Bonnie. I will come back later. I was too dumbstruck to do more than stare. The woman, the girl, was perfect. And she was leaving. I stared as she backed out of the room, taking her rolling tray of books with her. Now that is the kind of girl you should be settling down with, my boy. My first thought was she cannot be real. My second thought was she is way too good for me. But I did not say any of that out loud. Nana would have a fit if she heard me talking like that. She had always told me I was as good as anyone else, and I agreed with her. Until now. That girl was unearthly. She looked like a literal angel. I started praying that she had a gambling problem, a shoplifting addiction, a fault, any fault, anything that might put her remotely in my league. I had never gone out with a good girl. I had imagined them to be high maintenance, bad in bed, and full of annoying rules. But for the first time in my life I did not care. I wanted the good girl, and I was going to get her, come hell or high water. What is her name? Granny tilted her head to the side. Oh shoot, it is on the tip of my tongue. I cleared my throat. I will be right back. She laughed and clapped her hands together. Go get her, son. I ran down the hallway looking around. I did not see her anywhere, and I was not sure whom to ask. My heart sank. I was starting to wonder if I had imagined the whole thing. After 20 minutes, I was walking in circles, not willing to leave until I got her name. And then I heard it singing. I knew it was her before I was even close. When I looked in the open doorway, I stopped, frozen in place. She was singing an old church song, something I had not heard in years. A song that I am sure I would have found dull if I had heard it under any other circumstances. She looked like an angel. She sang like an angel. And from the way she hovered over the young man lying immobile in that bed, she was literally an angel. I was standing there when she finished her song. She looked up and saw me, taking a tiny step backward. Damn it. I did not want her to be afraid of me. I remembered how I looked suddenly, covered in tats and wearing leather, and she could not even see all my piercings. What was I doing? I must be insane. But that did not stop me. Nothing could. What is your name? Me? I cracked a smile at that. Who else would I be talking to? Yes, you. Mori. Are you the son of Bonnie? Grandson. She raised me. Oh, she is a nice lady. Yeah, she is the best. I watched her nervously take his hand. I frowned. Is that her boyfriend? No, he was too young. And she worked here. Move on, Cal. A boyfriend would not matter. Only a husband might stop me from what I was planning. Maybe. I cleared my throat. I am Callaway. She smiled, but it was not a very big smile. That was okay. I realized I was going to have to move slow. She was not some club girl who was going to peel off her panties just because I snapped my fingers. I almost moaned at the thought of this beauty docilely taking off her panties for me. I wondered suddenly what color they were. White probably, I decided. And just like that, white was my new favorite color. Do you work here or are you visiting? I nodded toward the young man on the bed. It seemed like an innocent question, but she looked upset the moment the words left my lips. Both, she swallowed. I work here to help pay for Tommy. Oh, you are a good, I was about to say friend, but I needed to know. I let my words dangle, hoping she would fill in the blanks. Sister. I exhaled a sigh of relief. I was going to get this girl and nothing would stop me. But even I would feel guilty taking her away from someone in a coma. I was not a total fucking monster. I was willing to be if it got me what I wanted, but I would feel bad about it. How long have you guys been here? I have never seen you before. I was grinning at her dupily. At least she did not look like she was going to run off anytime soon. Of course, I was kind of blocking the doorway. We just got here a few weeks ago. Hani had an accident a few years ago. I was in a state-run hospital for a while, but it closed down. I did not know where to take him. I realized the poor girl was about to cry. This is a good place. Try not to worry. She nodded and gave me a brave smile. That smile just about broke my heart. In fact, I felt like my chest had cracked open and all these unfamiliar feelings poured out of me. I felt protective, possessive, and wildly turned on. What the hell was wrong with me? Women were a dime a dozen, but that way of thinking made zero sense to me right now. Staring at her, wanting her, fucking worshipping her. I had better get back to work. Do you need a ride home? I can wait. Nana is reading, but I can hang out a while. She looked startled, but she shook her head rapidly. I worked the night shift. Then she gave me a shy smile. But thank you. I watched her push her cart into the hallway, fighting the urge to ask her what time in the morning I should pick her up. Then I decided fuck it. I would just ask at the front desk and surprise her. Molly. Her name was Molly. Chapter 1. Callaway. I sat on my ride letting the motor idle. It was 6 a.m. and I was outside her nursing home waiting for Molly. I had spent the night at home alone, not drinking and not doing much of anything. I had slept a little, but mostly I had lain in bed and stared at the ceiling, deep in thought. I thought about my past. I thought about the present, which was an empty wasteland full of motor oil, tattoo ink, and easy women. The bright spots were hanging with my brothers and their families. My present, that was hopefully about to change. But mostly I thought about the future. I wanted Molly in it, whatever that looked like. I was far from the settling down type. But in the past few hours I had not been able to imagine a future with her not in it. Not that I was picturing white picket fences, but I was thinking about having the girl in every damn way, as often as humanly possible. Hell, I wanted to impregnate her. It did not make sense, but some animalistic part of me wanted to make her flat belly grow round with my baby. Either way though, I wanted to go to Pound Town. I figured that 7 or 8 times a day would take the edge off. I had never fantasized like that about a woman. I never had to. I had been swimming in tail since I hit puberty. The truth was I had been the most popular boy in grammar school too. So all of this was out of character for me to say the least. But I could not fight the overwhelming urge I had to claim her as my own. To mark her. To take her. It was not just a sex thing, though that was a big part of it. I wanted to empty my balls into her so badly it made me break out in a cold sweat. But it was more than that. It was a primal caveman type of thing. And that was after spending 5 minutes with the girl. I had no idea if I would have the same reaction to her in the light of day. I could hardly wait to find out. So I waited. After a few minutes, a slight-looking girl appeared in the doorway. She glanced over her shoulder, waving at someone. Then she stepped out into the early morning light. I stood up, putting the spare helmet under my arm. She did not see me at first, so I took the time to have a long, thorough look at her. I was halfway hoping my memory had been exaggerating, embellishing her beauty. But no, if anything, she was more beautiful than I could have imagined. It was as if she was so perfect. My mind could not hold on to her image exactly right. Seeing her now, in person, well, it was like taking a long cold drink on a hot day. She closed her eyes and inhaled deeply, letting the misty air waft over her. I cleared my throat and she startled, sensing a predator. She opened her eyes. They were the deep, rich blue of the sky at twilight or an ocean wave right before it crested on the beach. She looked at me like a startled deer must look at a hunter. I smiled at her without thinking. My instincts were to play it cool, but I could not help it. Seeing her face just made me happy. Fucking absurdly happy. Like a crazy person. Or a little kid who really wanted a red balloon. Hey. Chapter 2. Mori. I blinked at the mirage in front of me. I was tired and I had a full day ahead of me, so for a minute I was 100% positive I was hallucinating. There was a ridiculously good-looking guy on a motorcycle staring at me. Good-looking with chiseled cheekbones, a strong jaw and a penetrating gaze. but dangerous looking with his fitted leather jacket and the tattoos peeking out at the top of his shirt and wrists. He looked like a movie star, like a modern-day James Dean, but even more dangerous. I looked like a Bond villain, a stranger. But no, I did know him. I had met him briefly less than 12 hours ago. Calloway, the grandson of Bonnie. How could I forget? The truth was I had not. He had flustered me badly before. I had had a hard time not thinking about him throughout the long night shift. I just had not expected to see him again so soon. Oh hi, I frowned. I was dedicated to his grandmother, I knew. Bonnie had told me all about him when I came back around with my book cart, but he had just been here the night before. Surely he was not coming twice in 1 week, let alone twice in 1 day. What are you doing here? It is too early for visiting hours. He smiled, and I almost took a step back. It was so blinding. The man looked like a GQ model minus all that ink. Giving you a ride. He held out the helmet, offering it to me. I stared dumbly at it, then back at his handsome face. Where to? Huh? You said you got off early, so I came back. You want breakfast? I know a good spot. Oh, how I wanted to say yes. Nadim made me nervous, but he was being so nice. And he was so very, very nice to look at. But I did not have time. I had to get to my day job. And I was so tired. I did not have any room for distractions. Especially one that looked like trouble. Calloway looked like he knew everything about women and sex and lots of other things I should definitely stay away from. Meanwhile, I had not gone out with a boy since 9th grade, the year my folks died in an accident. The same accident that put my little brother in a coma. A coma he woke up from briefly now and then almost immediately went back under. My aunt had taken me in and helped with the paperwork to take care of Tommy. But when I turned 18, he had become my responsibility, and my aunt had washed her hands of us. She was not unkind. She just had not ever wanted kids of her own, and she had done her best for us without any actual enthusiasm. After I moved out, she sold her little house and moved down south. She wanted to be warm all year. She told me I had an open invitation to visit her. The small unkind voice in the back of my head told me that she knew I never would. She knew I would never leave Tommy, never risk his waking up and my being so far away, not being there when he needed me. All these thoughts passed through my overtired brain as the gorgeous, somewhat disreputable-looking man waited patiently for me to respond. It was probably less than a minute, but it felt like a lot longer to me. Oh no, that is okay. He tilted his head to the side. You got a ride? I can follow you to May's Diner. It is really good. I shook my head swiftly. I wished I had a car. It would have made my 18-hour workday a lot easier. Then again, I was usually so tired I was delirious. I caught lots of cat naps on the bus. No car. His head remained tilted to the side, his eyes raking over me. But he did not leer like so many men did. He drank me in like his eyeballs had straws in them. I was intense, but not scary, which was odd considering how he looked. He stepped closer and I realized how tall he was, how big and how strong. He probably could have broken me in two. I still was not afraid. Wary, yes. Skittish but not frightened. Is it the bike? Is that what is bothering you? Hunt ran his hand through his hair. No, I mean yes. He cracked a smile and I was once again struck by how insanely attractive he was. The man oozed sex appeal. Not that I actually knew a thing about sex. Which is it? It is just that I have to go. Okay, I will drop you anywhere you want. I have to go to work. Like I said, I will take you. We can catch a rain check on the food. I had no answer for that. I sat perfectly still as he came closer, lowering the helmet onto my head. I broke out in chills at the gentle way he pushed my hair away and fastened the chin strap. I was mesmerized by the look in his eyes. It was not just warm. It was blazing hot, and took my hand and rubbed his cheek on it. I got shivers from the feeling of his skin on mine. He was so strangely intimate, almost like he was a cat wanting to be petted. He smiled at me, this time looking like a wolf. He squeezed my hand and tugged me toward the bike. Bike was a laughably soft word for the giant metal machine he rode. I tried not to shiver when I saw the pitchfork of the devil emblazoned on the fuel tank. Where are we going? Oakley's. He nodded. I know where that is. He helped me onto the bike. You always pull back-to-back shifts? Yes. I mean, I take every shift I can get. He frowned a little bit, then shook his head. That is a lot of work for a little girl like you. He climbed on in front of me, then reached back to drag me against him. I gasped at the feeling of our bodies pressing together. It was by far the most intimate thing I had felt in my life. And the smell of him? Leather and oil and something else. Pine. He smelled like the woods on a cool autumn night. I shook my head at that fanciful thought, like I had ever been in the woods at night. I held on for dear life during the 20-minute ride over to Oakley's. It was exciting and exhilarating. I was grateful for the cool wind in my face which finally woke me up. Usually it took me almost an hour to make the trip. I was actually early for my shift. This was definitely a much better way to travel. I smiled in thanks as he helped me to my feet. Thank you for the ride. Then I see you later? I shook my head swiftly. I have to work. He stared at me. His brows snapped together over his stormy green eyes. I was pretty sure he was not used to being told no, not by anyone, let alone a girl. You are working tonight? I nodded, rubbing my arms. It was not cold out, but I had not worn a jacket. Tonight, when I went home to shower before my shift, I would handle it. I would dress warmer, I decided. Maybe I would even sleep a few hours. You have got to sleep sometime, girl. I stood up straight. Mori. He ran his knuckles over my cheek and I shivered, swaying a little on my feet. You have to get some sleep, Molly. I am fine. I should clock in. I went to go and he grabbed me, his hands firm on my shoulders. Then his mouth swooped down on mine. I inhaled sharply at the feeling of his lips. They were shockingly soft but firm, insistent. I gasped when I felt his tongue slide along my lips and jumped backward. He stood there, a slow smile on his face. Dear God, I hope you are legal. What? How old are you, sweetheart? He held up his hand. Actually, do not tell me. Bleh. You are Tailtate, right? I nodded slowly. What was he asking me? Are you really, dear H? He shook his head. I guess I do have a conscience after all. Yes. Why? Because if you were not, this would be illegal. He pounced on me, pressing me against the brick wall. His body pressed into mine. He seemed to mold into every soft part of me until we were one. I was shocked and elated at the same time. His tongue dove into my mouth. It should have been gross, but it was not. It was hot and tingly and fascinating. His tongue stroked mine, exploring my mouth. I felt my head fall back and his lips were on my throat, sucking and licking and biting. His hands roved over my tea, up and down my back until they settled on my bottom. He squeezed me and I let out a yelp. Please do not stop me, sweetheart. I pushed against him. I have to go. Did not move. He just leaned against the wall behind me. What time do you get off? 7. I blurted out. Liar. That is a 12-hour shift, and the night staff at the home comes on at 6:30. I glared at him. I was smart. Damn him. I suddenly felt myself go limp. 4. I need to go home and sleep for an hour though. He nodded. Okay, I will pick you up. I shrugged, the fight gone out of me. I did not understand what was happening. A big part of me wanted to curl up against him like a cat and go to sleep. But I needed this job. Do they have coffee in there? No. Okay, I will bring you one. I am not allowed to have a drink at the register. He ran his hands through his hair. What about lunch? I usually catch a nap in the stockroom. That does not sound safe. I shrugged. I was right, it was not. I had been undetected so far, but the store manager gave me the creeps. It is okay. He stared at me. You're ticking? What time is lunch? Oh no, you cannot come in the store looking for me. I could lose my job and I am already, you are already what? I just have a lot of bills. He nodded and looked away, finally stepping back. He watched me straighten my clothes and look around. I was holding himself back from something. But what exactly I was not sure. Have a good day. I will see you at 4. Chapter 3. Cutaway. 2 jobs. No sleep. Alone. This girl was going to kill me. Not just from the geyser ready to blow in my pants. She was going to make me lose my mind worrying about her. How the hell was she still standing when I drove up to get her at 4 was beyond me. I had thought about going in there a dozen times and held back. I was already in over my head and all I had done was kiss her. But holy hell, what a fucking kiss it was. She felt like an angel in my arms. A buttery soft, sweet-smelling, supple, soft and utterly feminine little package. A special fucking delivery right to my gut. I had had a moment of panic when I realized she was not used to being kissed. Not that it made it any less sweet, but I had to wonder if she was of age. A girl who looked like her. Well, it was hard to imagine she had never been kissed. But it felt that way. There was something untouched about her. That even though I was an outlaw, I was not about to go after an underage girl. I remembered how Devlin had to wait for Kaylee. He had nearly gone out of his mind, especially as the time drew near. If Molly had been 17 or even 16, well hell, I had a feeling I would wait for her too. But I would have lost my damn mind in the process. There was no drug, no bottle, not even enough ink in the world to take away this particular ache. She stepped out of the double glass doors and into the parking lot. She shaded her eyes with her hand, blinking like a sexy little owl. Hold up, Callaway. On Oberwill? What the hell was happening to me? I slapped myself internally. Get a fucking grip, Callaway. You have never once lost your mind over a piece of trim, no matter how hot she was. Why start now? But I had already lost my mind over this girl and I knew it. And she was way more than a piece of ass to me. In fact, if anyone called her that, I had a feeling the guy would end up in the hospital. Or worse. I walked over to her and pulled her in for a kiss. I did my best not to slobber all over her. She looked a bit surprised, but she did not push me away. I winced when I saw how tired she looked. Not that she was not beautiful. She was. But her eyes looked weary and her face was pale. Come on, doll. Let us get you some rest. Okay? I will get you tucked in and grab some food. Okay? I grinned. I liked how agreeable she was being. Of course, she might just be too exhausted to argue. I knew I was not getting anywhere with this girl tonight. It was not like I was going to try and hump her while she was unconscious or anything. You working all night again? Molly nodded as I helped her with her helmet. And tomorrow? She nodded again. You are going to hurt yourself doing that. Tell you what, why do I not pull the shift for you? If they are not paying you anyway, they will not care if you take a night off. No, you cannot. She shook her head swiftly. I need to be there in case he wakes up. Besides, oh, but doll. She set her jaw and looked at me. She was no pushover, my little angel. I gave up knowing I had to find a way to help her. Not that it was not selfish of me. I mean, if she never had a night off, I was not going to be having a lot of sex. And I wanted sex. All the sex. But only with her. Yeah, the candy shop had officially closed for business. Nobody was more surprised than me. But this sleep of a girl had me tied up in knots. And I had not even had her yet. If things kept going the way they were, I did not see how I was going to get my dick wet in the next century. Something had to be done. I would talk to the guys, I decided. I would not say anything about being head over heels. I would act like it was no big deal. Problem solved. Soon, I hopped onto the bike and guided her arms around my waist. Hold on tight, babe. Chapter 4. Mori. I rolled over in my tiny bed, sighing in ecstasy. The bed was small and the apartment was dreary and drab. But right now, there was no place on earth I would rather be. A soft sound from the kitchen brought me fully awake. I sat up, panic shooting through my body. I lived alone in a not-so-great part of town. My landlord was a sweet old lady who had lived here with her family when it had been much safer. She turned the second floor of her house into 2 tiny apartments after her husband passed away. Right now, I was the only tenant. I really liked Mrs. Keeley, but I could not exactly call out for help if I needed it. Not only could she not help, but I doubted she could even hear me. I glanced around for my phone, thinking I could call 911. Maybe they would get here before I was dismembered or kidnapped. Who was I kidding? Who would kidnap me? You needed family to pay a ransom, and it was pretty clear I did not have any. If I did, I would not be living in a place like this. I held perfectly still as the sounds continued from the kitchen. I heard a soft curse and sniffed the air. I frowned. Someone was trying to be quiet while they cooked? It all came back in a flash. The huge biker who had started showing up last night. He had driven me home and I closed my eyes trying to remember. I blushed recalling the way he had kissed me and tucked me into my bed. He had not looked happy about letting me sleep, but he did. I ran my hand through my hair and peeked into the kitchen. It was not far. The apartment was tiny with just a tiny bedroom and a kitchen big enough for a small table and chairs. There was the ancient bathroom that was surprisingly clean. A closet in the short hallway, and that was it. No living room. That was it. Home sweet home. And right now, there was a massive 6-foot-tall man in leather and ripped denim bending over the stove while a delicious smell wafted over to me. He looked up from what he was doing and smiled. Hello, beautiful. He set down the spoon he was using on a folded paper towel and pulled me in for a kiss. A long, deep kiss that made me forget where I was for a minute. His lips were so warm and smooth. They molded to mine and then parted, his tongue slipping deep into my mouth. I kissed him back tentatively at first, and then with an urgency I did not quite understand. Damn! He had lifted me slightly, I realized. My feet were dangling off the floor. He set me down gently and shook his head. Damn! You said that already. He just bit his lip and went back to the stove. The man was too pretty for words. His dark green eyes were heavy-lidded and sensual looking. His jaw could cut glass, it was so sharp. Then his lips were pink and soft. I was almost too good looking. I tried to focus, still feeling like I was half asleep. You cooked for me? Stocked the fridge too. Though to be honest, I do not much like the thought of you here all by yourself. Nye gave me a stern look. This is not a good neighborhood. He sounded like a mother hen. It did not make sense with the tough and dangerous sexy as all get-out image he presented. The man could not be real. Could he? Who are you? I breathed, staring at him like he had stepped out of a movie poster. He cocked an eyebrow at me. Call away. Nan gave me a cocky smile. The guy who had his tongue down your throat a few seconds ago, remember? First name? He leaned against the counter and crossed his arms. His thick, burly, muscled arms. Andrew, but nobody calls me that. Not even your grandma? Nan gave me a challenging look. No, she does not. I hid a smile. I was lying. Of course, his granny called him by his first name. At least sometimes. Okay, fine. But who are you? He crossed his thick, muscular arms over his chest. He looked resigned, almost weary. All right, let us do this. I ride with the SOS. SOS? Sons of Satan. I am their ink master. Ink? He shrugged out of his leather jacket and reached for his shirt. Then he gave me a look and hesitated. Might as well get this out of the way. He pulled his black t-shirt up and over his head, holding it loosely in his hand. I barely noticed. I was staring at his chest, his arms everywhere. I was covered in ink, literally covered in it. I reached out and traced the outline of a bird that looked like it was actually flying. It was so realistic. He flinched as my finger brushed his skin. Beautiful, he exhaled, staring down at me with a hard look on his face. You think so? I nodded breathlessly. I had never seen anything like it. His entire upper body was tatted, but what tats they were. It was not the usual skulls and daggers and snakes, though he did have a snake winding up one arm. This was more like a painting with many elements woven together. Much of it was abstract with some words here and there, references to devils, and a scrawled "Live free or die" near his collarbone. You did this yourself? He nodded, watching me carefully. You are an artist. Tattoo artist, yeah. No, I mean you are an artist. He smiled brilliantly then. Thanks, babe. He kissed me again, his hands cupping my ass and squeezing. Stop distracting me. You need to eat. He gently pushed me toward the table. Sit. I sat just as my stomach gave a loud rumble. I stared hungrily as he set down a plate of pasta, little twisty bows slathered in red sauce. There was a piece of bread on the side that smelled like garlic and olive oil. I almost moaned in ecstasy. It smells amazing. Eat. He sat across from me and offered me a small bowl with grated cheese. I took a spoonful and shook it over my food. Italian food? He raised an eyebrow. Did you think Callaway was Spanish? I laughed, piling a fork high with food. No, it sounds English, I guess. He grinned widely while I tried to eat with dignity. It was so tasty that it was difficult. Irish. I am half and half. He set a plate down in front of me. But I do not know shit about cooking Irish food. Nana is a second-generation Italian. She taught you how to cook? He nodded. The man could cook, ride. He was a wizard with a tattoo gun, and he had not pressured me for sex. And he had let me sleep. I looked away, not sure how I felt about any of this. That will teach you to judge a book by its cover, Moles. He ran his hand through his hair and then laid it on the table. I stared at his inked knuckles. His chest was still bare and his gaze was too direct. When can I see you again? You are seeing me now. Nanimada face. I want to see you for more than half an hour at a time. I took a bite of my food and I stared at his lips as he ate. His throat bubbed as he swallowed. I want a whole night. I felt my cheeks get hot. I was getting ahead of himself. But was he really? I had not said no to anything he had asked of me. He might be a creep, the kind of guy a girl should avoid. But he could also be the perfect person for a stupid girl who did not know any better to lose her virginity too. Maybe if I had zero expectations, maybe I would not get hurt. Because it was not like Mr. Tattooed Sex God was going to stick around. Even stupid, inexperienced me knew that. Besides, I did not think I had the strength to say no. I knew I had to try, to stop this thing that had started between us. It was not going to go anywhere and my brother needed me. I do not know what you want. I felt naked, totally exposed when I lifted my eyes to his. You. Just you. I shook my head and pushed away from the table. Look, you are nice and all, but nice? Well, yeah. He stood up, crossing the tiny kitchen in 2 steps. He stared down at me, not touching me. I am sorry, Callaway. My life is complicated. I can handle it. What for? Why even bother? His hands came up to cup my chin, tilting my face so I had no choice but to look into his eyes. His thumb brushed my bottom lip and his eyes stared hungrily at my mouth. For this. His mouth crashed down on mine. I realized belatedly that his other kisses had been tame. Me had been holding back. This need, this hunger inside him was far bigger than anything I had ever imagined. This was not Romeo and Juliet. This was heat, pure white heat and power blazing between us. I could feel it licking my skin as he pushed me against the kitchen wall and tried to melt into me. My thigh was hoisted up as he worked his hips into me. Our tongues tangled as he held me firmly in place, grinding his erect dick into me through our clothes. Considering this was more than I had ever done before, I was more than overwhelmed. I was not ready for this. I was not ready for him. Wait. His hand was sliding under my shirt to tug on my bra strap. I whimpered at the feeling of his warm hand as it closed over my breast. My nipple responded immediately, pushing up into a sharp point. It only intensified the feelings that were spiraling through my body. Too much too fast. Wait. He lifted his head and stared at me, the thick muscle in his jaw ticking. Kyokai? I nodded, then shook my head as he started to kiss me again. Callaway, what? I have to go. My shift. He swallowed and nodded jerkily. Right. Yeah. Your shift. I was staring at my mouth as he moaned. You sure you cannot be just a little bit late? No, I cannot. I sighed. And I am not ready for this. For any of it. He stepped back, his eyes glued to my face. I am not going to hurt you, Mouse. When had he started calling me that? That was what my brother called me and my parents. I shrugged as if it did not matter. That was my defense. When everything sucks, pretend like you do not care, then go cry your face off when you are alone. I know I do not really have time to date. He stepped forward again, pressing me into the wall. We will make time. I stared up at him, heat swirling in my belly. Then I swallowed. You are a really great guy, Calloway. He narrowed those gorgeous green eyes at me. Do not. But I am not looking for anything. Do not. His voice was raw, ragged, painfully exposed. I am sorry. I cannot see you right now. He stared at me for a long minute more before turning on his heel and walking away. I flinched when I heard the front door close behind him. I had done the responsible thing. The right thing for me and for Tommy. So why did I feel so wretched? Chapter 5. Cutaway. More. Donnie leaned backward behind the bar, staring at me like I was a dog on a fucking skateboard. I did not care. I felt lower than a dog. Hell, at least dogs were loyal. People petted them. Molly would never have told a cute little dog to fuck off. What? He just shook his head and poured me another shot of tequila. I held out my hand and he grudgingly put the bottle in it. It was the good stuff, not the swill he served everyone else. I ignored the shot glass and tipped the bottle back, letting it slosh into my mouth. It burned my throat on the way down. Good. I wanted to feel pain. Anything to blot out this crazy feeling inside me. Because of her. It was hard to believe, but I had been rejected. Not just rejected, cast aside. And by a little girl. A little girl who wanted me. A little girl who had melted in my arms. Molly. What did he say? Did he take Molly? Lucky leaned down and stared at me, checking my pupils. He had come up with me, but he had been out of the country on a tour of duty for the past 2 years. Welcome back, fucker. He grinned at me, his clean-shaven head gleaming in the neon lights. Donnie clasped his forearm and hugged him over the bar. Jack and Whiskey came in with Dev a few minutes later. Well, 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 look what the cat dragged in. Dev was eyeing Lucky, wondering if he was still the crazy young guy who could give even me a run for my money. Lucky saluted Whiskey, which made us all laugh. At ease, soldier. Lucky plucked the bottle out of my hands and took a swig. Then he looked at it, shaking his head. How much of this have you had? I moaned and reached for the bottle. Not enough. Hey man, if you are rolling on Molly, you need to hydrate. He looked around at the rest of the guys who were staring at him open-mouthed. What? It is true. Ravers die all the time when a fucking bottle of Gatorade could have saved their lives. I am not rolling, but I will take any drugs you have on you. Sorry man, I do not partake anymore. I sneered at him and did the shot that had been sitting there all this time. I reached blindly for another drink and found a cold bottle of beer pressed into my palm. Around me, my brothers caught up with their old friend. Baby pictures were passed around. Wedding rings were counted. Mac, the cousin of Donnie, took over serving while the rest of them shot the shit. We are the only ones left. Hey, Calloway. I moaned again. He said Molly. I fucking heard him. Donnie grabbed the bottle of tequila out of his hand. I think he is talking about a girl. Only one? His voice was so deep only dogs could hear it. And the guys, apparently. Everyone laughed. I glared at them all. Some brothers they were. I was heartbroken and they laughed. You guys suck. Everybody sucks. Except her. She would not suck. Lucky laughed, slapping my back. You must be losing your touch, man. Would not do anything. Never been with anyone before, she said. Whiskey leaned in, staring at my face. She said what? She said I was a nice guy, but she did not have time. You are fucking kidding me. I shook my head and laid it on the bar, moaning pathetically. A woman turned you down? She said you were nice? Lucky made an ooh sound which made me want to punch him, so I did. But I did not put my heart into it. I will fuck her. Lucky started grinning like an ape. Well, actually not a fucker. He found this hilarious. Thankfully the rest of the guys did not. Dev cleared his throat. Did you say she's a virgin? I nodded miserably. She put the brakes on. I was right there, man. Maybe it is for the best, man. It is kind of a big deal for a girl. You can have 5 girls a night. I do not want 5 girls. I said, swinging my arms dramatically. My beer spilled and Jack stepped back to avoid getting splashed. I just want her. Holy shit, his voice was awestruck. Whiskey was grinning. I thought this day would never come. I stared around at the guys and shook my head. You guys do not get it. She is perfect. She is so good and We get it, Cal. We do. Get what? Everyone turned to look at Lucky. I was the only one with a dumbfounded look on his face. Mac walked over and had the same stupid expression. Love you, idiot. Whiskey smacked the back of his head for good measure, making Lucky rub his head and glare at us. Why does everybody keep hitting me? Because you are an idiot. Jack winked at him to take the sting out. How long have you known this girl anyway? I cleared my throat. Couple of days. How could this be happening to me? Jack slapped my back. It was supposed to be brotherly, but since the man was built like a redwood, it felt more like a 2x4 landing on my shoulder. I knew from the minute I met him in less than 5 seconds. 5? Seriously? I knew that first night. No, you did not. Dev was grinning ear to ear. We loved teasing Jack. He and Donnie were the only ones who could get away with it. You fought it tooth and nail. Yeah, I did. But I knew. I knew it was a lost cause. That is what pissed me off. Alright, I will bite. Is she hot? When can we get a look at her? Lucky, if you even look at her, I will sew your fucking eyeballs shut. I thought that was hilarious. To soothe my pride, I took another swig of tequila. Then I pulled out my phone. I had taken a couple of pictures of Molly. I showed the guys. Is she sleeping? I thought you said you did not hook up. That is creepy, man. Lucky snickered. She's hot though, stalker. I shrugged, staring at my phone. Molly looked so pretty curled up on her bed. I had not been able to resist. I found another shot of her I had taken through the glass when I was outside the garden center. Here she is at work. You followed her to work? Hell no. I was waiting to pick her up. I sat up straight. But that is a good idea. I know where she works. I could go there now. No, 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 no. A chorus of no answers rang out as heavy hands pushed me back into my seat. How about tomorrow? Go and see her tomorrow, okay, champ? Yeah, go tomorrow, stalker. Lucky was snickering again. Man, how the mighty have fallen. I heard you were the king of dicks around here. I looked around, waving Mac over. This guy has been swimming in it since day one. Mac grinned. Yeah, I noticed. Callaway, what happened? Happened, man. I thought you had your pick of any female in a 20-mile radius. Donnie snickered. More like 50. Yeah, man, just move on. No. Who cares about other women? Nothing matters without her. I leaned my head against the bar again. Man, I hope I never sound that pathetic over a chick. Shut up, Lucky. Lucky ducked, sensing another slap. Instead, Whiskey rubbed his hands together. Callaway needs our help. Who is in? Everyone except Lucky said yes. I glared at him, bleary-eyed, until he said he was in. I felt marginally better, though I did not understand how they were going to help me. Even Mac was in, and he was the coldest bastard I had ever met. You said she did not have time for you, man. Yeah. She works 2 jobs to help pay for her little brother. Is in the same home as Bonnie. A kid. I nodded at Dev, who looked concerned. Han got like that about kids. All the guys did. His deep voice boomed out. What is wrong with him? I shook my head. You know what? I do not even fucking know. Chapter 6. Whiskey. I whistled softly to myself as I pulled into the driveway and looked at the house. It had not been much to look at first, but I had worked it over to her specifications. It now had white trim and blue shutters with a black front door. It did look sharp, I had to admit. My Bex had excellent taste. I smiled. She had damn good taste in baby daddies to start with. She had picked me, and I was doing my damn best to make everything perfect for her and our baby. And the baby-to-be, of course. Starting with the house. My house. Our house. Coming home had a whole new meaning since Bex. Since the baby. This was our place and we were a family. I was a lucky son of a bitch and I knew it. I opened the door slowly, careful not to make a peep. Not only was our daughter, Eliza, most likely asleep, but my pregnant wife most likely was too. She had been taking lots of naps lately, which I found adorable. She would be reading a book and doze off where she was, usually curled up in a chair. Sometimes she made it to the bed. One time I had found her dozing with her head rested on her hands, right there at the kitchen table. So I was expecting some cute little snoring sounds when I walked in. Maybe a dirty diaper to deal with, but that was it. I hardly expected the shoe to come flying past me less than an inch from my head. I turned to see my beautiful, caring wife holding a shoe in the air, an angry look on her pretty face. What in the world? Pig? Bex? Another shoe came flying toward me and I ducked. It okay, honey? I am stuck here starving and you did not even bring me anything? I stared at her, blinked, and then started laughing. Our house was full of food. She was talking about something else. She was talking about ice cream. My Bex had gone absolutely cuckoo for ice cream since the second trimester started. Now, sweetheart, just hold your horses. I have your ice cream. I just forgot it outside. I slid my boots back on and hustled out to the bike where I had stashed a pint of chocolate ice cream for my woman on the way home from the club. I grinned as I hurried back in, taking my boots off again before I set one foot on the carpet. Bex was adamant about no shoes in the house and I had to agree. Anyone would once they thought about it, especially with the little ones underfoot. We already had one baby crawling around and putting every damn thing in her mouth. Plus it cut down on the need to sweep, mop and vacuum. Not to mention I liked seeing her cute little toes. My Bex was full of ideas. She was a dynamo. Even pregnant and sleepy, she did more than most people did in a day. She was in nursing school part-time and I could not be prouder. Sure, she was frustrated that it was going to take her twice as long to make it through the program and start working. But I told her it was okay to slow down. She could not handle that class load with a bun in the oven. Soon we would have two little ones underfoot. It was better to take her time and do things right. By the time she was finished, the kids would be ready for school. Part-time at first. But I could handle the drop-offs and pick-ups. I had it all planned out, I told her. She had reluctantly agreed to go part-time, and a good thing too, considering how many naps the woman was taking. Here you go, sweetheart. I held up the pint and she glared at me. How about a kiss? She narrowed her eyes for a second and then whoosh. There was my pretty girl smiling at me and offering up those sexy lips for a kiss. I held her tight, her hard belly pressing into me. You did not forget. No, I did not forget. I squeezed her bottom and breathed into her ear before biting it. You want to thank me now or later? Later. She grabbed the ice cream and swooshed into the kitchen. So much for having a quickie before ice cream. I chuckled as I followed her in, taking off my jacket and grabbing a bottle of water. We filtered our own and used refillable bottles. It was not all that hard once you got the hang of it. My woman was very concerned about the environment as well as all of our health. She even had me taking a multivitamin and skipping meat a couple of days a week. I had to admit, I did not really mind meatless Mondays. She made everything fun. I sat down across from her, watching her dig into her ice cream, chamois in ecstasy at the first bite. I had not worried about keeping it cold. She liked it when it started to go soft. Nice and melty, right? She nodded happily and took another bite. I knew my woman. I chuckled to myself, pulling off my jacket. You are never going to guess what happened. What? Never in a million years. OMG, what, whiskey? Tell me already. She was getting cranky, even with the chocolate. She was pretty far along, so I cut her a lot of slack. Plus, I thought she was cute when she was cranky. Callaway met someone? Her eyebrows shot up. She stared at me, a spoonful of chocolate ice cream paused in midair. Someone? A girl. The meets girls all the time. No, not a club girl. A civilian. Her eyes got even wider. And she blew him off. You are joking. I thought Callaway never got turned down. And does not even have to try or ask. But this time he asked. Apparently he asked her out on a date. Who is this girl? I feel like we should give her a medal. Or a parade. Cal said she is real sweet. She works at the nursing home his granny's in. Nani said, what? I hesitated a minute and then forged ahead. She is a virgin. Callaway and a virgin? I nodded. My woman sputtered at me. Then she sat back in her chair and started giggling. She held the spoon aloft, the ice cream forgotten for the moment. Poor Cal. Oh my goodness, that is too much. How is he taking it? Not good. I is a mess. What else? What is she like? He said she is a good girl. She has got a lot on her shoulders. And she did not like all the tats? No, she liked them. Tats and all. But she has 2 jobs, and her brother is in the nursing home. She does not have time to date. Wow. And he is on board with signing up for all that? Wait. She gave me a suspicious look. Does she have fake boobs? I do not think so. She looked very sweet in the photo he showed us. Cal took a picture of a girl? On his phone? Yeah, a couple. Are you sure it was not porn? Or a sex doll? I laughed and nodded. Yes, Bex. It was a candid photo of a real person. Jesus. That sounds so mature of him. What is he going to do about it? Right now he is 3 sheets to the wind. I do not think he is going to give up though. Good. I hope he settles down and has 5 babies. Then maybe he will stop trying to corrupt my husband. And does not try to corrupt me. And does not get shit-faced in our garage and try to keep you up all hours. I cleared my throat sheepishly. I did not go out to party anymore, so Callaway tried to bring the party to me. He had even offered to babysit, though he was almost always a little bit drunk as far as anyone could tell. Becky had wisely said no. What is the name of this girl? Molly something. She dug her spoon deep into the ice cream. I was pretty sure I heard her scrape the bottom. Good. The sooner she finished, the sooner I could take her to bed. My woman got cranky if I did not love on her at least once a day. I got a little cranky too. Well, I sure hope Molly does not get serenaded tonight. I know what you boys like to do when you are drunk and heartbroken. I smiled and did not argue. If she left me again, I would do more than serenade her. But knocked up like she was, I did not have too much to worry about. Bex was mine and she knew it. Come on, sweetheart. I am taking you to bed. Chapter 7. Callaway. I rubbed my face, wondering where the jackhammering was coming from. I realized it was just my head and opened my eyes, staring at the ceiling. I was home, though I had no idea how I had gotten there. I looked up at my legs, which were somehow above me. I turned my head and saw the legs of my coffee table beside me. I was on the floor with my legs up on the couch. Creak. What? I heard snickering as a flash filled the room. Then another. I covered my eyes, flailing with my hands to block the light. I need a picture of this shit. Fuck you, lucky you fucker, you fucker. I was above me and snapping pics on his phone. I growled, ready to tear his throat out. Well, metaphorically speaking, I would not actually murder the bastard, tempting as it was. I was going to trash his phone, however. That is when I realized I was cuddling one of the couch pillows against my chest. "You look so sweet with your whoopee." He chuckled to himself, still snapping pictures. "Or should I say your Molly? You said her name about 1,000 times last night. That is it." I jumped up and threw myself at him, fists flying. I was laughing when my fist connected with his jaw the first time. He stopped laughing when I hit him the second time. And the third time. He fought me back and we wrestled, finally breaking apart to lie on the floor a few feet apart. I stared at the ceiling, breathing heavily. "You hit like a girl." I started laughing. Lucky was a fucking bastard, but he always made me laugh. I loved the son of a bitch even though he was a pain in my ass. Hungover even for me. "You got off easy." He leaned up on one arm and wiggled his eyebrows at me. "Oh, I am easy. Ask the ladies you turned down last night. I gave all of them a ride." I shook my head. "I hope you wrapped your sausage." "Course I did. I am a Marine." He saluted me and leaned back against the TV stand. I forced myself to sit up and moaned, grabbing my head. "God damn. Why did I drink so much?" "You were bitching about that girl, remember?" I did remember. And if I wanted to do something about it, I was going to have to clean up my act. "I need a shower. Make yourself useful and brew some coffee." He nodded. "2 Bloody Marys coming right up." I shook my head and laughed. He really was a bastard, but he was my bastard. 30 minutes later, I was riding toward the other side of town. I was cleaned and looked slightly less hungover. I wanted to check on Molly before I headed to the clubhouse. Most likely I would work at the club a few hours if anyone wanted ink, and then I would drink myself into a stupor again. But I needed to see her first, even if it was just at a distance. Lucky had gone off to do whatever bastards did during the day. I was starting a job as a contractor next week, but for the moment he was freewheeling. I was almost always freewheeling, though suddenly that did not seem like a good thing. Yeah, I made my own hours. Yeah, I was paid well for my skills with the tattoo gun. Yeah, I was even saving up to buy a house somewhere. Hopefully in the woods with lots of room around it. It was probably weird for a party guy to want a secluded house, but that is what I wanted. What I had always wanted. A rustic place I could fix up. I pictured cold beers on the porch. Maybe a deck of cards or my guitar in my hands. I had not played in forever, and I never played in front of others. I had never wanted to be a rock star like every other teenager alive. I just liked doing things with my hands, and I liked music. I had let that get away from me, I realized. I had not started a project in years, let alone finished one. I used to do things around the house for my granny, but that did not count. All I did was drink, party, ride, tat and fuck, and now I was not even doing that. I had flushed the drugs in my apartment the night I met Molly. I did not want her to come over and see that shit. Of course, the likelihood of her coming over had taken a nosedive yesterday when she called things off. I clenched my jaw and sped up. I was not the kind of guy girls blew off. I was the guy they begged for, and I would really love to see Molly beg. A few minutes later, I was pulling into the parking lot. I assumed she was working the same hours today, though how she was on her feet after weeks of this, I had no idea. I was going to have to insist that she give up one of her jobs, or ask them to pay her more and take fewer shifts. The other solution I had come up with was even better. I would have her move in with me so her expenses would be less. Then she would only have to worry about her brother, and I could help with that too. Yeah, that was a brilliant idea. Get her to move in. I could say it was just to help with money, but she would be there close at hand, sharing a bed with me every single night. I was practically smiling as I stepped off my bike. I would talk some sense into her. I would take good care of her and she would never want to leave. I would finally buy that house and she would decorate it with her cute little girly things. Maybe I could even convince her to give me a baby. I could see it now. My beautiful girl holding a baby to her breast. I could watch her breastfeed for hours. And I decided. I stalked to the front door and pulled it open, scanning the place for her. There was a bored-looking teenager working one register, then nothing. No one else. Maybe she had taken the day off. Maybe she was at the nursing home. More likely she was in the back taking a break. I knew she did not want me interfering, but I had to see her. I had been out of my mind last night, and now I felt like I was going to die if I did not see her, talk to her, change her mind, kiss her. I pushed open the door with the big sign on it. The sign I ignored. Employees only. Fuck them. They were asleep at the wheel anyway. The damn store was empty. I would go wherever the hell I pleased, especially if it meant finding Molly. I looked around wondering where to start. It was a big fucking store. I remembered that she sometimes slept in the stockroom with the cleaning supplies. She said paper towels made a decent pillow. There were rows and rows of supplies, some of them reaching to the ceiling. The place was huge, and this part was not even open to the public. I walked down a long aisle to the right, my eyes peeled for sleeping angels. I heard the breathing before I turned the corner, but not sweet little girl breathing. Heavy, creepy-ass dude breathing. A guy was leaning against the shelves, hunched over and staring at something. I squinted at him for a second, then looked past him to see what he was staring at. I was peeking through a hole between the stacks of boxes. You could just barely see through to the other side. Molly was curled in the next aisle. I could see the gentle rise and fall of her breathing as her breasts pushed against the thin cotton of her top. I was staring at her through the shelves and wanking. "Fuck!" I roared as I charged forward, knocking the guy onto the floor. He shrieked like a woman as he hit the ground. I heard a soft gasp as Molly woke up in the next aisle. The guy turned over, pushing his junk back into his pants. I stared at him, exhaling actual steam from my nostrils. I wanted to tear him apart. "What the hell? You fucker!" I pointed at him, stepping closer. "I am going to fucking kill you." His eyes got wide and scared. "Get out! I will call the police." Molly came around the corner looking like a sleepy angel. He looked at her like she was going to save him. "Fucking coward. Molly, go call 911. She looked at him and then at me. "What are you doing?" "Go call the police." She did not move. "Good girl. Get up. I want to knock you down again. This time with my boot on your windpipe." He shook his head frantically. "Call away. What is going on?" I glanced at her. The worried look in her pretty blue eyes tore at my heart. "Later. I need to handle this first." I gripped the front of his shirt and picked him up, setting him on his feet. Then I held him there while I bloodied up his face. Bam! Bam, bam, bam. I tilted my head to the side, deciding. I was still conscious. I figured he had one more hit in him. I wanted him to remember this. The SOS takes care of its women. He paled, fear making him start to blubber. "You are one of them?" I nodded. "If you ever so much as look at her again, I will cut your fucking dick off and feed it to you." "All right. Okay? I will never look at her again." "What kind of pig does that?" I was drooling blood on my fist where I held his shirt. I shook him and asked him again. "What kind of pig are you?" "A filthy pig. A filthy, disgusting pig." I smiled at him like all was forgiven. Then I lifted my fist one last time. He stared at my fist, then back at me. He shook his head frantically. "No. No, 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 no." "Yes." Bam! He slipped from my fingers and folded onto the ground. I had even held back, not hitting him half as hard as I wanted to. But he was out. I checked his pulse and then stood, wiping my bloody hands on my jeans. "Let us get out of here." Molly stared at the bloody mess on the floor, then at me. She nodded once. "I need to get my stuff." I followed her to the break room and waited while she emptied out her locker. She was not coming back here again. We both knew that. I took her hand and walked her out through the back door. Chapter 8. Molly, you are mad at me? Calloway looked shocked. He obviously thought he had done me a favor by beating the crap out of my supervisor. Well, he was wrong. That had been an easy gig and now it was gone. I had no idea how I was going to dig myself out of the financial hole I was in. "You cost me my job." He stared at me, the muscle in his jaw ticking. How could such a big, strong man be so stupid? "I was bothering you." I gritted my teeth. I had not said a word on the ride back to my place. I had not known what to say. I had been too stunned by the sudden turn of events. "No, he was not. I was watching you sleep with his dick in his hands." "EBU. Oh my god, that was disgusting." No wonder Calloway had cleaned the floor with the guy. I tried to bluster through it anyway. "Yeah, well, I did not know that." "He's a fucking pervert." "And you are not?" His jaw dropped. I noticed that he had a couple of bruises on his face in addition to the bloody knuckles he had gotten from beating the crap out of my boss. "What happened to you anyway?" "Lucky. It does not matter. I took care of that guy for you. You are not going back there anyway. You were not supposed to come to my work. We agreed on that. I needed to see you." Yeah, well, I had forgotten what I wanted to say. We stood toe to toe yelling at each other in my tiny kitchen. I was so worked up, his green eyes were practically sparking. I scowled at him and he glared right back at me. For a second, it seemed like time stood still. Something changed as we stood there, both of us breathing heavily. The tension broke with an almost audible snap in the air. And then we were kissing. Hot, filthy, messy kisses. Kisses that blew the roof off the kisses we had shared. And those had been pretty steamy. Even an inexperienced virgin like me knew that. I was like an animal, tugging at my clothes while he practically inhaled my mouth. I moaned as his hands gripped my hips, yanking me against his hard body. He pulled my shirt off, then his, never breaking contact for more than a second. Our bodies crashed together, skin on skin for the very first time. His tats filled my vision when I opened my eyes, quickly shutting them again as he lowered his head to my throat, kissing and biting and sucking my skin. I heard something crash as he cleared the kitchen table with his forearm, then lifted me on top of it. He unhooked my bra with ease and then pushed me back so that I was half lying on it. His eyes flared as he stared at me, reaching for the top of my jeans and quickly unfastening them. His big hands moved to his belt buckle. My mouth was dry as I stared at the skin above his jeans. His stomach was flat with a narrow strip of hair that disappeared into his pants. I realized there was nothing under the worn-in denim. Calloway was buck naked under there. I did not shove them down, however. I was too fixated on me to finish undressing. More specifically, he was fixated on my chest. He moaned as his hands closed over my exposed breasts, my nipples rising up to meet the rough hot flats of his palms. Jesus, Molly. His voice was raw as he fondled me, not being too rough, but not being all that gentle either. Then he bent forward and pulled one of my nipples into his mouth. Oh, sweet Lord in heaven, that felt good. I gasped, my back arching off the table. His hands were busy too. I was stroking my thigh with one hand while his other played with my breast. I moaned as the pressure of his fingers moved to the junction between my legs, the spot where no one had ever touched me before. I nearly fell off the table at the feel of it. I touched myself there, of course, with varying degrees of success. But this was a whole other level. I tore his face away from my breast and stared at me, breathing heavily. Mori, I have to. I stared at him as he broke off, gripping my jeans and pulling hard. Cool air hit my sensitive skin, and I realized he had managed to strip my panties off with my jeans. Just like that, I was naked. He pulled me up so that I was sitting at the edge of the table and kissed me again. His fingers slid between our bodies and he stroked me again. My worries disappeared with a fresh onslaught of pleasure. I had never felt lust like this before. I was literally gasping for air. It is all right, I know. I will take care of you, Molly. His hands moved to undo his belt buckle, and I had a moment of clarity. I was about to lose my virginity on a table with a man I barely knew. I felt like I knew him through and through, but did I really? Wait. He stopped, his hands on his jeans as he posed. His jeans were slung low on his hips. I swallowed, my throat suddenly feeling way too dry. I am not ready for this. He stared at me, his breathing ragged. I knew this was not what he wanted, but it was too much. Please, moles, do not shut me out. I am not. I need you. I need to be inside you. I cannot. This is going too fast. Okay, we do not have to do that. But let me hold you. He closed his eyes and slowly pulled his pants back up. If you hold me, then we are going to end up having the same conversation in 5 minutes. He shook his head. No, sweetheart. My pants stay on. Just let me finish you. Please, I need to. I bit my lip, feeling ridiculous with my bare ass on the old table. It was green formica from the 1950s and came with the place. But I sort of doubted anything like this had happened on it before, even in 70 years. I finally nodded and he smiled just a tiny bit. He gripped my thighs and kissed me deeply before pushing me back down on the table. I was breathing heavily, nervous about what was to come. He kissed his way down my body and knelt quickly on the floor. Calloway! I tried to sit up, but he shook his head, his palm on my stomach holding me down. Let me. He kissed me between my legs and I was off the table, staring at him like he was a crazy person, but he was smiling. Somebody has sensitive skin. I was naked, standing in the kitchen. I started to cover myself with my hands and he grabbed me, pulling me close. Do not, baby. Do not do that. He kissed me and I relaxed against him. We can go slow. I will do it another way, okay? I nodded, practically hyperventilating. He stared into my eyes as his fingers moved over my bare skin. The rough pad slid over my bare belly to my pussy. I whimpered a little as he started to toy with me. His eyes held mine as he teased me softly. His touch was so light it made me want more. More pressure, more friction, more of him. He did not look away as his fingers started to dance over my clit, circling light and fast on the sensitive knob. He tilted his head to the side, observing me as I started to moan and rock against his hand. He lifted it away, a smug smile on his face as I gasped. Then his hand was back, playing with my folds a bit until he took pity on me and started his rapid thrum again. Over and over he did this, each time making me more and more frantic. Calloway! He smiled at me, licking his fingers. Yes, please. What do you want, baby? Ya want to come? I nodded frantically, letting my head fall back. Ya want me to use my fingers? Or my mouth? Fingers. Oh God, please. He shook his head. All right, sweetheart. You asked nicely. I will give you what you want. He hoisted one of my legs up around his waist and reached below my thigh to slip a finger inside me. We both moaned. You are so tight, baby. Jesus. His other hand found my clit. I used his index finger to press down on it and circle. I gasped at the dual sensations of his one finger sliding in and out of me, the other busy driving me wild on my clit. I lost control of my body, writhing and wiggling against him, flexing my back and holding onto his shoulders for dear life. That is it, baby. Reach for it. His voice was husky and tender, sending me over the edge. I cried out, my head falling back as I peaked and exploded into 1,000 shards of light. I shook all over his busy hands and did not stop for a second. He added a second finger, sliding it deeper inside me, circling the other finger so quickly I thought that he must be half machine. I was floating, cresting and falling without coming all the way down. His lips found my neck as I convulsed against him. Manimade an appreciative sound. A sound that was 100% self-satisfied male. Of course he was not satisfied, I realized. But I was not exactly sure what to do about that. You did so good, baby. Is that normal? He grinned at me. Probably not. It has never been like that when I bit his lip. When you what, sweetheart? When I touched myself before. He swallowed and closed his eyes. Lord give me strength, he whispered, and I giggled. I reached down his body. He caught my wrist, his eyes snapping open again. Then I do that for you? Yes, but not today. I do not think I can handle it. Are you sure? I want you to feel good too. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. I do feel good. Now why do you not take a nap? I will be back in a few hours to take you to Crestwood. He picked me up and carried me to my tiny bed. Han even pulled the covers back and put me inside. He laughed when I pulled a nightgown out from under my pillow and slid into it. What? You are just too cute to be real. Well, I am real. I know. He pulled the blankets up and over me. You rest. I will see you later. He held up my keys. I will let myself out. Okay? He pressed a kiss to my forehead, and I sank into my pillow with a smile on my face. Chapter 9. Cut away. She is going to kill me. What did you do now? I took a pull from my beer and leaned over the piece of wood I was sanding. I had needed to get into something tonight, and since heavy drugs were off the table, woodworking was the next best thing. Nah, she is not mad. I mean, you know. She took you back. Yeah, but she still will not screw you. I gave Whiskey a sour look and he laughed. This is unreal. You were the guy who has never not gotten laid. What was your record again? Yeah. You fucked a girl 10 times in one night. No, I fucked 2 girls 5 times each. And actually I think it was 4 and 6. And now you are a monk. She is worth the wait. I adjusted my nuts saying a prayer that I would not have to wait too long. My balls were heavy and full. They felt like lead weights. I doubted whacking off would even put a dent in the load I was brewing. Molly is special. Whiskey nodded. He might like taking the piss out of me, but he got it. He had been head over heels with Becky from the start. He had waited for her too. I focused on the table I was making. It was a simple side table, but I was using it as a test run for an idea I had for a larger dining room table. I was starting to think about settling down, and this was a step in the right direction. You have any hickory around? I want to do an inlay. Jack probably does. He has everything. Whiskey and I were handy, but Jack was a master craftsman. Bikes and woodworking, and probably anything that required dexterity and knowledge. I aspired to be as good as him someday. Of course, he could not that like I could. But I wanted to be able to make furniture and build a house like he could. We had all been over to help out with his secret project a couple of days a week for months now. If it had still been light out, I would have gone over there now. The big man was teaching me a lot and I was eager to repay the favor with sweat. Even Lucky and Mac were helping out, though Lucky was a contractor, so he probably enjoyed it a whole lot less. A table for your place? Yeah, unless Jack needs it. I think Jack has enough furniture. I nodded. Jack had been building out his industrial building downtown for years, even before he partnered up with Janet. And it was a partnership. They were so tight, it was hard to remember a time before they were together. But I had known Jack back when he was called the Viking. The man never smiled back then. Nowadays, it was rare to see him without a smile or a red-headed thought clinging to his enormous frame. If things go right, I might be ready to get a bigger place. Been planning to for a while anyway. Yeah? Gran could stay with me if I had a house, if she wanted to. I think she likes the nursing home. But if there were grandkids, I bet she would change her mind or at least come over. Whiskey yelped as he grabbed his foot. I stared at him and dropped his hammer on it. He put his foot down and stared at me like I was a crazy person. Of course, most people knew I was a wild man, so that was not surprising. Whiskey knew how crazy I could get more than most. What? Grandkids? Who are you? You know I love kids. Yeah, you are great with Petunia, but I never thought I would see you settle down. I have dreams too, Whiskey. Sorry, man. I did not mean anything. You do not have to apologize to me, Whiskey. I was pretty fucking surprised myself. I went back to my table. I wanted the surface extra smooth so I could stain it and wax it. No polyurethane for me. I was a purist. I hated that shiny shit. Next, I would cut out some thin slivers and shapes to add a darker wood. It had to be perfect because I was not a fan of slathering wood glue all over the place. As soon as I got some other wood anyway. It had to be just right. I had not thought about Molly in almost 5 minutes. I congratulated myself, and then I realized I was thinking about her again. The way she had looked in the kitchen, the sweet way she smelled, and the sexy noises she had made when she came. I groaned thinking about how Molly had felt on my fingers. She was so shy she would not even let me kiss her sweet pussy. She nearly collapsed after I finally let her come. I could still taste her from when I had licked my fingers clean. She was so sweet, so pure, so goddamn tight. I had a feeling she might squeeze my dick off. I had been so close to coming in my pants that I practically ran out of there. Yeah, me. The man who could stay hard for hours. I had nearly busted a nut with her barely even touching me. One stroke, through my pants. Oh, I was a dead man. I smiled grimly. I would get her eventually. I would get her and I would blow her mind. Give her so much pleasure she never wanted to leave. I just had to be patient. I had seen a show late one night about training falcons. I watched weird shit when I came home from the clubhouse sometimes. Especially when I had been partying. You did not force a falcon to do your bidding. It was a seduction. You let that bird get used to you. Then you trained it to your hand. You never actually tamed the bird. It was always a wild thing. It was only tame for you. That is how I had to do this. Not that she was wild, but she was different. She was not a girl who had been with 100 guys or knew the ropes. She was special. Beyond special. She was perfect. I knew Molly would be more than worth the wait. I grimaced and adjusted my aching package. I would tame her to my hand. I just had to live long enough to survive it. Speak of the devil. I smiled without lifting my head. I looked over my shoulder to see Jack pull into his driveway. The roar of his ride was unmistakable. We all knew the sound of every engine in the group. It was like a fingerprint, but for club guys. Jack walked in and looked at us. Without a word, he picked up a tool and started working on a half-finished bookshelf. Whiskey was building for the room of his little girl. A lot of the baby stuff was getting moved into the smallest of the bedrooms for the baby who was on the way. Callaway has gone soft, Jack. Jack grunted. To my ears, it sounded like approval. He did not preach or dole out advice, but I could tell when he thought I had gone too far, which was pretty much all the time lately. Jack, for one, would be happy if I could get this to work with Molly. Not as happy as me, of course. And definitely not as happy as my aching dick. She took me back. Well, kind of. She's holding out on him. Whiskey snickered, clearly enjoying having me at a disadvantage. I was getting laid. Everyone was getting laid except me. Lucky had picked up the slack with the club girl since I had stopped putting out. Even Mac hooked up now and then, though he was pretty fucking quiet. Again, his chest made a low rumble of approval. I need to find her a job. One where nobody is going to paw at her or whack off while she's taking a nap. That might make the other guys pause. But Jack just nodded, made an adjustment to his shelf that was not quite fitting, and stood up. Okay, we will handle it. I did not mean he would take care of it. I meant that we would, as a team. We all worked together like pieces of a machine. We were all cogs. Big fucking scary looking cogs in the case of Jack. But without each other, we were just individuals. Together we could move mountains. I took a swig of my beer and smiled. It was going to be okay. We were going to handle it. Chapter 10. Mori. I pressed a kiss to his forehead, smoothing his hair back. I looked calm outwardly, but inside I was devastated. I was not going to be able to cover the cost of keeping him here. Not even close. I should have known this would not work. Even with 2 jobs, I was not going to make the monthly cost. But I had hoped I might be able to squeak by. My brother had Medicare, but a fancy place like this required supplemental insurance for a long-term stay. I was still trying to figure it out, but since I did not have a laptop, I was doing it all on my phone. I felt my phone vibrate and pulled it out of my purse. I smiled when I saw who it was. I hardly ever got texts. You needed friends to get texts. You needed a person who gave a crap. It had been a long time since I had had that. But I had someone now. Callaway. And he was right on time. I am outside. How he knew what time I got off every shift was beyond me. The man was simply there looking after me. He had been pretty much from the moment we had met. I blushed a little thinking about yesterday afternoon in my kitchen. I was well rested for the first time in weeks. But I was also curious. I was going to lose my virginity to Callaway. It was inevitable. I knew that now. Even if my brain was certain that he would disappear on me one day, my gut was telling me something else. And my heart, well, I was not ready to even think about my heart. I squeezed his hand and stepped to the window, using the reflection to adjust my clothes and hair. I even put a little lip gloss on. I had never been particularly vain, but having a gorgeous guy around definitely brought out my girly side. Then I went outside to meet Callaway. As always, my heart did a little flip-flop when I saw him. I was so strong, so handsome, and so dangerous looking. I was not a knight in shining armor, but he was protective. He had proven that again and again, and he certainly knew what he was doing when it came to kissing and other stuff. He must know everything about sex. I blushed again as he pulled me close and kissed me. I sighed, trying not to melt into him. I felt like a girl in a movie. The girl the audience knew had absolutely no chance against the handsome hero. Or bad guy. They looked more like a bad guy. A sexy, naughty bad guy. Actually, Callaway was probably a little bit of both. He finally lifted his head, staring down at me. His gaze was so intense, so hungry, I almost took a step back. Courage, Molly. Do not be a wuss. It was his voice I heard in my head this time. Unloved shit talking me like that. It was probably a rule that little brothers had to do that. I closed my eyes, trying to regain my composure. Then I looked up at Callaway and smiled. Where to? His green eyes crinkled at the edges. I figured I might feed you. Then I have a surprise. He tilted his head to the side. Unless you want to go right to bed. My cheeks burned hot and I started stammering. I did kind of want to go to bed, but I was also nervous about it. Really, really nervous. I am well, he laughed. I meant to sleep. I took my hand and kissed the back of it, rubbing his thumb over my wrist. But I'm open to anything. I shook my head at him. I was incorrigible. The man clearly had sex on the brain, but he was so adorable about it that I could not be mad. Breakfast, please. And then I have some paperwork to do. The social worker at the nursing home had printed out some forms for me. She was pretty much a lifesaver, but it was only the first step in getting Tommy on Medicaid. That is what he needed if he was going to stay in the nursing home. Otherwise, it would be another state-run facility, and I did not want that for him. Callaway just nodded and helped me onto his bike. Then he climbed on in front, pulled me against his back, and took off. As always, I could not quite believe I was on the back of a motorcycle. I leaned my cheek against the smooth leather of his jacket, closed my eyes, and let go. I let go of expectations. I let go of my fears. I let go of all the things that were holding me back. I just was. Chapter 11. Callaway. I opened the door, doing my best not to stare at her ass as she walked in. I lost the dare but managed to lift my eyes before she turned around to look up at me. The innocent look on her beautiful face nearly brought me to my knees. I want to defile you. I want to do unspeakably filthy things to you. I want to love you. I stopped short, shaking my head. Love? Where the hell had that come from? I did not even believe in love. I was a pragmatist. Yeah, I felt protective of Molly. Yeah, she was special and had turned off my bang everything that moved switch. It was instant. I wanted her and her alone. But love? The truth was I already knew that I wanted a future with her, not just sex. But at the moment, it was really hard not to focus on the sex, especially since I was not getting any. Zero sex. Me. It was hard to wrap my head around. This was a first for me. My dick had not been this dry since before puberty. I had been completely celibate since we met, and I was going to stay celibate until she was ready. I fucking hoped it was soon, though, because I felt like my balls were so heavy they were made of rocks. I felt them pulse and turn over just from looking at her. Focus, Callaway. Do not get ahead of yourself. Sex is just the beginning. Where should we sit? She was so sweet I almost kissed her. I slid an arm behind her lower back and guided her to a booth. I took the seat facing the door. That way I would see a threat before she was in danger. Not that Maze was dangerous. It was a no-nessos hangout and May was officially family to the club. No one would mess around here, but it did not matter. My protective instincts were in full effect. I was on high alert. That was a new thing. I was constantly scanning for bad guys when I was with her. The only other time that it happened was when I was babysitting Elias, the few times I had been allowed. And usually with someone else present. It had taken Becky a while to know if I took the responsibility seriously. I did not blame her. I was a party animal. But I never partied around the kids. That just was not right. But babies, I love babies. They were so damn cute. I grinned, imagining her belly all round with my baby tucked safely inside. She would make an amazing mother. And she was so beautiful. I knew our baby would be too. There you go again, getting ahead of yourself. The girl has not even touched your dick, jackass. But the image had taken hold. I wanted a baby with her as soon as possible. And she had at least tried to touch my dick. That simple touch through the frayed denim had made my dick leak pre-cum. Yeah, the touch through my jeans. I could not imagine what it would be like to have skin on skin with her. I would probably nut in 2 seconds like a fucking teenage boy or some shit. My dick got hard at the thought of it. Her tentative touch. The look of concentration on her flushed face. The way her lips parted softly, begging me to kiss them. I adjusted myself and tried to think about nuns and puppies and kittens. Nuns holding puppies and kittens. But kittens made me remember how soft and sweet her bare little pussy had been. Just like that, I was close to losing it. I wonder what the clientele of Maze would do if I tossed Molly on one of the tables and had my way with her. Yeah, it was a good thing I was already sitting down. My dick was too big and way too fucking hard to hide. I handed Molly a menu and tried to focus on the food. My eyes kept straying to the exposed skin of her throat, and a bit lower where the top 2 buttons of her shirt were undone. It was not much skin, but I had a very good imagination. Plus, I had seen her yesterday in all her naked glory. Her body was perfect, flawless, and so clearly untouched it was driving me absolutely fucking insane. I moaned and looked back down at the menu. Are you okay? I nodded curtly, not looking at her. I could not. I was going to do something outrageous if I did. Something crazy even for me. And I had the very distinct feeling that Molly would not like it if I pounced on her in public. Yeah, I am fine. What do you want, sweetheart? Maybe an omelette? I smiled at her, folding my hands on the table. What do you want in it? She chewed her lip adorably. I sucked in my breath. I wanted to bite that lip. I wanted to bite her ass. Right before I sank my dick into it. Tomato and cheese? I nodded. Sounds good. You want coffee? No, thank you. I leaned back and waited for the waitress. It was a new girl, one I had not met. But I was sure if she worked here, she was a friend to Kaylee, Sally, Becky. When you were waited on by extended family, you always tipped extra well. I ordered for us both and leaned forward. I was having a coffee black. Molly was having water and an omelette. I opted for steak and eggs. I needed my energy for the day. I had plans for the little miss, and not just in the bedroom. I was trying to be a good guy, but it was really hard not to focus on getting her alone. We had other things to do first. Things I hoped she would be glad about. How is Tommy doing? She took a sip of her water and smiled at me. Eyes moving around a bit more. I think he's going to wake up soon. Han does it every couple of months. For how long? Just a few minutes usually. Wow. Any idea how to keep him from sleeping back? She shook her head. No. But last time he was awake for almost 20 minutes. So maybe she shrugged. They told me to give up on him. But he is still in there. I can tell. Sometimes he even squeezes my hand when he hears my voice. I nodded. It was heartbreaking. And what a burden for such a young girl. She held up a manila folder. If I can get him supplemental insurance or Medicaid, then hopefully he can stay where he is. What is the other option? She wrinkled her nose. Stay at home. They do not have radios for music and the beds suck. And I have never seen them change him. I think they left him in dirty diapers for a full day a couple of times. Jesus. I took her hand. I will help. She blushed a little and looked away. You do not have to. I want to. I can provide moral support. She giggled and looked away. The food came and we dug in. I was happy to see that she ate well. The girl was not shy about food, and she was not the sort to starve herself. Plus, I really liked watching her lips as she ate. I decided then and there that I was going to make sure she ate well. At least 3 times a day. I grinned to myself. I was looking forward to plumping her up. Not that she was not perfect the way she was. She was almost too perfect. I threw some money on the table without waiting for the bill. Molly protested and then gave up when I would not budge. She would eventually get used to my taking care of her. And she was going to start getting used to it today. She held still like a good girl as I put her helmet on. I kissed her softly and helped her climb on. She was such a tiny thing. There was no way she could ride a machine like this by herself. Maybe I would get her a smaller ride, like the one Jack had made for Janet. I wanted her to be able to travel in style if I was not around. Of course, I was hoping I would always be around. That was the plan anyway. Where to? It is a surprise. I really do need to do this paperwork. See if I can afford to keep him there. He might be eligible for other federal and state programs too. We can look online together. Later, I added meaningfully. I do not have a computer. I smiled even though that broke my heart. The kid really did not have a pot to piss in. Well, that was about to change. It is okay. I do. I climbed on in front of her and pulled her tight against me. We were going to the dance studio of Janet. Jack had already texted me to go ahead. The dance studio of Janet was on the other side of town. As luck would have it, she was looking for a full-time receptionist. She might even be hiring an office manager if things worked out. She had not promised Molly the job yet, but she had agreed to meet her. And I knew she was going to love the little sweetie on the back of my bike. It was kind of hard not to love an angel like Molly. Her eyes were wide when I helped her off the back of my ride. She looked up at the dance studio, which was housed in what used to be a 5 and dime, and then back to me. Dancing lessons? I smiled. My friend Janet is looking for a receptionist. I figured since I cost you the last job, the least I could do was set up an interview. Her pretty mouth opened in surprise and she stared at me. Then she launched herself into my arms, squeezing me tightly. I could not stop smiling as I squeezed her right back. Nothing had ever felt so right. Come on, let me introduce you. She nodded and waited as I opened the door for her. Janet smiled and waved when she saw us. Janet, this is Molly. Molly, this is Janet. It is nice to meet you. Her smile was genuine. I sighed in relief. This was off to a good start. Molly, I heard so much about you. You have? Apparently Callaway has a lot of good things to say. The whole club is talking about it. I glared at her for blowing up my spot and she laughed at me. Janet was always cheeky. She was worse than the guys when it came to talking smack and could hold her own with anyone, even a burly biker. Molly had turned an adorable shade of pink. Oh, so you are looking for work? Molly nodded eagerly. Do you have a resume? I am between computers, but I can get it for you if you give me a few days. That is okay. Just tell me what you have done. I stood there watching Molly with pride. She listed all her jobs and the skills she used at each one. She was young and inexperienced, but she was a hard worker. And she was not afraid to speak up for herself. I have to admit I was impressed, especially when she rattled off her GPA and the awards she had won in high school. The girl should be in college, I realized with a frown. A girl like her deserved to keep learning if that is what she wanted. How could she be dumbass? Her brother is in a fucking coma and she is his guardian. Well, things would change now that she was with me. She would not be alone anymore. The weight would come off her pretty shoulders. I would handle things. I stopped, realizing she might not like that. My Molly was way too independent. I amended my thought. I would help her handle things. Janet had her come behind the front desk. They put their two pretty heads together and started looking at the schedule to set up a few shifts. They would start on a trial basis. I was grinning ear to ear when we left a few minutes later. Molly took my hand when I tried to put her helmet on. She squeezed it, stopping me. I looked down at her gorgeous face. Damn, she was almost too pretty to look at. But I will do my best to get used to it. To get used to her. What is wrong? Nothing is wrong. I want to thank you. I gave her a suggestive grin. Thank me with a kiss. She nodded shyly and stepped in, lifting her chin toward me. I was a hell of a lot taller than her, so even on tiptoes she could not reach my lips. Of course, lying down we would not have that problem. Images of the two of us tangled up in bed flooded my head, immediately sending my dick to full attention. With a groan, I caught her against me, kissing her deep and long. Her arm slid around my neck as she kissed me back, not holding back this time. Honk! Honk! The sound of passing cars brought me back to reality. We were getting some attention from rubberneckers on the busy road. Hoops! Let us get out of here. She turned pink and I knew she got my meaning. I wanted to be alone with her. I wanted to do things to her. Lots of dirty, filthy things. Okay? Come on. We will go to my place. I have that computer you were wanting to use. I helped her onto the back of my ride and climbed on, reminding her to hold tight before I started the engine. I drove a hell of a lot slower with her on the back. That was for damn sure. I even followed the damn speed limit, something I never did. My ride was custom and it had an engine that was faster than anything else on the road. Well, other than his ride. But he had done mine, so they might be about equal. Either way, it went way faster than the speed limit, something I took advantage of on a daily basis. But not with her precious Fanny behind me on the leather seat. Just thinking about her sweet ass made my dick so hard it hurt. I resisted the urge to speed home so I could get some relief. Or at least try to get some relief. Soon enough, Callaway. I fucking hoped so anyway. There was every chance that today would end with my balls turning blue again. I did not care. I just wanted to touch her. Make her come. It was nuts, but it was the truth. I just wanted her. It was a new sensation for me. My own selfish desires were secondary. Yeah, I knew I would go off like a rocket when the moment came. But all the other stuff that came before the finale had me grinning with anticipation. Her first time had to be perfect, whether it was today or some other time. Hopefully not in the distant future. Definitely with me. I pulled into my parking spot in front of my apartment building. The landlady, Mrs. Keeley, loved me and had given me a reserved spot. It was safer under the street light, though nobody in this town would dare touch an SOS bike. Not unless they were suicidal. It could happen, I guess. Death by biker. It kind of had a ring to it. This is where you live? I nodded, helping her off the back of the bike. Yeah, I have been here since high school, but I am saving up for a little place. Maybe outside town, where it is green. That sounds really nice. Her eyes were a little starry-eyed. I could tell I had impressed her. Good. I needed all the help I could get in that department. I decided not to scare her by telling her that I kept picturing her living in the house with me. Come on, let us get you set up on the computer. I can make us lunch in a little bit. Okay? Thanks, Callaway. I took her hand and squeezed. Do not think twice. What is mine is yours. I held the door open for her and then pushed the elevator button. I usually took the stairs to my third-floor apartment. But today I had other things on my mind. Like what to do with Miss Molly in a confined space. The moment the elevator doors closed behind us, I pounced. I pulled her against me, grinning wolfishly. She let out a little surprised squeak as my lips came crashing down on hers. I kissed the hell out of her, using all of my experience to knock her socks off. It worked. A soft ding announced that the doors had opened when I finally stopped kissing her. She was pressed against the faux wood paneling of the elevator, one leg lifted and wrapped around me. She looked stunned as I grinned at her. After you. Chapter 12. Mori. His apartment was unexpected. Sunny and clean with some pretty cool retro furniture and family photos. It did not look like the drug-filled fuck palace I had been half expecting in the back of my mind. There was only one thing I did not like, and it took me a minute to figure out what it was. The apartment was freezing. I wrapped my arms around me. "Fuck, are you cold?" I nodded and he raced to turn off the AC in a room I could not see. He appeared a moment later looking sheepish. He opened the window and took off his jacket, offering it to me. "Sorry, I sleep better with the AC on. I must have forgotten to turn it off." "It is okay." His leathery jacket was deliciously warm and heavy as he slid it over my shoulders. It smelled good too, like old leather, a hint of cologne, and something else. Something manly but hard to describe. Not BO, that was for sure. Callaway never smelled bad from what I could tell. I eyed his hair as he stood there looking serious. His hair was perfect always. The sides were shaved with a styled mop on the top. I was more stylish than your average biker, and that was before you even noticed the piercings and tats. Never mind that his clothes fit him like a glove and looked well made and expensive, but perfectly worn in. "You look good in my jacket." I could tell he wanted to kiss me, but he did not. I exhaled, realizing I had been holding my breath. The kiss in the elevator had overwhelmed me and left me feeling restless and unsettled. "So, the computer is in the bedroom. Let me get it and bring it out here." I knew he wanted me to tell him not to bother, that it was fine and that we could work in the bedroom, but I did not. I was still feeling shy around him and nervous about what he might expect. And I just was not ready to see the bed of this big, raw, sexy man just yet. I was insanely curious about his bed and what might happen in it, but I was equally nervous. Knowing he wanted to take me in there and do all kinds of things with me only made me unsure. I swear I could feel my clothes on my skin, and the tiny hairs all over my body stood up. And that was before I remembered exactly what had happened on my kitchen table. Callaway chose that moment to walk in and caught me staring at the small table that sat just under the window that dominated the living room. He gave me a wry smile and walked over to it, setting down his laptop. He sat down and looked at me. "Sit down, Molly." He lifted an eyebrow. "I am not going to bite." I sat down next to him and watched as he logged into his Wi-Fi. I stifled a giggle, though it was hard to resist teasing him. "Your Wi-Fi name is Mimo." He looked mildly embarrassed, which made my heart melt. That is what I used to call Bonnie when I first went to live with her. I felt questions tumble to my lips, wanting to explode. What had happened to his parents? How old had he been? Had he been scared? But I did not say anything. My hands slid under my thighs in a familiar gesture. I always sat on my fingertips when I was unsure of myself, which was a pretty frequent occurrence, especially around someone so confident and appealing. "I thought you called her Nana," I mumbled instead. "Oh yeah, I used both back then, but Nana stuck, I guess." He slid the laptop over to me and sat back. "How about it?" "Thanks." I leaned forward and he immediately moved his chair closer, his hand sliding under the jacket to stroke my back. I almost purred in pleasure. His big hand was so warm. The apartment was losing the chill with the warm air coming through the window. But his heat was different, deeper, better. It seemed to penetrate my skin, hitting the bones and muscles beneath. I felt like a cat leaning into the hand of someone. His touch was so reassuring I nearly cried. "What are we looking for?" I need to make sure his benefits are still up to date, and I want to apply for more aid. I stared at the screen. "This is great. I can do all of this online instead of mailing in forms." "Cool." He sat there in complete silence, while I updated my contact info and checked on the status of his benefits. No pressure, no distractions, only his calm presence and patience as I did what I had to do. It took almost an hour, but he did not make a peep other than to offer me a glass of water. Finally, I sat back, rubbing the bridge between my eyes. "Headache?" "No, I think I need glasses. I had a pair but I lost them." "It is not a big deal." "Hell yes, it is." He grinned at me. "I think you would look cute in glasses." I laughed, shaking my head. Uneven-made glasses sound like a come on. Did this guy have any turn-offs? I asked him and his smile faded. "Not when it comes to you." Callaway leaned in. I could have pulled away, but I did not. His lips were so soft as they pressed into mine. Warm, firm. The kiss was tender at first, but it quickly became demanding. His mouth opened and my lips did the same. His tongue danced into my mouth and I mimicked his moves, making him growl his approval. "Couch." Before I could even react, he had lifted me off my feet so I was pressed against his body. I gasped at the feeling of his hardness. I could feel his blazing hot dick through his jeans and my clothes. It triggered something deep inside me, and I whimpered, not recognizing the feminine sound of my own voice. Then I was horizontal. Callaway loomed above me for a split second before he came crashing down on me. We moaned in unison as the full length of our bodies made contact. My thighs opened without conscious thought, and he was wedging his narrow hips between them. "Mori." His lips found the sensitive spots on my throat. He kissed and licked and tickled me, as his hands wandered up and down my body at will. He pulled my earlobe into his hot mouth and tongued it. He was revving me up. I wondered if he knew how far I was nearly out of my mind by the time he undid the buttons of my shirt and spread it wide. I want you so badly. I took a deep breath. I want you too. His eyes were hooded and somehow penetrating. It was like he was looking straight through me, but I could see he was struggling with his control. But you are not sure how much. No, that is not it. Okay, not how much. He kissed me. But how far? I nodded, nearly forgetting what we were talking about. Tell me, Mols. Well, maybe a little bit farther, but not far enough to go into my bedroom. Right. I mean, if that is okay. Fuck, Molly. I am not going to turn down having you in my arms. He groaned as our lips met again. His kisses were more controlled now, but I could feel the wildness underneath. I was a wild man, but he was gentle with me. I trusted him, I realized with a start, so I did not hold back. I felt myself letting go of all my worries just like I did the first time I rode on the back of his bike. I felt the weight of the world lift off my shoulders. I did not hesitate or worry. I was not coy. I did not even think about the big V hovering above us. Not when he kissed me. Not when he deftly removed my shirt and jeans and bra. Not when he pulled my nipples into his mouth one by one, flattering them with reverent kisses. Not when he pressed a kiss into the white cotton of my panties. When he stared up at me, his eyes were raw with need. I nodded, even though I felt shy about what he was doing. And I still was not ready for what came after. He did not speak again. Han got to work on me like a starving man at a buffet. My panties disappeared so fast, it felt like they dissolved into thin air. The air was not as cold anymore, but it felt cool against my most sensitive bare skin, but not for long. His lips were there too quickly for me to even catch a breath, kissing me and stroking me with his calloused hands. Oh! His tongue slid up and down the line where my lips met. It was only the second time anyone had ever done it to me, and it was overwhelming. Last time I had stopped him so fast. Now I was wondering why I had been so stupid. I did not know anything could feel this good. His breath fanned my bare pussy and I nearly flew off the couch. You taste delicious. The sarcastic part of me wanted to ask, really? But I never got a chance. I was too busy proving to me that he really did find me delicious. He licked me like he was licking a bowl for the last of the ice cream. My fingers wound their way into his hair without my noticing. I tugged at it, arching my back and gasping for air. He added a finger to the mix, rubbing it gently against my clit. I could not imagine anything feeling better, until he switched and pulled my clit into his mouth. Then he strummed his tongue against me, hard. I felt his fingers slide inside me as the first orgasm hit. I arched off the couch, nearly falling off. For the first time I wished for a bed. I was ready to float back down to reality. But Calloway had other ideas. He leaned back to look at me. I was out of breath and fuzzy around the edges. My eyes focused as he leaned in and blew cool air against my sensitive flesh. I am not finished with you yet, he murmured with a wicked grin. That was it. I was wide awake. I stared in fascination as he stuck his tongue out slowly and dragged the tip of my clit. I nearly screamed with pleasure. This time he did not let me come right away. He teased me endlessly, keeping me on the brink. I whimpered in frustration as he paused and stroked my nipples and winked. I wanted to slap that knowing smirk off his face, but not as badly as I wanted to shove his head back between my thighs. Actually, I want more. I froze, realizing I was thinking about him. His body inside mine. I wanted to do it. The big it, the it that I had resisted for so long. Sweetheart? His expression let me know he was thinking exactly what I was thinking. I shook my head. It was too soon. We were on a couch. I had not even seen him without his clothes yet. Nemo moaned in disappointment and gave me a quick smile to let me know he was not mad. But his eyes swept to mine, looking hopeful. Maybe we could do this some more. And I could do it, to you. He shut his eyes and grimaced. Oh God, yes, okay. Yes. He looked at me and I saw the crazy look in his eyes. I was worked up and trying to play like he was not. He looked like he was on the edge of sanity. But maybe we could go into my bedroom. I looked toward the hallway, then back at Calloway. I gave him a tiny nod. I wanted more, just not everything, but close. And soon. If I kept seeing him, it was a done deal. And I doubted I could stop this now even if I wanted to. Sure, I was worried that a guy like him would hurt me. I was sure he was not a one-woman guy, but maybe, just maybe, he wanted to be. I stood up and let him lead me into the bedroom. Chapter 13. Cutaway. Oh my God. I gritted my teeth, holding back moans. We were on my king-sized bed spread out. I already had her thighs wide as I ate her sweet pussy again, making her come a third time while my dick pulsed relentlessly in my jeans. Now I was the one who was getting worked over, and I was close to finishing. Too close. The sad part was Molly had barely even begun. This is your time, your space, your free audiobook. Let the music fill the silence before we return to the story. She unbuttoned my jeans, smiling shyly up at me. I nearly spilled my seed right there and then. Just the butterfly touch of her delicate fingers through the worn denim had come close to undoing me. It was an embarrassment, but there was no hope for it. The woman had some sort of magical power over me. And my dick. Dear God, my dick loved her. My jeans were on the floor. Sliding them down had released the snake. I was a python around her and ready to strike. She had stared in shock as my dick literally bounced out of my jeans and bobbed there, pointing up toward my chest. Her fingertips had felt like fucking rose petals as they trailed curiously over my shaft. Then she had gotten on her knees and shimmied my jeans down, and her hair had waterfalled over my dick. The silky feeling of it was the most exquisite torture I could imagine. Her fucking hair had almost made me come. I was in deep trouble and I did not even care. This one small girl had so much power over me. I should be fucking terrified, but I was not. I was in too deep to even know I was at risk of drowning. Now Molly was climbing back up my body, her gorgeous skin gleaming in the faint sunlight coming in around the edges of the blinds. I wanted to pull the damn blinds open so I could see her. I wanted all the lights on. Hell, I wanted a fucking spotlight so I could look at her in perfect, clear, bright light. Yeah, that is what I wanted, but this was a pretty good second place. Molly. Her lips were puckered, getting closer and closer to my dick. A shiny drop of pre-cum waited for her. I held my breath as her lips got closer and closer. I moaned in ecstasy at the first tentative touch of her puffy lips on the tip of my dick. She kissed it, then looked up at me, sliding her tongue over the tip. Her eyes widened in surprise. It is salty. The reminder of her innocence made my hips jerk. This was not just the best blowjob I had ever gotten, which it was, even if it ended right now. It was the first she had ever given, and she was giving it to me. I was the luckiest son of a bitch in the whole fucking world. My balls twisted as she gripped my shaft and lowered her lips to my tip again. She might be inexperienced, but she had paid attention. She was using the moves I had used on her, and the effect was fucking devastating. I clenched my fist and jaw in an attempt to control what was happening. It did not work. Molly, Christ, I am going to come. She looked up at me, but did not stop. She was not taking me very far into her mouth, and she was not using the relentless rhythm I used when fucking or jacking myself off. Her touch was sweet and gentle and a little erratic. It should not have made me come like a fucking freight train, but it did. Oh lordy, it did. I screamed like a fucking banshee as the seed barreled up my shaft and out into her warm mouth. She jerked back and it hit her cheek. I should have grabbed my Johnson and angled it away from her. That would have been the gentlemanly thing to do, but she was too fast. God bless her. She opened her mouth and put it back on my dick. She pulled me into her mouth, making me come even harder. And then she did something that made it all so much better. She swallowed. I kept coming, making grunting sounds like an animal. I had no control over it. Her soft lips held my dick head in her mouth, and I felt her tongue swirl over the tip as she sucked on me. It was almost like she wanted to taste my cum. She was thirsty for it. And God help me, I could not stop giving it to her. I had never come this hard or this long in my life. Not even close. That was saying something considering how much I had fucked and how many weird-ass things I had tried. But all that was washed away by this one fucking flawlessly beautiful girl and her first 3-minute blowjob. Jesus fucking Christ. I am still coming. Molly. Christ. Finally, I gently pushed her away, cursing and moaning as my shaft spurted out the last few drops. I stared at her and at my stomach. We were both covered in milky white goo. It was a lot, and it was not even all of it. She had swallowed most of it. Just that thought made my dick twitch. Jesus, Molly. Are you okay? Of course I am. Did I do it right? She smiled at me, looking like a goddamn angel. There was a drop of cum on her lip and I moaned. My dick had been there. She had taken me in her mouth and driven me absolutely insane with the best first-time BJ in the history of the damn world. And just like that, I was hard again. Not just hard. I was in love. I had known I was falling. How could I not? She was so sweet, so different from anyone I had ever known. But right now it was real. It was 100% happening. I was hers, and I would be for the rest of my natural-born life. Mori. Yes, you did it right. I scrambled out of the bed, pulling on my jeans. Let me get you. I grabbed a washcloth and let warm water run over it. Then I brought it back to the bed and gently wiped her face clean. I was ready to go again, but I did not want her to know that. I took the washcloth back into the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. You are fucked, my man. Well and truly fucked. I smiled grimly, not giving a good goddamn that I was doomed. At least I got smiling. I was pretty sure I was already in heaven, though what I had done to deserve it was beyond me. I cleaned off my stomach and went back into the bedroom. Molly was reaching for my t-shirt. I nearly cried as the soft cotton slipped over her head, covering up her lush curves. I jumped on the bed and tackled her, rolling her until I was on top. Still trying to control my damn dick. I did not want to scare her off. Or worse, have her put more clothes on. You are amazing. Do you know that? She caught her lip between her teeth and looked up at me. You are not disappointed? That we did not, you know. Are you kidding me? That was incredible. Phenomenal. I kissed her between each word, getting her lips and neck and ears. I have never felt this good in my life. Oh, her cheeks were pink as she lay there looking so fresh-faced and sweet it nearly killed me. That is all you can say? I teased. I know you have been with a lot of girls, Calloway. Experienced girls. You do not have to lie. I gripped her head gently, forcing her to look at me. I am not lying. When you touch me I do not understand it, but I caught myself. I did. I was so close to saying it out loud. 3 little words. The same 3 words I had never said to another woman other than my gran. It hung there unsaid in the back of my mouth. The word wanted to come out, but I stopped them, even though it felt like I was choking on them. I kissed her again and sighed. I wanted more, but I was not getting that vibe from her. I brushed her dark, silky hair away from her face. You want to use the computer? Eat? Go for a ride? She looked scandalized when I jerked my head toward the headboard. Or go for round 2? Calloway, you are crazy. I nodded. Yeah, I am. I am fucking crazy about you. There, that was close to the truth, even if it barely scratched the surface. No need to scare the girl, or worse, scare her away. So hungry? She nodded and sat up. I sighed, rolling away. I was more than happy to feed her or anything else she needed as long as she did not leave. I pretty much wanted the girl by my side all the time. Fuck. I watched her put her clothes on, enjoying every second I got to see bare flesh. My dick was still throbbing, but I ignored it. The girl had gone way farther than she had ever gone before, and she had given me way more than I expected. My dick was going to have to wait for a second go, and I knew it. My shirt came off and I stared at her slender back as she gathered her clothes from the living room and put them on. A soft ringing made Molly scramble for her purse. I realized she did not get a lot of phone calls. She had not lived in town long, but I did not think that was it. She held people at a distance. She had to. She had her brother to worry about, and the 2 of them were pretty much on their own. Well, not anymore. She had me now. Her voice was soft, and I was too busy looking at her to pay attention to what she was saying. I realized something was wrong the moment she put the phone down and turned to stare at me. Can you take me back to the home? We have to hurry. What is it? What is wrong, Mal? She took a deep breath and exhaled. Oh, my brother is awake. Chapter 14. Katie. It is no VOC, right? Dev held up the can of paint proudly. Yeah, babe. This is the least toxic stuff they have. I nodded, exhaling in relief. Ever since that little line first turned blue, I had been worrying. Not non-stop, and I refused to give in to it. But yeah, I was a worrier. I was already in full-on mama mode. It sometimes felt like I had been since the moment we had stopped using protection. I had started taking prenatal vitamins a week before we even tried. It had come pretty quickly, which was not especially surprising considering how hard Dev had tried. I blushed. He had not stopped trying even after we got pregnant. He had used it as an excuse to have as much sex as humanly possible. He had not slowed down much either. He rolled up the sleeves of his shirt and winked at me, before bending to open the paint can. The look of heat in his eyes was unmistakable. He wanted to be alone and spend some time rolling around on the bed. My man was insatiable. My dirty thoughts were interrupted by the sound of something heavy dropping in the hallway, followed by muffled curses and shushing. I giggled as Dev rolled his eyes. In here, guys. Lucky and Mac stuck their heads in the door. I figured Lucky had been the one cursing and Mac had shushed him. Mac was quiet and reserved. He did not give much away. In fact, he often looked like he was made of stone. It was funny. Even though he was the cousin of Donnie, he reminded me more of Jack. Jack was like a giant tree in the forest, looking over everyone, and Mac was like a stone mountain with his eyes on everything all at once. Lucky, on the other hand, was a fistful of dynamite. The man was as brash and brazen as they came, and he was second only to Calloway in terms of his crazy antics. Well, the old Calloway. The new Calloway was something you had to see to believe. They nodded to me in greeting, respectful as always. I shook my head at the grin Lucky gave me as I hoisted myself out of the rocking chair. It belonged to my mom. She had nursed me in it, and I was going to nurse our child in it. It was not anything fancy, just plain brown wood, but Mac was going to paint some small flowers on it as well as a matching mural on the wall once it was painted. I was not a professional like Calloway, but he was very artistic, especially for a biker. Then I bring you guys some iced tea? They nodded and I scooted, heading to the kitchen. I was busy in the kitchen when I heard a noise. I squealed as 2 arms slid around me and a hot mouth pressed kisses to my neck. Dev, who else were you expecting? You are going to get paint on me. I turned around to see him grinning. His hands were in the air. Have not started yet. I scowled at him another minute just so he knew I was cross with him. I hated being surprised. I knew that. And yet, the man loved nothing better than a sneak attack, usually involving kisses or grabbing a particular body part. He grabbed my bottom now, pressing himself into me and kissing me deeply. Tev, we have company. No, we have workers. I was thinking I knew what he was thinking, and there was no way I was going into the bedroom with him to fool around with other people in the house. No, absolutely not. You are out of your mind, he sighed. Babe, I need you. You had me this morning, not to mention 2 times last night. He looked crestfallen, absolutely gutted. I frowned. The doctor said this was the last week. Oh, so that is it. I poked his chest. You are afraid you are not going to be getting any. Babe, it is not quantity, it is quality. I just know I will miss your qualities. He tilted his head trying to see down my shirt. You are impossible. The doctor said nothing vigorous in the last month. He did not say we could not do other things. Other things? Devlin looked like a kid on Christmas morning. I cleared my throat primly and nodded. Yes, other things. He looked suspicious. Like what? Use your imagination, I huffed. Lots of other things? I raised an eyebrow trying to control my embarrassment. I shrugged, feeling very shy all of a sudden. Yes. He picked me up and kissed me, his face looking far less worried. He set me down carefully, pressing a kiss to my cheek. I look forward to all these other things you are talking about, you wicked woman. He winked and picked up the cups and pitcher of iced tea. I stared after him, having trouble keeping my eyes off his cute ass. He really did have a perfect bottom. Then I realized what he had said and threw a dish towel at his back. Wicked! He did not answer. He just started whistling. In fact, he was whistling the whole rest of the day. Chapter 15. Mori. 3 days. My brother had been awake for 3 days. It was unexpected, a miracle. A miracle I was terrified was about to end. He had only had minutes of consciousness in the years following the accident. Snatched moments of clarity, usually months and months apart. But now he had been with me for 3 days, and I had not so much as left his side for any of it. Tommy smiled at me and waved, taking a sip from the juice box in his hands. He had barely been a teen when all this happened to him, and now he was a young man, 17 years old, but in his mind, he was still a 13-year-old boy. My heart broke for all the things he had missed. Sports, school, friends, prom. Come to think of it, we had both missed prom. But he was awake now, and I was determined to keep him awake, even if it meant sitting by his side and poking him every time he dozed off, which the nurse had specifically told me not to do. I was restraining myself, but it was hard. To say I was anxious was an understatement. He had slept a few times since he woke up. Each time I sat there staring at him, sure he had slipped away again, but he had not. He had only been sleeping. I dozed a bit in my chair by the window. I had barely eaten and had gotten zero sleep. I had only had what Callaway had brought me to eat. Diner food from Mace. Lots of it. I shared with Tommy, who had been over the moon about the milkshake. Once Callaway found out that he liked strawberry, a shake had shown up each and every afternoon. Never came inside though, and texted me and we would meet in the hallway. He did not want to intrude, but he wanted to be there for me. His support was more than I could ever have imagined. I was being amazing, almost too good, which made what I had to do even harder. I was coming now. We were going to talk. I paced back and forth, while a nurse came to take Tommy to physical therapy. He had to learn to walk again. His body had been healthy since the accident, other than some bruises and cracked ribs. It had been his brain that took the biggest knock and caused the biggest worry. So, I knew he would learn to walk again, even if it took him a long time. I closed my eyes realizing he could never make it up the stairs to my tiny apartment. We would have to move. Again. But it was worth it. I would do anything for my brother, literally anything. I was awake. It was a miracle. Hey. I glanced at Callaway standing in the open doorway. I was afraid to look at him. Afraid I would change my mind when I saw his handsome face. He had been a rock through this, and now I was going to hurt him. I was about to hurt myself too. I forced myself to look at him. The sorrowful look in his eyes took my breath away. I wished for the 100th time that I could make this work. But Tommy was awake. Man needed me. He had always needed me, but now he needed me hands-on, and I owed him all the time I had. Because I knew without being told that there was a chance he might fall asleep again and not wake up. So I was going to give him every single second I had. I exhaled and straightened my spine. How are you doing, sweetheart? Callaway came close, pulling me into his arms. I felt his lips press against my hair and nearly cried. And I felt so good. I smelled even better. I shook my head and pushed away from him. I tried to gather my wits, get some semblance of control over myself and my runaway emotions, and get control over the situation. I finally looked at him, and I could tell he knew something was wrong when I looked into his beautiful green eyes. It was right there, raw and impossible to ignore. I am really sorry, Callaway, but I cannot do this. It is a lot to handle, but you will get through it. I will help you. No, I mean this. I cannot ask you to do what needs to be done. This is going to be a full-time job. The muscle in his jaw ticked. That is okay. We can handle it. I have to focus on my brother right now. Of course, I am here if you need me. He squeezed my hand. For whatever you need. I shook my head. It was asking too much. Calloway, do not. I am not going anywhere. His big eyes were full of pain. Just do not push me away. I sighed and walked over to the window. I stared out, not even registering the beautiful sunny day. It's going to take all of my time, Cal. I know. I felt him come up behind me, but not forever. I do not know what the future is going to look like. I cannot ask you to wait. You can. No. I have already asked you to wait for you have your own life to live. I do not. I do not have a life without you. His hand slid under my hair to stroke my back. I sighed in pleasure, resisting the urge to lean back against him. Do not be ridiculous. Of course you have a life. You had one before we met. You can go back to that. You are wrong. I cannot go back to that. I will not. I looked at him and my heart sank. I looked bad, really hurt and upset. Damn it. I had not wanted to hurt him. I had imagined his moving on with 100 girls and forgetting all about me. I was sure they were lining up in droves. Molly, we are together now. We are a team. Do not break up the team because you are tired and stressed. I do not know. I do not want to. But I cannot even imagine how this is going to work. It will work. Calloway, I have to find someplace else to live. I already had to tell Janet I could not work for her anymore. I owe this place some crazy number. I am pretty sure it is over $10,000 already. They basically own me. I have no idea how I am going to support the two of us. He pulled me into his arms again. I led him. It felt so good there, so safe, but I knew I could not stay. Shh. It is okay. It sounds like a lot of money, but it is not. I can pay it. I cannot let you do that. Why not? I love you, Molly. I want to be with you. I forgot to breathe. He kept stroking my back, murmuring soft words of encouragement that everything would be okay. That he would take care of me, that he would take care of Tommy. He said he loved me. Calloway, he is going to need so much help. I called my aunt. She said we could come stay with her in Florida. Florida? He squeezed me hard. No. I pulled back and stared at him. No? That is right. I said no. The look in his eyes was unfamiliar, steely, hard. You cannot tell me no. I belong to you. He smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Oh, but that is where you are wrong. You do belong to me and I belong to you too. That is what being together means, and we belong together, sweetheart. I am keeping you. My mouth dropped open. Calloway was talking crazy. It was kind of a sweet crazy, but crazy all the same. We just met. You do not own me. His smile got wider. Oh, I think I do. He leaned in to whisper in my ear. And I think you know it is true. I just stared at him. You are not moving to Florida. You are moving in with me. With you? In your apartment? For now. I was going to tell you, but I thought I would wait until you were less skittish. Tell me what? About the house. What house? The house I am buying you. What are you talking about? I was starting to scare me. I was planning to buy a house or build one. I have been watching the MLS. I found a few good options last week. I even went to look at them. I have not found the perfect place, but I will soon. Buying a house? Yeah. It was supposed to be for us, but there is plenty of room for Tommy. He stepped forward until our bodies were touching. And anyone else who might come along. Huh? Who else might come along? My brain was not working clearly. None of this made sense. Calloway rode a motorcycle. I was in a gang. I wanted to move in with me. I had not even given up my V card yet. Babies. Babies? I just kept repeating what he said like an idiot. It took a second. He held my hips and smiled at me, waiting for the idea to sink in. Are you out of your mind? He smiled wider. Yes, I am. I spun as the nurse wheeled Tommy back in. I guess he was meeting Calloway now. I was so tired I could barely see straight. Hey man, I am Calloway. I am with Molly. Cool. You are the one who brought the milkshakes, right? That is me. Calloway stuck out his hand. I was surprising me right now in a really good way. I was cool as a cucumber with my brother. So many people did not know how to act around sick people, especially people in wheelchairs. They just stared and acted awkward. Calloway was just being a guy talking to my little brother man to man. Tommy did not miss a beat. He shook hands with Calloway, obviously impressed. I looked at the nurse, Maggie. She was one of the nicer people on staff. How did he do? He's a champ. He should get some rest now. She gave me a pointed look. So should you. Calloway nodded. Do not worry, I will make sure she gets some sleep. She smiled at him, clearly charmed. Thank you, Calloway. I will tell Miss Bonnie you said hello. He shook his head. I already popped my head in. She was too busy with her latest murder mystery for me. She is bloodthirsty, that one. Maggie had a good belly laugh over that one. I was watching all of this unfolding in front of me. Calloway was taking me home. Callaway was making sure I got sleep. Callaway was going to help take care of Tommy. Callaway wanted us all to move in together. Callaway wanted babies, and took my hand and squeezed it. We will be back tomorrow, my man. Tommy grinned and bumped fists him. Cool. Are you sure you will be all right? I was practically begging Tommy to ask me to stay. But he did not need me. I was okay. Go home. You are starting to smell. He pulled a face and I laughed. I could not help it. He might have just woken up from a coma, but he was still my pain in the ass little brother, and I could not have loved him anymore. Love. Callaway said loved me. Loves me. I looked up at him as he tugged my hand, leading me out of his room. I was texting someone, but he looked at me and winked. He hit me all at once. He really did love me. It was in his eyes. Holy hell, Mr. Big Bad Biker was in love with me? I was too tired to think about it, but I kind of thought I loved him too. The minute we were through the door, Callaway tossed me over his shoulder and carried me down the hall. Chapter 16. Callaway. Put me down. The delicious package slung over my shoulder was wiggling around. I shook my head and smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was grim and determined. I held her tightly and waited out front for the cavalry to arrive. Every time she wiggled, I slapped her ass. I was too mad to speak, and she was too tired to put up much of a fight. Whiskey pulled up not 5 minutes later. You need a lift? You mind riding my bike? No, man. What is up? Molly has not slept in 3 days. I cannot have her falling off my ride. I heard about her brother. How is he doing? Good. I's a tough kid. Molly was muttering something, so I swung her into my arms so she could meet Whiskey. Oh, yeah, sorry, sweetheart. Molly, this is Whiskey. Whiskey, this is my old lady. Well, goddamn. It is nice to meet you, Molly. Whiskey grinned. Molly glared at me. I pretended not to notice. I am not old. I squeezed her. She was tired and cranky. We would sort everything out once she got some rest. That is not what it means, sweetheart. Whiskey opened the door, and I deposited Molly in the seat, fastening her seatbelt. She pouted a little bit, and my heart constricted at the shadows under her eyes. She must be wiped. That was why she tried to break up with me, I decided. I was still mad about it, but I was more concerned about her than anything. We would speak on it at length, but not until she got some sleep and some food in her cute little belly. But we were going to have words. What does it mean, old lady? I stared at her, still leaning over her in the car. It means you are mine. I slammed the door and used the keychain to lock it, just in case she decided to be difficult. But she sat there docilely like a good girl. Thanks, Bon. See you at my place. Cool? Whiskey nodded and I shook his hand. I gave Molly one last stay-put look, got into the car and drove it over to my apartment. She was quiet on the way over and so was I. It was better that way. The stuff I had to say was not going to put her in the mood to sleep. She needed rest. I did not want her getting herself sick, and I needed her awake for the talk we were having. Yeah, things were moving fast, but it was right. I felt it in my bones. Her brother waking up had changed things, sped things up. But that was okay. Hell, it was better than okay. I wanted her under my roof now. I did not want to wait until we dated for some length of time. I wanted her now. I wanted to ease her burden. And most of all, I wanted her in my bed. Forever. If heaven was whatever you wanted, then I wanted a gigantic fluffy white bed with nothing but naked Molly in it. She could be wearing something sometimes, I decided. Lacy little transparent under things that did not actually cover anything. One of my old shirts if heaven was chilly. Maybe a button down with all the buttons missing. That way it would slide open with the slightest breeze. And if it was my heaven, there would be plenty of breeze. One thing that I knew for sure, there were no panties in paradise. I gave her a look as I pulled in front and put the car in park. She looked nervous. That was good. She should be. What she tried to do back there? Well, there would be a reckoning. Once she woke up, she was going to have to pay the piper. Chapter 17. Mori. Bed. I glared sleepily at Callaway. I was pointing at his bedroom being bossier than a drill sergeant. I shuffled in there feeling like I was walking through water. Lift your arms. I grumbled but did as he asked. He stripped me perfunctorily, then slipped an incredibly soft old t-shirt over my head. Considering he was nearly 1.5 feet taller than me, not to mention wider, it fit me like a nightgown. It was so soft against my skin that I made a loud sound. I was too tired to even stay mad at him as he settled me in his bed and pulled up the covers. Nan gave me a wicked grin. Sleep tight, princess. I blinked and closed my eyes. Just like that, I was out. The smell of something delicious filled the air. I opened my eyes realizing how hungry I was. My stomach grumbled as the days of barely eating caught up to me. I had a split second where I had no idea where I was. It was dark outside and the only light was coming in around the edges of the closed door. I heard someone humming and making soft clanging noises. Callaway. I relaxed instantly when I realized whose apartment I was in. I was cooking from the smell of it. The man was full of surprises. I padded toward the kitchen and peeked inside, leaning against the doorframe. Callaway was cooking. His jeans fit him like a glove, showcasing his sexy ass and long legs. Honey wore an apron over his bare chest. I could not help but let my eyes wander over all that exposed skin and big thick muscles. Cool your hormones, Molly. I is just a guy, not a sex machine. But he was a sex machine. He just happened to be a very nice sex machine who looked like the quintessential bad boy. The man knew what he was doing in the sack and in the kitchen from what I had seen so far. I scratched my hip, yawning sleepily. I was not awake yet, but I could already tell I was more rested than I had been in weeks, if not months. Years maybe. The truth was, I hardly ever slept all that deeply because of worry and stress. Because I did not feel safe. Because I was alone. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt safe with Callaway. The heavily tattooed, motorcycle riding, pierced to high heaven guy standing in front of me made me feel safe. I shook my head, not ready to examine that all too closely. Instead, I tried to figure out what the hell he was making. The kitchen was controlled chaos, with bowls full of various things laid out. Cooking utensils scattered over the clean countertop, and 2 pots simmering merrily on the 1950s-looking stove. Now I really was confused. I saw the neat curved lines of taco shells lined on a tray, but the smell was distinctly Italian. Garlic, tomato, and basil filled my nostrils. It smelled incredible. Italian, he turned, clearly not aware that I had been standing there ogling him and his ass. Mostly his ass. A lock of hair fell over his forehead and he shrugged sheepishly. I like mixing things up. I smiled, suddenly feeling more confident. I cannot wait to try it. He stared at me, the heat in his gaze doing crazy things to my insides. I guess I will get dressed. I did not say anything, just stared. I was starting to feel like a freak when he cleared his throat. You could take a shower, if you want. I nodded and smiled, making a swirling motion with my finger. Do not let dinner burn. He blinked and seemed to come back to himself. He shook his head and gave me an exasperated look. Yeah, I got it. I was practically whistling as I grabbed my clothes and slipped into the bathroom. The water pressure was good and I took the time to wash my hair with his yummy-smelling shampoo. I did not linger though. I wanted to call Tommy, see how he was. I tried to suppress the urge to imagine the worst-case scenario. He's going under again, being scared, alone as he felt consciousness slip away. Is okay. It is over. Is okay, Mols. And anyway, there is nothing I could do about it. Not even sitting there and staring at him every second of every day would keep him safe. That is not how the world worked. The dark thought nearly sent me to my knees. I had been carrying the weight of the world for so long, and for what? I was just a human. Imperfect and definitely not all-powerful. So what was I making myself crazy for? I dried off and put my clothes back on, wishing I had something cleaner to put on. I felt a lot better though as I sank onto the couch and dialed the nursing home. Hi, I am calling for Tommy Malone. Is this Molly? Yes. Jackie? Hey girl, I will call his room for you. Thank you so much. It is no big thing. A breath as she hesitated. I am so happy for you too. I felt a big warm spot open up in my chest. We were not alone. It was not just me and Tommy anymore. We had made real connections since we came here. As if on cue, Callaway walked in bearing food. He held up a bowl and a stack of plates. Food is ready when you are. I smiled at him, the phone clutched my ear. I nodded and mumbled thanks. He started setting the small table by the windows where we had used the laptop earlier. I heard the phone ring a few times as I was connected and then a soft click. Yeah. I closed my eyes and pulled my knees into my chest. The sound of his voice was the best thing I had ever heard by far. I was still here. I was still okay. Hey you. Listen, I am sorry I am not there. I am coming over soon. I just need to eat something really quickly and he cut me off. I am good. Seriously, Moles, you need to chill. I laughed, feeling every minute of the last 5 years every second. Chill? Right. Well, you do. I am okay. I am going to bed soon. And anyway, I could use some alone time. I cracked up at that. My brother was a teenage boy and was basically telling me he needed to wank. Gross. Whatever, just get some sleep or whatever. Is Callaway there? Yeah, I am at his place. Good, I like that guy. Mudohu? Yeah, and so do you. I nodded, watching Callaway bring all the Italian taco fixings out to the table. He could not hear me, but Tommy sensed my agreement. I did like Callaway. Even though it scared me, I liked him a lot. See you tomorrow, sis. Okay, bro. I will catch you mañana. I heard the whoosh of air as he set the phone down. I set my phone on the heavy wood coffee table and pushed my damp hair behind my ears. Callaway carried a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. He stopped, checking in with me. All good? I nodded, smiling brightly at him. Yes, all good. Great. Let us eat. My stomach made a loud rumble in response. Yes, we would eat. And after that, I was not quite sure what would happen. Liar, you know exactly what is going to happen. It is about time too. Tonight, I was finally going to lose my virginity. Chapter 18. Cutaway. Had enough? Molly was leaned back in her chair, holding her cute little belly. She had been so tired and hungry, she had put away almost 3 helpings. I hope she had not overdone it. I did not want her up chucking while I had my way with her, because I had plans for her. Big plans. I smiled reassuringly. No need to make her nervous about what was to come. She had been through so much, it kind of made my head spin. She was so sweet and yet so strong. She broke my heart and healed it all at the same fucking time. All I wanted to do was keep her close, put my hands on her, see her fucking perfect face every day, and protect her. Well, I wanted to touch her with a lot more than my hands. I wanted her against me as often as possible. It was not just about sex either. It was almost as if I wanted to absorb her. Just lay my body on hers and get as close as possible. Not just with my dick. I wanted to freaking mind melt with her. Yeah, Molly was turning me into an alien from a sci-fi movie. Only this was the softcore porn version of that sci-fi movie. If I was an alien, I wanted to mate with a human. This human. I smiled at her again, reaching out to pick up our plates. We had both had a little wine, but not enough to make us act foolish. Just enough for a little courage. The truth was I needed it. I was laying my cards on the table tonight, laying down the law. I felt sure that my way was right and the best thing for both of us. Best for her brother too. But deep down, I was afraid she would say no, push me away again, tear me apart without even realizing what she was doing. I had nearly lost my mind when she tried to turn me away. It was like the sun had gone out and it was never coming out again. I had been crumbling and she had barely noticed. Too tired to even pay attention while she ripped my heart out. Because I knew without a doubt that Miss Molly had no clue how much power she had over me. And she had a lot. I had never let someone in like this. Never wanted to. But with her she was it. She had more power over me than anyone. Ever. Tonight I was going to show her how much. I prayed to God she did not run away from me. Thank you. I feel human again. I shooed her away when she tried to help me clear the table. She is going to need her energy. Every bit of it. Why do you not go sit on the couch? I will be there in a second. I made short work of the mess, leaving some things to soak and sticking a few things in the dishwasher. I put the leftovers into Tupperware and into the fridge. It was not like I spent a lot of time cooking and cleaning, but I was no slob. Bonnie had not raised me to be disgusting. Even my messy day after party nights got cleaned up within 24 hours. Not that I ever brought the party home, but I had definitely tied on one in my apartment or finished up early in the morning at home. Most nights I crashed at the clubhouse, usually with a bed full of club girls. Man, those days feel a million miles away, and not in a bad way. I could not care less that my days of running wild are over. I dried my hands and leaned against the door to the living room, watching my quarry. Molly was reading a magazine, something I had lying around. She was so serious, so proper looking sitting there. My mouth twisted in a wry smile. She is a very proper young lady, and I am about to do filthy things to her. Filthy, unspeakable things. Things she had never done before. Things she had never imagined. As soon as we had our little talk. So, her head snapped up and she gave me a sweet smile. That smile melted my heart a little. But it was not going to make me go easy on her. I had to be firm. Otherwise she would keep pushing me away. Things are going to change. Starting now. She blinked, her smile fading away. What do you mean? I mean this morning. You said some stuff. You said some stuff too. She crossed her arms over her curvy chest. I got momentarily distracted by her glorious rack before getting back to the matter at hand. I cleared my throat. You think it is you and Tommy against the world. That is over. She opened her mouth to speak, but I held up a hand. You have me now, and you cannot just push me away every time you get cold feet. This is real. This is permanent. She did not say a word. Her eyes were very big and wide as she stared at me. Her gorgeous pink lips opened a fraction. Damn, but I wanted to kiss that look right off her face. She did not believe me. Well, before the night was over, she would. I would make sure she knew it real good. I am buying a house for us. All 3 of us. But no buts. I was thinking about doing it anyway. And now that you are in the picture, it makes more sense than ever. You cannot just buy a house. Yes, I can. My business is doing well. I have a wait list. But you cannot spend all your money on me. Yes, I can. I smiled at her coolly. Besides, who said it was all my money? She stared at me. I stared back. I was still outwardly relaxed, but my blood was pumping. I wanted her clothes off. I wanted her in my bed. I wanted to keep her in my damn pocket forever. You cannot just tell me to move in. Yes, I can. What gives you the right to tell me what to do? She stood up looking like a furious kitten. If she had hissed at me or swished her tail, I would not have been surprised. My lips curled into a smile. She really did look beautiful when she was angry. Because I love you. That is why. And you love me. I took 3 steps until I was standing toe to toe with her. And if you do not love me yet, I will make you. Some of her anger melted away. I saw it leave. Her shoulders relaxed. The fierce glare in her blue eyes softened. Cannot make someone love you, Calloway. I leaned in close, tipping her chin up so that our lips were inches away. Watch me. My lips brushed hers and she sighed. It was a feminine, yielding sound. It said, I am not going to fight you. It said, I will let you take my clothes off and have your way with me. It was the best sound I had ever heard, and I meant to hear it 100 times before the night was over. Thankfully, it was still early and she was well rested and well fed. So was I. And I had been planning what to do the entire day while she slept. Molly was in for a big surprise. I scooped her up and hoisted her over my shoulder, my hand on her ass. It felt damn good under my palm, juicy and so feminine. She let out a squeal, wiggling around a bit, but I was not having it. I spanked her and she held still. Probably more from surprise than anything. Behave yourself. I squeezed her sweet ass and she let out another shocked noise. It was cute, but I was not going to be distracted. I lowered her carefully to the bed. Now we are going to get a few things straight, you and I. I wagged my finger when she tried to stand up. She sat back down. Good girl. We are together. This is not a fling. This is permanent. Her eyes grew wide. I'll belong to me. She opened her mouth to argue and I hushed her. And I belong to you too. Her mouth shut like a trap. So, since you are mine, it is my job to teach you when you get off track. This right here is what I call a correction. I sat down and patted my lap. Lie over my legs. What? You are crazy. You are getting a spanking. For what? I am not a child. No, you are not. I gave her an evil smile. I would never spank a child. She looked outraged and I used her moment of distraction to pull her over my thighs. She wiggled, but I just held her still until she wore herself out. I was not going to spank her hard. I just wanted to make a point. Plus, I really liked the view from this angle. Relax. I am not going to hurt you. I admired the round cheeks as she finally stopped struggling. Then I lifted my hand and swatted her ass. I felt my dick start to harden as I watched her butt jiggle. Holy mother of God, that was sexy. This is for trying to run out on me again. Swat. Jiggle. Pause. This is for not accepting help when it is offered. Swat. Jiggle. Deep breath. Pause. This is just so you do not forget who butters your bread. She was laughing when I pulled her upright again. I frowned. Laughing? This was a serious matter. What? Butters my bread? She choked out each word around loud, unladylike guffaws. I scowled at her, then started to laugh myself. Young lady, do not make me spank you again. That only made her laugh louder. That was the softest spanking in the world. Well, I did not want to hurt you. I was just proving a point. You know, Calloway, you are not very scary. Not like I thought at first. I pulled her close and stared into her eyes. Thought I was scary? No. I thought you were hot and dangerous looking. There is a difference. I started smiling and could not stop. You thought I was hot? Oh, shut up. Like you do not know that you are gorgeous. Gorgeous? I stroked my imaginary beard, but I was getting distracted. I needed to make my point. The spanking was only the first step. Lie down, woman. I need to do things to you. My smile faded as she lay down without protest. I looked her over from the tips of her bare toes up the long, luscious legs, past the curved hips, trim waist and narrow ribs to her unbelievable tates, all the way to her sweet, perfect, prettier than possible face. Are you going to behave or do I need to restrain you? Her eyes got really big. Restrain me? I felt my lips twitch but refused to smile. I held out a finger. If you are not good, I will tie you up. Oh, she was intrigued but not intimidated. That was fine. I wanted her gasping with pleasure and begging for my dick, not scared. I wanted her to admit she loved me, damn it, and to tell me once and for all that she was going to stick around. I started by running my hands over her clothes. I touched every bit of her, lingering the slightest bit over her most sensitive parts. She squirmed restlessly as I touched her over and over again. I felt like an artist painting a masterpiece using my gun to stain skin in colors and shapes that caught the eye and sparked the soul. But I was not using ink or paint. I was just trying to get her to soak those cute little panties. Hell, I wanted her to soak the damn bed. So far it was working. I knew I was fucking amazing in bed even without trying. And I had made her come before. Twice. But tonight she was not going to get satisfaction until I did. I smiled grimly and traced the seams of her jeans. She was already horny. I had seen to that. Ladies loved foreplay and I was going slow as fuck tonight. She was going to overdose on foreplay. Each stage was going to last 10 times longer than usual. And by dawn she would be begging me for release or riding my dick. I think we are ready to take these clothes off. She nodded breathlessly as I ran my fingertips over her nipples, which were already poking holes in her shirt. Or should I start with these? Yeah, let us just focus up here for a while. Her eyes got wide as she realized I was not going to finish her off right away. But she did not misbehave or argue with me. I toyed with her teats through her shirt for a good long while, ignoring the restlessly rocking hips just inches away. She was squirming, trying to hold back and failing. It took all my willpower not to pounce on her, but I did it. Finally, I pulled her shirt off but left her bra on, and then I started again. Circling, plucking, teasing until she was tossing her head and writhing on the bed. I wondered briefly if she could come from me playing with her luscious teats alone and decided to switch tactics. I slid my hands down to her thighs and rubbed them lightly up and down, coming close but never touching her pussy. She moaned helplessly in pleasure and my dick lurched in response. This was harder on me than it was on her. But even if it was torture, it was pleasurable torture. There was nothing better than having her at my disposal. I could do anything to her at this point and I knew it. It was the best damn feeling I had had in my life. But I still held back. My hands were itching to do more, press harder, touch skin. But this was the way to drive her wild. I knew it. I sensed it. Hopefully I would not completely lose my mind in the process. I prayed fervently that the payoff was worth it, that she would give in, that she would admit she was mine. I lost the battle to keep this up and unfastened her jeans. I wanted to see those panties and I was not waiting another minute. I swallowed as her sexy little mound came into view. The white cotton of her panties clung to her pussy lips, clearly outlining them. It was almost too much for me. "You are moving in with me," I said as I tugged her jeans the rest of the way down. "I'll belong to me." She whimpered but did not say anything. I was not sure she was even listening to me. I ran my thumb over her cleft through her panties and was immediately rewarded by a damp spot. She looked so good lying there in her bra and panties. Her body was strong and supple and made for my loving. I decided I wanted to get her a white bikini to take to the beach. Hawaii, maybe. Either way, I was never going to forget this moment. If you want me to keep touching you here, you are going to have to agree with me. Do you want me to stop? No, please. Are you going to move in with me? My hand lifted and her eyes popped open. I do not know. I cannot think, Callaway. My fingers made a lazy whirl on her inner thigh and she gasped. It is very simple, sweetheart. Do you belong to me? She stared at me. I have never belonged to anyone. Her words cut through me like a knife. She had been on her own for so long, but I could not stop now. Will you do now? I will not hurt you. I will keep you and your brother safe. I promise you, Molly. Okay. She sighed and closed her eyes again. I moved my fingers closer to her pussy. Okay, what? Okay, I belong to you. I grinned and leaned down to kiss her pussy through her panties. She rewarded me with a sexy whimper. I tugged them down with my teeth, growling at her like a wild dog. Then I got her bra off. There she was, laid out in all her glory. Jesus Christ, the woman was spectacular naked. She was the most beautiful thing I had seen in my life. And she is mine. Good. That is real good, baby. Then I hear it again. I kissed her stomach and looked up at her. I belong to you, Callaway. And you are moving in with me. She sighed again. Ah, that scares me. I lay beside her, letting my hands wander freely over her silky skin. I had my jeans on still. It was the only thing keeping me from plunging my desperate dick inside her. The big guy was desperate for her, to say the least. Why? She stared at the ceiling. What if you change your mind? Her voice was so tiny, so scared. She had been alone for so long. And I knew this was something that had scared her since she lost her parents. Listen to me. I gently lifted her chin so I could look into her beautiful eyes. There are only a few things certain in this life. One, that we all come into this life and we all leave it. And two, that I am going to love you until the day I die. Her eyes filled with tears. I think mine may have too. But that did not last long because we were too busy kissing. Kissing side by side soon turned to kissing with her long legs wrapped around me as I held her firmly in place. My dick wanted out of my jeans, but I was not going to rush this. I wanted to savor my moment of victory. Before long we were rolled over, with me over her, kissing and touching and, dear Lord, dry humping like a pair of teenagers afraid that their mom was about to come in. But we were alone and we were not teenagers. And she loved me. I knew she did. She had to. Tell me. I nuzzled my face into her neck, kissing her softly as I breathed my question into her perfect little ear. I am yours. Yes, you are. Tell me what else. I will move in with you. Tell me too. That was good, but not what I was after. Not what I craved. Then she changed everything. What else? I leaned up to look down at her. I had never seen anything like that in my life. The trust and innocent lust in her eyes almost undid me. I want you to take my virginity. She blushed a bit and bit her lip, looking away. Right now? Holy hell. I had expected that might be on the table. But I thought I was getting 3 little words first. Turned out those 7 little words were just as good. I squeezed her narrow waist. You should, eh? Once I start, I am sure. I want you, Callaway. Please do not make me wait. Well, hell, how could I say no to that? I grinned and kissed her lips hard. Then I traveled down her body, kissing and biting her as I went. Soft little nips that made her squeal. Call away. Shh. My little princess was going to have to wait for the grand finale. She was a virgin and I had a massive piece of equipment. I had to prepare her first, and then it would be my turn to feel her wrapped around my dick. I felt my dick grow even larger at the thought if that was even possible. I started slow licking and tasting her puffy little pussy lips. She gasped and made sexy little whimpers as I went deeper, pushing my tongue inside her. Fuck, she is tight. I had no clue how I was going to get my 10-inch dick into paradise, but I had to try. I used my tongue a bit and then switched fingers, sliding one in to start. Oh Christ. Sweetheart, you have to try and relax for me. I am relaxed. Her breathy voice did sound calm. Fuck. If she was so tight I could barely fit my finger inside her, we were going to be here a long-ass time. I felt my dick leak pre-cum as I ground my teeth. Better make her come quick. Maybe get another finger in. Make her come and she will open up. I lowered my head again, licking and sucking her clit into my mouth. It was not long before she arched off the bed, shuddering through her release. I doubled down, adding another finger. She had opened up just a bit. I worked her, gently stretching her, my fingers getting all the fun. My dick is jealous as hell, truth be told. She came again and I moaned in helpless pleasure, feeling like I was close to coming with her. It would not surprise me at this point if my sweet little girl made me come without even touching me. But I wanted to wait. I wanted the whole thing. I slid a third finger inside her and pulled it out again, satisfied that I had prepared her. I had a chance of getting inside her now. I would go slow so as not to hurt her. I was not sure it would work, but it was now or never. I had been wanting this since the first moment I saw her. This was it. It is time to make her mine. Chapter 19. Mori. I was not nervous. I was ready, prepared, eager, not even a little bit nervous. Not until I saw it. I was thunderstruck when I saw it. It was huge. Bigger than huge. It was monstrous. Callaway has a horse dick. Seriously, it looked like it belonged on a horse or a rhino or a freaking dinosaur. It looks like it belongs in a damn missile silo. What he had was not normal. It was a third appendage, big, hard, and somehow impossible to look away from. Callaway was on his back, kicking his jeans off. He shimmied them down and kicked them off. Then he rolled over and looked at me. He must have caught the fact that I was practically hyperventilating, because his face got all worried, and he rubbed his hand up and down my arm. Hey, baby girl, you sure about this? I knew he wanted me to say yes. I wanted to say yes, so I nodded, feeling less sure than I had before. I was huge. I was not. It was going to hurt, but it would make him happy, so I whispered, yes. I will go slow, sweetheart. Do not be afraid. His gorgeous face was so serious, so solemn as he positioned himself above me. The smooth, flat expanse of his chest and belly pressed into me. It felt so good. Even the tip of his dick felt like heaven as it pressed into my folds. But then it inched inside and I felt like I was splitting in two. I was nervous and he knew it. He stopped with his dick just inside me, holding perfectly still above me. It did feel good, but I knew it was just the tip. You are made to stretch, baby. Do not be scared. Just tell me if it hurts and I will stop. You said you could not stop once we started. He frowned, shaking his head earnestly. Oh, we stop if it is hurting. I promise. It will not be easy, but I promise I will stop. He looked at me intently. His jaw clenched as he held his whole body back. All that rough power in check, and he was doing it just for me. Am I hurting you, Moles? Please God, just tell me because you feel like paradise to me. No, you are not hurting me. He exhaled in relief and inched forward again. I gasped at the feeling of stretching. It still did not hurt. Not exactly, but I felt really full. Maybe this is what having a baby feels like. Why do you think about babies, Molly? Focus. I let myself relax and slid my arms around his neck. His handsome face was serious. His eyes dark as he focused on what he was doing, what we were doing. We were really doing it. We were finally having sex like two normal people in a relationship. It was no big deal, except Callaway was an outlaw biker with piercings and a horse dick, and I was an inexperienced girl with major baggage. He had had dozens of women. I had no doubt, maybe more, and now he was what? My boyfriend? Calling a man like Callaway your boyfriend did not seem right. It was too tame, too soft. No, Callaway is not my boyfriend. I is my man. The man braced above me was hard. Literally everywhere except maybe his lips. Naimorand as he slid in a little further. I was really taking his time. He did care about me. I was not going to hurt me. Oh, there it is. What? I can feel your hymen. My mouth opened. I had not expected him to say that. It sounded so medical. I can do this without hurting. I hope. He angled his hips and wiggled around a bit. I nearly laughed except that it felt incredibly good, so I moaned instead. What are you doing? Oh fuck, Molly. You feel so good. My body told me how to do this without hurting you. Do what? I will tell you after, okay? I was breathing heavily as he worked, closing his eyes in concentration. Then something shifted inside me and he slid forward. If I thought I felt full before, this was full times 10. I felt an enormous pressure inside me, but it was not unpleasant. Oh, you okay? I nodded. I think so. He kissed me softly. Then he lifted his head to stare down at me. I really want to move now, but I will not until you are ready. I nodded and realized that it did not hurt, not even a little. I realized that I wanted him to move. Okay, tell me when. Now. He kissed me again and I felt him pull out just a little bit, then push back in. Then he did it again, and again, slow and steady, and oh my, did it feel good. Everything that had happened before was, well, it was nothing compared to this. His skin rubbed against my clit every time he went deep and I felt myself getting close to coming again. He lifted my leg on one side and wrapped it around his hip without stopping the sewing motion. I was so confident, so sure of what he was doing, and the look in his eyes took my breath away. Pure need, lust, love. For me. Jesus, I am close. He stopped moving above me. I cannot believe how good you feel, baby. You feel good too. He groaned and I felt him swell deep inside me. I can pull out, but I do not want to. What do you mean? I mean I want everything. I want to have a baby with you. A baby? He nodded and pressed my lips with a quick kiss. Tell me, sweetheart. Tell me I can come inside you. I do not know what made me say yes, but I did. Maybe it was the tingle spreading deep inside me, everywhere his dick touched me. Maybe it was the hopeful look on his face. Maybe it was the way he told me he loved me over and over again as I felt him explode inside me. I arched against him, shaking and shivering as I found my release. We came together, almost as if his body had told me what to do and when to do it. It felt so good, so right. I knew I had made the right decision. I love you, Molly. I fell asleep in his arms. Chapter 20. Jack. So this is it. Calloway stood there looking like a weasel in a hen house. I shook my head. He had always been the wildest of all of us, which was saying something. And now the wild child was ready to settle down. In fact, he was dead set on it. He had even taken the younger brother of his girl under his wing, helping the kid with physical therapy and wheeling him around town in his wheelchair. They made quite a pair. A clean-cut kid who looked 16 but was mentally 12. Then the tattoo-covered guy in leather and ripped denim, who usually sported some sort of variation on a mohawk minus the shaved sides. Calloway had big hair, almost as big as his personality. But he and Tommy had hit it off, and he was in love with the girl. That much was plain. Now that he was house hunting, I had to do my best to support him. Calloway might be crazy, but he was loyal to a fault and surprisingly good with the kids. He had gotten the bug when he met the daughter of Whiskey and Becky the first time, and now the man had babies on the brain. It is perfect. He turned in a circle, taking in the mid-century ranch house. It was dated, and there was a lot of work to do. But it was a good lot on a quiet, family-oriented street with plenty of older SOS guys living in the area. A little more rural than suburban, and not far from the place of Donnie and Sally. Right next door to his mom and sister. Spitting distance from the place I was secretly fixing up for Janet, in fact. How did you even know about it? The house belonged to the aunt of a club guy. It is a good neighborhood. My place is just down the block, and Donnie is less than half a mile from here. I noticed. Molly will love that. Janet will too. Those two have gotten thick these past few weeks. And they had. Not that it surprised me. Janet was definitely not short on friends like Molly was. But his lady was a great girl. She was sweet and hardworking. The kids loved her too. We all pretty much thought she was a magician. She had somehow tamed Calloway, almost by accident. She had succeeded where 1,000 women had failed. And she did it without even trying, from what I could tell. Tell him I will take it. You want to haggle? Calloway had that crazy gleam in his eye he used to get right before a bender. He would slide up to the bar and ask Donnie for an entire bottle. And now that the cousin of Donnie, Mac, was managing the bar late nights, he was all too familiar with the look he had in his eyes right now. It meant that Calloway was all in. Not with partying these days. Just all in with this house, settling down everything. No, I just tell him I will take it. You getting a mortgage? He will need to see something on paper for that. Cash. I can give it to him tomorrow. I raised a brow. This was whole hog even for Calloway. But try talking to a man in love. I just shook my head. You got it, man. Let us work on those cabinets for your place. They still at the home of Whiskey? I nodded, moving them over to install in a few days. Perfect. I will have you finish them up. You figure if you help me a lot with my house, I will help with yours, eh? He grinned at me. Hell no. You would have helped me anyway. I grumbled, cheeky bastard, under my breath. But other than that, I did not say much. The cheeky bastard was right. We writers stick together. Even crazy Calloway. I was my brother for life and he knew it. An annoying wild little brother who had screwed his way through legions of women. But a brother all the same. He slapped my back and I glared at him. Come on, Jack. Let us get to work. Chapter 21. Janet. We need to pass out these notices about shots and flu season. Molly nodded, accepting the brightly colored photocopies we had made earlier. They pretty much said that if your kid was sick to keep them home. Also, if you were not getting shots, we reserved the right to keep the kids out of a class. That only happened when we had a kid with a weakened immune system who needed to be protected. But it had come up a few times, and we needed to be upfront about our policy. I will make sure everyone gets one when they come in and then check them off the list. That way, if anyone is not in class, we can mail them a copy. I beamed at Molly. Perfect. You are really good at this, you know. She smiled at me shyly, and I was struck again by how innocent she was. How on earth had she ended up with Calloway? But she made him happy, and far more importantly, in my opinion, he made her happy. You are glowing. I blinked. You are not preggo, are you? She shook her head. I do not think so, but I really do not know. What do you mean you do not know? Are you guys trying already? She turned pink and shook her head again. Not trying but not being careful either. Wow, you guys just got together. It has only been what? A month since things got serious? A little longer. Calloway says we do not need birth control. I crossed my arms and stared at her. I felt a responsibility toward her. Molly was already like a little sister to me. I knew Jack felt the same way about Calloway, so he would be getting an earful from me later. He had to rein his little brother in. Oh, he did he? He said he's keeping me, so there is no point in it. Keeping you? She nodded earnestly. I knew none of the inner circle were pigs about women, but they could be high-handed with us girls sometimes. It irked me, except when Jack did it, of course. When Jack laid down the law, it was always because he was worried or trying to protect me. Other than that, he pretty much let me do whatever I wanted. Because Jack was just about perfect. All the sons of Satan can be arrogant, but the inner circle is a whole other level. How do you mean? Dev, of course, but he is president. Jack Donny, Whiskey, Lucky, and Calloway. Mac too, once he is initiated. They call themselves the Devil Riders, and they are good men, but they are bossy as fuck. She covered her mouth at my profanity. Let me tell you something, Molly. She looked at me attentively. She was so stunningly beautiful, it was kind of hard to believe. Her looks were pure and without artifice. She could have been plucked back in time to another century, and she would look perfectly at home. And that look drove men absolutely batty with lust. It was just as bad as it had been with Kaylee. And when I went out with both of them together, forget it. It was like watching a parade, or better yet, being on a float. All that had swiveled to stare. And the few times we had been out with Becky and Sally too, it was even worse. It was almost like time stood still. Jack said we were a dirty joke waiting to happen. 3 brunettes, a blonde, and a redhead walked into a bar. I sighed. Having beautiful friends was a trial, but I did not mind. I did not compare myself to anyone. My girls were beautiful inside and out. And besides, Jack was fond of telling me I was beautiful every day and not just once. As long as he thought so, I did not much care about anything else. My babies are the best thing that ever happened to me. I was not sure I was ready, but I wanted to be ready. Do you understand? I am not sure. I am just saying do not let him push you too fast. You do not have to have a baby right away. Oh, she chewed her lip and shrugged. Calloway wants them. That man wants more than one. She giggled. You think so? Yes, I do. How do you know? Because once I learned to trust him, he started helping out with the kids sometimes. Trust him? In some ways, he's even rougher than most of the guys. Wilder. And I have heard stories that would turn your head white. But he's a pussycat with the people he loves. Stories? I shook my head. Not my place. But I will tell you without a doubt that he wants a house full of kids. A house full? I nodded. I is never happier than with children hanging off him. The man is a human jungle gym. I smiled to myself. Of course, no one is a better jungle gym than my Jack. But do not tell Calloway or Whiskey I said that. They both pride themselves on being the fun uncle. Said what? I rolled my eyes as Calloway walked in and scooped Molly up into his arms. He kissed her long and slow and deep. I cleared my throat. Keep it PG, please. There are children present. Where? Well, class starts soon, so there will be children present. Soon? He grinned at me and kissed her again, grabbing her ass and squeezing it. Then he lifted her over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. Any chance I could steal her a little early today? I was supposed to help with the flyers. I shook my head and sighed, but I was smiling. Okay, Calloway, you can take her. Remember what I said, Molly. Okay? She nodded and waved at me over his shoulder as he carried her out. Chapter 22. Calloway. Okay, you can open your eyes. I lifted my hands away and watched her reaction. She clearly did not know what was happening. She gave me a tentative smile. I pulled her into my arms for a quick kiss. I could not keep my hands off her. I was already dreaming about getting her back to my place tonight. Welcome home, baby. Home? I held out the keys. She inhaled sharply and I smiled. She is ours. She looked at the house, then back at me. I took her hand and led her down the path. I know it is a little run down, but I just paid for it today. I am going to fix it all up for you, sweetheart. For you and Tommy. She did not say a word as I unlocked the door and gestured for her to step inside. I flipped on a few lights and looked back at her. She looked stunned. What do you think? She wrapped her arms around herself. I do not know. I mean, it is a nice place. Nice. This is home, baby. This is where we are going to live happily ever after. She looked worried, so I stepped closer and pulled her against my chest. What is wrong, sweetheart? You do not like it? No, that is not it. Well, then what? She stepped away looking annoyed. Actually, I was pretty sure it was the first time I had ever seen that particular look on her face. You did not even ask me. My jaw must have hit the floor. I was so shocked. You are mad? I do not know. I am not jumping for joy. But you promised to move in with me. Yes, but do you not think I should have seen the house? I stood there, a terrible feeling in my gut. It is not that this is not sweet or generous. It is. It is just, well, I want to be consulted on things. Like the baby thing. My voice was deadly quiet. What about the baby thing? I barely even had time to think about it. You just sprang it on me. My jaw started ticking and I saw black. Not red. Black. She did not like the house. She did not want my baby. You do not want to move in with me. I did not say that. Then what? You should have asked me about everything, about anything. You do not think I ask you anything? Well, you do not. You tell. It is arrogant and it makes me feel like a passenger. It is not right. I closed my eyes. She was about to end it. I knew it. I could not face up to it right now. Maybe if I gave her some space, she would love me again. Not that she had ever told me in words. I had better take you home. Let us both cool down. She stared at me. You do not want to talk about this? I shook my head slowly and she deflated a bit. She had been riled up and now she just looked sad. Like she was disappointed in me. I had let her down in my hurry to get us set up. It hurt my heart to see her look at me like that. But nothing hurt as much as hearing she did not want to have my baby. But we lived together. It was true. I had gotten her out of that flea trap and into my place. There was even room for Tommy if he was ready to leave the skilled nursing facility before the house was ready. I thought everything was set, planned. My timeline was in order. Moving together, buy house, take care of Tommy, have babies, live happily ever after with moles. Now all those plans felt like a house of cards in a stiff breeze. You stay there. I will find some place to crash. Callaway. She reached for me but I stepped away. I had borrowed his car to drive her over here. I could just drive her back, drop off his car and walk to the clubhouse. There were rooms there for the guys to crash and do other things. Not that I wanted anything other than a stiff drink or 20. Come on. I knew the look in her eyes would haunt me for the rest of the day. Maybe longer. She was hurt, and I was the one who had done it. But it did not change a damn thing. She does not want my baby. Chapter 23. Mori. Have you guys heard anything? I sat on the sofa of Kaylee staring at my new friends, who had done more than just merely embrace me. Sally, Kaylee, Becky, and of course Janet were more than just friends. They had welcomed me like one of their own. They were like sisters to me and that meant a lot. I had not had much in the way of family. I had one now, but I was afraid I was on the verge of losing them. Even worse, I was certain I had already lost Callaway. The thought of that big, intense, sexy as all get-out biker running around thinking he was a free man, well, it was enough to make my blood run cold. If he was with another girl, I did not think I could bear it. You mean is he under a pile of women right now? My lip quivered. But Janet was not being unkind. She was just plain spoken. She put her hand on mine and squeezed. Is not. Jack is keeping an eye on him. Whiskey too. Becky leaned forward, her pregnant belly making her look like some sort of round doll. She was so pretty and sweet. He said he has never seen anything like it. Like what? Callaway is ignoring all women. Has been ever since he met you. Really? She nodded. Yes, and I have been making him stay late to keep an eye out. You need him at home. She raised an eyebrow. You need him there more. Dev has been there a lot too. Probably a good thing, considering how soon he's going to be a daddy. What about Dev? A handsome dark blonde biker was leaning against the doorframe to the living room. Kaylee jumped up with a squeal, launching herself into his arms. Hey baby girl. Hi. She sounded almost shy. I sighed wistfully. Callaway made me feel like that. Each and every time I saw him it was special, new, and I had gone and thrown it all away. I was gutted. And at one of the best times in my life, I had my brother back. I had amazing new friends and I had him. I forced myself to smile as Devlin waved and said, "Hi ladies," before disappearing into the house. We all giggled. Even a tough guy like him was intimidated by this much girl power in one room. My smile faded pretty fast though. "I will be right back." Kaylee hurried after Dev. She still managed to be graceful, but there was a bit of a sway to the way she moved. She called it her waddle and even quacked sometimes when she said it. She was surprisingly funny for such a sweet girl. She was back in a flash, sinking gratefully onto the couch. Hai says Callaway is definitely not messing around. Hai is just drunk and belligerent, but completely ignoring the club girls. They are all pissed about it apparently. "How drunk?" Kaylee rolled her eyes. "Three sheets to the wind." Janet nodded. "That is good." "It is?" "Yes, I mean he is upset, not trying to get over you." "Oh, so you want to tell us what happened?" I nodded, swallowing nervously. I was sure they would all think I was a jerk. I told them everything from the conversation I had had with Janet to the whole surprise house thing. They all sympathized, with Janet blaming herself for the pep talk she had given me right before the fight. I told her not to be silly. She had been right after all. Callaway was being heavy-handed and I had not known how to deal with it. I just needed time to come around to his way of thinking, to process all the new changes for myself. And I had. Now I needed to get him to believe it. The girls had ideas of what to do. Show up at the clubhouse looking hot was at the top of the list. It had worked for Janet. Actually, that seemed like it had worked for all of them. I shook my head. I needed to do more than that. I needed to prove to him without a doubt that I wanted to be with him for good. I leaned forward and told them I had a plan. My plan was simple, and it would work. I hoped, but it was extreme. I took a deep breath and laid it all out for them. Chapter 24. Debrin. "This is bad, D." I shook my head watching as Callaway slumped over the bar. Jack and the cousin of Donnie, Mac, were on either side of him, standing guard. Lucky stood behind Callaway, casually making sure he did not fall backward off his stool. We had had plenty of guys lying drunk on the floor, of course. Sometimes they got stepped on. It was a bit of a ritual around here to take a piss on anyone who passed out too early. Not that anyone would dare to fuck with someone high-ranking like Callaway at the clubhouse. But they stood guard all the same. Donahue was worried about Cal. We all were. My phone pinged and I saw that Kaylee had finally written back. I had asked her earlier what she wanted from the store and the list she had sent back made me grin. "Ice cream. More ice cream. Pickles. Salt and vinegar potato chips. More ice cream. Seriously, if you do not bring at least 3 pints of ice cream, there will be bloodshed. OXOX. I am going to head out. You think he is nearly ready? Do you know their plan? We just need to get him to his shop. He cannot be totally wasted. I is definitely sobering up since earlier, but he is miserable. Yeah, pretty sure I saw tears falling into his beer." Donnie stifled a laugh. "We had all been through it with our women. It was not always easy getting them roped in, but it was worth it. We all expected Callaway and Molly to get back together. Even Lucky tried to control his snark for once. I was damn grateful the women had gotten involved. They were always the ones to come up with the best, most devious plans. I stepped outside to call my old lady. Her sweet voice always did something to my innards, somehow rearranging them so that I felt warm and settled inside. "Did you get my ice cream? That is how you greet your husband? Well, did you?" "Not yet, but I will, babe. Promise. I am actually calling because they are taking Callaway to his shop." Her voice changed immediately. General Kaylee was in full effect. I grinned as she went from sweet girl to dictator. The woman was all business when it came to executing one of her plans. "Excellent. I will mobilize the girls. Is he drunk? He cannot be too drunk. Whiskey is feeding him coffee, and Donnie and Matt cut him off the hard stuff early. Han has had about 50 beers in the past few days though." I heard her sigh. She was worried about Cal too. Kaylee might be younger than the rest of us, but she acted like a den mother to all the guys. And Cal was special. Even though he was wild, he was fiercely loyal. His artistic streak made him a bit eccentric compared to the average biker, but in a good way. I was a special guy and we loved him. I was family and you worried about family. Every damn one of us was worried. The guy deserved some happiness. Callaway was crazy about the girl and Molly loved him. She was a good influence too. I could tell by the way they acted together. They gravitated toward each other, just like Kaylee and I did. My wife was pretty much a heavenly body. That is how deep the pull was. Has he said anything? No, just that she did not want him. She does. He just caught her off guard. I was steamrolling her. My stomach clenched remembering the time I had caught Kaylee off guard and made decisions without asking her. I thought I had lost her. It was the worst pain I had felt in my life. I never wanted to feel that way again. Do not worry, babe. It is going to work. I hope so. I will see you soon. Keep that little bun toasty for me. Be safe. I will. Umoto. Love you. I love you too. Chapter 25. Becky. Okay, you ready? I glanced at the quiet girl in the passenger seat beside me. Her knuckles were white as she clutched the rolled-up piece of cardstock in her hands. She had sketched it herself with a little help from Jack and Mac, who both had a fine drawing hand. They were the only ones who knew the details other than us girls. Jack had looked at Molly with a look of solemn respect when he had seen what she was up to. It turned out the big man had a very soft heart. We were lucky to have him. Whiskey told me he wanted him for the godfather of our second baby. Devlin was her goddaddy, though Calloway was her honorary uncle. Sometimes it seemed like all the guys were expecting to be a goddaddy. Truth be told, that made me wonder. Did he expect me to have a baby for each of the inner circle, so everybody could be a godparent to one of our brood? That was a lot of babies. Especially now that Lucky was back from active duty and Mac was joining the club. I was already family to Donnie and Sally, and now he was going to be official club family. I groaned at the thought of all those babies and rubbed my belly. I was nowhere near ready to pop. Kaylee was way ahead of me on that, but the thought of having 3 more after or even 4, if Whiskey wanted Mac to be a godfather too, well, that was too much to contemplate. Like all the guys, he loved kids, our kids in particular. Only Jack and Janet had multiples, though we were next, and we were hoping Sally and Donnie might have another, Lord willing. They had been trying long enough. Are you all right? I patted her hand. I am fine, sweetheart. You are the one who needs support, not the other way around. I am good. She nodded as if convincing herself. I can do this. I exhaled and nodded. I was going in with her just to make sure it was okay to leave her. I knew Whiskey was in there and it was not like Calloway would ever hurt a woman, but I did not want to let her go in there alone if he was upset and out of his mind drunk, especially if he was not receptive to the little reunion we had planned. His tattoo parlor was only open part-time, at least a couple of days a week. He worked on site at the clubhouse where he had his own setup. This place could have made a killing if he trusted someone else to use his equipment. Maybe he would someday. It is a very cool setup, I thought to myself. He had found an old barber shop that he had barely changed, other than the lettering on the glass window that read Calloway Inc. in dark blue and gold lettering. It looked amazing, truth be told, retro and cool, better suited to Brooklyn or West Hollywood than here. But Calloway had always been artistic. I was not just tracing patterns. He only free-handed his designs, sometimes making them up as he went along. His talent with skin and ink was beyond anything I had ever seen before. I was a good guy deep down, even if he had been a crazy playboy for a long time. I wanted things to work out for him and Molly. I just hoped he was sober enough to hear what she had to say, or rather what she had to show him. We got out of the car and looked at each other. Molly nodded, even though I knew she was scared. We pushed open the door and went inside. Chapter 26. Calloway. More. Huh? Open your mouth. That is it. Drink. I groaned, trying to push away the hands. His big-ass hands were trying to force me to guzzle water. Eventually he gave up and dumped it over my head. Hey! I was pissed, but he had succeeded in waking me up. I must have been taking a little cat nap. I blinked at him. It was early in the evening, and I had been at the clubhouse for days. Somehow I had ended up in my shop where I had a comfy couch in the back. When you partied as hard as I did, you needed a variety of places to crash. Crib shop club any would do, especially when you did not have someone to go home to. Now Whiskey was here forcing me to wake up, to come back to reality. And that was the last thing I wanted, because in reality I had lost her. In reality I was alone. My Insta family had gone bust when I moved too fast. I knew I only had myself to blame. I had been overeager. I had wanted to bring her close, but all I had done was push her away. But it still fucking hurt. I knew I was going to miss Molly forever. I had even gotten attached to her kid brother. I frowned. I could not abandon Tommy even if his sister did not want to be with me. The kid needed a man in his life, and trusted me. I did not want to let him down. Yet another thing that sucked about all of this. But nothing touched the ache that was an empty hole inside me. A bottomless pit caused by the fact that she was gone. Gone from my bed and my life. Even though she was still technically living at my place. I wanted her there. Even if I had to sleep on this couch for all of eternity. It was somehow better than nothing. She was in my bed. It was the next best thing to being there with her. She could stay there as long as she wanted. Forever even. As long as she did not bring any guys over. That would kill me. But if she was there, it was something. Somehow I had a chance. A reason to see her again. Get up, jackass. More water splashed my face. Well, it did the trick. I was fully fucking sober. Sober enough anyway. Ease up, Whiskey. What the fuck is your problem? He grinned at me. Solving your problems for you, you donkey. The fuck are you talking about, Whiskey? I stood, pushing my wet hair out of my face. My leather jacket was wet too. I sniffed it, realizing I smelled very distinctly of booze and cigarettes. That is when I saw her. Molly was standing in the middle of my parlor looking uncertain. Becky was there too. I noticed they were holding hands. Maybe this was it. This was goodbye. Her beautiful eyes were so serious that it cut through me like a knife. She was going to do it for real. Whiskey had sobered me up just to watch me get my heart cut out of me. Hi. I said nothing. I was too busy drinking in the sight of her. She looked like an angel, so out of place in my shop that it confused my brain. I blinked and realized she was nervous. Holly was nervous. Why? Was she afraid I would make a scene when she broke up with me? That I would beg? Well, maybe I fucking would beg. I clenched my jaw. I would not make this easy for her. I would not lie down and take it. I would fight for her. She stepped forward and held out a rolled-up piece of paper. I took it slowly, not taking my eyes from her beautiful face. Open it. I exhaled, finally looking down at the paper in my hand. It was my eyes were not focusing. It looked like a sketch. A beautiful line drawing of a heart with an arrow going through it. It could have been cheesy, but it was not. It was almost folksy looking, like a tattoo from the early days. Something you would see on a sailor who had traveled to the Far East. Something I would have designed myself. There were 3 words in the center. They read the property of Callaway. My head snapped up, afraid it was some sort of a joke. What is this? I looked up at her, suddenly unsure. What the actual fuck was going on? She smiled tremulously. It is a tattoo. A tattoo? I stared at her, still not understanding. She nodded earnestly. Yes, I would like to hire you. Hire me? Oh, for the sake of God. His voice boomed out, but Becky immediately shushed him. I had nearly forgotten that they were there. Hell, I had nearly forgotten my own name. I was so happy to see her again, to be close to her. Even it was tearing me up inside. So can you do this for me? You want a tattoo? No. Her eyes were suspiciously watery. I want this tattoo. Understanding dawned. Relief crashed through me like a tidal wave. Relief and love and such a fierce sense of rightness that it nearly brought me to my knees. Oh, Moss. I crushed her against me, kissing her cheeks and ears and hair. I could not let go enough to kiss her lips at first. I heard Whiskey and Becky say good night and leave. I barely spared them a thought. She was here. She was mine. We were kissing then, deep and wild and hot. But it was more than a sexual combustion. It was love. It was a deeper love than I ever could have imagined. So is it going to hurt? I realized I was still holding the design in my hand. I shook my head, leaning my forehead against hers. No, sweetheart. Really? It will not hurt because I am not going to do it. She looked confused and a little hurt. Why not? When you are ready, I will ink you. But it will not say that you are my property. I will never put that on your skin. I told you we belong to each other. It is not the same thing. Oh, she turned pink and I let my hand slide down to her bottom. And I do not want to rush you again. But I really appreciate the thought. I gave her a good squeeze and she sighed. She had been missing me too. I want you so bad, Molly. I want you too. How do you feel about this couch? What for? I gave her a look and she turned even pinker. Goddamn, the woman was adorable. Your bare ass for one thing. She giggled and nodded. Okay? She gave me a saucy smirk. It would give you time to sober up. What do I need to be sober for? To drive me home, she whispered. You donkey. I laughed and lifted her up, carrying her to the couch. I gently laid her down and started peeling my clothes off. She raised her eyebrows as I stripped. You know, you could take your clothes off now. She shook her head. Too busy. Too busy doing what? Enjoying the view. I laughed and leaned over her, tugging her clothes away. My smile faded, replaced by a serious look. I felt so warm inside, so loved. It was hard to believe that I had been so close to losing her. And all I had to do was not push too hard. Give her a chance to breathe. She came back to me. I cannot wait. Me either. I climbed on top of her, kissing her hard and deep. We went from 0 to 60 just like that. My fingers found her pussy. I moaned when I found her wet and ready for me. Moles, I want. She gripped my hips. I do not want to wait. Do it. With a moan, I positioned my dick against her slick lips and pushed forward. I nearly lost my mind at the feel of her tightness wrapping itself around me, letting me in, enveloping me. She whimpered in kitten-like pleasure as I drove home. And then it was on. Long, deep strokes that brought us both to the brink quickly and kept us there. For a long time, the only sound of the parlor were our heavy breathing and words of love. But I could not wait. My need was too urgent. I thought I had lost her, and now I had to have her, claim her, make her mine. I tried to hold on, to be smooth and steady. I circled my hips as slowly as I could. But it was not long until I was thrashing wildly, our tongues tangling and our breathing rough. I felt a massive orgasm building up and I could not hold it back. Oh God, Moles, I cannot. The unbelievable sound of her orgasm tipped me over the edge. I felt her sleek walls gripping my shaft, milking me of every drop as my lust poured out of me. I filled her up and kept going. I groaned, almost in pain. I was coming so hard. It is too much. Fuck. I collapsed beside her, turning her to face me. The two of us barely fit on the couch. Thankfully, it was pretty damn deep. My body was twitching for nearly 10 minutes as we lay there entwined. I pressed soft kisses to her face and neck, my dick still embedded deep inside her. I would not move. I could not. Her eyes widened as I felt my dick unfurl to full attention once again. Already? Yes, love. You are joking. It has been days since I had a chance to touch you. What do you expect? She slid her arms around me and adjusted her hips so I could slide even deeper inside her. I did not expect anything. I only hoped. I moaned at the feel of her and at the meaning behind her words. Moles, I would not have made it without you. Shh, do not say that. But it is true. She smiled and kissed me softly. You will never have to again. Chapter 27. Sally. My fingers strummed lightly over my favorite old guitar. I tilted my head thinking for a moment. Then I played the chord again. The sound echoed through the house. Softly though, our little angel was sleeping. Little sister, will you not come out and play? We always wanted you to have a little sister. I hope one day. I exhaled. It was too simplistic. But the song that had been dancing around my heart was almost like a lullaby. A sweet, straightforward song, a prayer for a baby. Little brother, I hope you will come today. We always wanted you to have a little brother. Maybe someday. I had fought so hard not to dwell on the baby that had not come. We had one. I knew I should be grateful for our perfect little family. I had just always wanted more than one. I had pictured 2 or even 3 when we first got married. Eventually the disappointment had gotten to be too much. We had stopped trying and thinking about it. But it was always there hovering. I had had little signs lately. A few things that made me wonder. I had taken 1,000 pregnancy tests in the past few years. Convinced myself over and over that a baby was coming. I tried not to let it consume me, but every time I was late or my breasts got sore, it did. Lord knows we were active enough. We did not use protection. I had even taken my temperature and timed things for peak ovulation, but so far nothing. So we would stop trying. Not that we were not busy between the sheets, but all the other stuff, well, it was too much. We were blessed with our one child, our perfect little Lily. I knew it. We had a close family with the sister and mom of Donnie next door, not to mention an amazing extended family. The club was everything to us. Lots of babies for our sweet girl to play with. It was more than most had. I was grateful for it. But I could not help wanting just one more. Maybe someday. Actually, I had this crazy feeling that something was different. I thought about taking a test, but I had been sitting on it. I had been getting that dangerously hopeful feeling again. Just a week late and sore breasts. But I had been wrong so many times before, convinced myself something was there that was not. For a long time I had been buying pregnancy tests in bulk, but then I had stopped. It was just too hard. It had been over a year since I had even bothered to take a test. I got a little superstitious around my period every month. Nothing like this though. Nothing to make me really wonder. I sat up and set my guitar aside. There might be 1 or 2 pregnancy tests in the bathroom vanity. I told myself I was being silly as I rummaged through the drawers of the vanity. It was pointless. It was just not in the cards for us. We had been lucky to get one. And we might adopt anyway. Yeah, older kid. There were tons of great kids out there who needed homes. Jack had been a foster kid, and look how amazing he was. We talked about it and even bookmarked some agencies online, but always in some vague, far-off way. Still, there was nothing quite like holding a baby. And what if I felt the plastic wrap with my fingertips? There. It must have been all the way at the back of the drawer near over the edge and into the back where nothing was ever heard from again. I pulled it out triumphantly. An uno penny the pregnancy test. Just one. It seemed fitting somehow. I swore I would never buy another test. Never wonder again, never torture myself. I would just carry on, put it aside, give up hope. Or not give up hope exactly. Donnie and I had talked about it. We would just change our dream to something we could achieve. I stared at the test in my hand, feeling like this was a momentous occasion. No matter what the test ended up saying. I was still wavering, wondering if I should save it. Just one more try. I took a deep breath sitting on the toilet and pulling my skirt up. I was not wearing panties, which made me smile a little. That was good. I needed the comic relief. I had been hoping Donnie would come home early and surprise me. Instead, there was a teeny tiny chance that I might surprise him. I put the test on the countertop and washed my hands. Then I got busy. I straightened the living room and walked deliberately into the kitchen, as far from the master bathroom as I could get. I did not hover even though I wanted to. I wanted to stare at the little strip and will a baby into existence. I made myself wait 5 whole minutes just to be sure. I even made myself a cup of dandelion root tea. It was good for your kidneys, and I loved the almost coffee but not quite taste. I walked slowly into the bathroom, then glanced at the mirror. There was a guarded hope in my eyes that worried me. I must not put too much stock on this one moment just because it was my last test. Even if it was negative, it was not the end of the world. It did not mean we would never have another child. Adopting was a worthy endeavor after all. I inhaled and let my eyes slide to the countertop. I froze, not breathing for a moment. It was something I had only seen once before. After endless pink strips, there was something different. It was a little blue plus sign. Unless the test was wrong or expired or something, the impossible had happened. After all these years, it had really happened. I was pregnant. Chapter 28. Donafe. I stared at my phone, feeling panic mounting inside me. Come home now, please. The texts from Sally were uncharacteristically vague. She also never really asked for help, not even when she had been in danger. I knew her scumbag ex was not around. I had tabs on his every move, thanks to one of my friends of my cousin Max, who was a private investigator. The guy even had his own hacker on staff. It was not cheap, but it was worth it. My Sally was worth it. Besides, after the working over he got, he was not much of a threat. The guy did not strut around anymore. He limped, and he was not nearly as pretty as he used to be. I hope that made it harder for him to get close to women. In fact, the PI I hired had actually notified a few women about his past on my behalf. I did not want that bastard hurting anyone else. Ever. I was out of the picture for good. She was safe in this town for sure, with a couple of hundred unofficial bodyguards roaming the roads. And anyway, she said she was home. So, the cryptic message was, well, I had no idea what to make of it. If she wanted to fool around, she would have sent me a sexy picture. I loved it when she sent me sexy pictures. If she got news about her career, she would just tell me. Her singing and songwriting were taking off these days in unexpected ways with collaborations across genres and state lines. She was even laying tracks for a big producer in LA, though she did her recording from her own studio in our house. She was a hard worker and so talented it blew my mind. If she was not already mine, a lesser man would have been intimidated. But the truth was I could not be prouder. So then, could it be my mom or sister needing help? No, she would tell me so I could rally the forces. We had club guys from every walk of life. We even had a doctor, and the Untouchables had their own preacher. The guy was badass and rode like the devil himself. But his faith in God was strong and true. We were on good terms with the Untouchables and used him for lots of stuff like weddings and funerals. So yeah, I was worried when I hopped on my motorcycle and rode home at top speed. I nearly lost it on a hard turn. I was lucky I did not skin my hip as it grazed the road before I righted myself. Did not matter. My woman needed me. She had even said please. I half expected to see smoke or a downed tree when I parked and ran toward the house. I threw the door open and ran through the house until I found her. There she was, calmly sipping a cup of herbal tea in the kitchen and reading a book. I stared at her, blinking. My heart was racing as I tried to catch my breath. She was safe. She was not even upset. Or naked. No. My wife looked blissfully happy. You all right? She nodded. Yes, sweetheart. I am fine. I am sorry if I scared you. Well, what is it? It is good news. Another tour date. Something about the record? She shook her head slowly, walking toward me one step at a time. Better. You want my rock-hard body to give you indescribable pleasure? Better. I opened and shut my mouth like a fish. My heart was finally starting to slow. But I still had no damn idea what she was hinting at. What then? Something we have wanted for a really long time. I looked at her, my forehead was scrunched up. Sex in a hot tub. Fuzzy handcuffs. Hot oil? She laughed. I said something we wanted, not just something you wanted. I stood perfectly still as she slipped her arms around me. She took pity on me in that moment. I could tell by the sweet look in her eyes right before she told me. We are having another baby. You sure? Pretty darn sure. I let out a whoop and scooped her up, turning her in a circle. She giggled and slapped my arm, shouting at me to put her down. I set her on her feet just in time to watch her cover her mouth and run for the sink. I cringed as she vomited, rubbing her back as she splashed cool water on her face. I grabbed her a clean dish towel to blot the water away. Sorry, love. I guess that cinches it. She giggled again. Her eyes got wide as she power hurled, mostly on my shirt, but we were both smiling the whole time. That was the first bout of morning sickness. I guess that it makes it official. Yes, you hot little mama. It is official. We hugged, ignoring the puke, and then I carried her into the bathroom. I turned on the shower while she brushed her teeth. Then I started pulling her clothes off, kissing her skin as it was revealed. I knelt and pulled her panties off before kissing my way back up her body. She giggled as I kissed her belly and then her gorgeous breasts. She was so beautiful it made my head spin. I started to kiss her lips and she stopped me. Are you sure? She cocked an eyebrow at me and I laughed. You brushed, did you not? I kissed her soft and deep. Besides, it is not like you have not puked on me before. I pushed open the glass shower door and guided her inside. We took our time lathering each other up, kissing and touching each other. I took a washcloth and rubbed soap on it before gently washing her bottom. By the time we were clean, we were both breathless and eager to get to bed. I wrapped her in a towel and carried her to the bedroom, leaving a trail of water droplets behind me. I laid her gently on the bed and tugged the towel away. She giggled as I pounced on her, careful of her midsection, growling like a wildcat. Then I licked my way down her belly to her pussy, and she stopped laughing. I took my time, even though I was already leaking pre-cum. I wanted to get inside her, but I wanted to make her feel good first. Hell, it was a point of pride to me. I wanted to prove I could still make my wife scream in pleasure. More than once, too. "Try not to wake the little angel with your sex noises," I said with a smirk as I lowered my head between her thighs. I had a good old time making her squeal. She had her hand over her mouth when she came. I was grinning the whole time. Then I slid into her welcoming heats, and I was the one who had to stifle my moans. She felt so damn good. It was like coming home every damn time. I tried to go slow. I really did. But my body took over, driving deep until I lost my rhythm and lost control. I bucked like a wild man, hissing love words between clenched teeth. And Sally was right there with me. She climaxed hard, and this time there was no silencing her. I did not even try. Both of us were loud at the end, and we were not surprised to hear the little feet of Lily pattering around as we lay there beside each other, covered in sweat. I laughed, still trying to catch my breath. Sally started to rise, but I pushed her back and threw a blanket over her. "Rest. I got this. She can have dinner now, right?" She nodded, snuggling deeper into the covers. I walked into the nursery, looking for my daughter. I decided to move Lily to a bigger room down the hallway a little way and change the colors in here. Well, the soft lavender worked for another girl. But if we had a boy? I grinned. My wife was against the whole pink and blue thing. She was a fan of soft green and buttery yellows. And lavender, obviously. Whatever she wanted, I would make it happen. I cradled our daughter against my chest, pressing a kiss into her downy blonde hair. "We are going to have another baby." Chapter 29. "Callaway, tell me if it hurts." "I will stop." "Shut up, Callaway." I glared at the beauty in my chair. She gave me an exasperated look. But then she kissed me, so I forgave her. "Of course it is going to hurt. I will tell you if it gets too bad, okay?" I had already done mine, finding a spot just above my heart that had room for it. An intertwining design with our names and the eternity symbol with intricate flourishes that elevated it way beyond a simple so and so and so and so forever type of tat. You had to look closely to see what the meaning was. But we knew, and we would both wear it forever. It was funny, but I had never liked giving this kind of tat. I would turn down the work 80% of the time. That couple shit seemed like bad voodoo to me. I thought it was all just a disaster waiting to happen. I had expected every single customer to come back and ask me to ink over it a few years or even a few months later. But now I knew why they wanted it. I finally understood. If I could tat her name on every inch of my skin, I would. She was so deep inside me. It was on the cellular level. She was already in my heart, so why not my skin? I felt better with her name on my flesh. Secure. She would be with me now. Every second of every day. "Okay, sweetheart. Here goes." I had already iced her skin and dried it. Made her have a stiff drink. Everything I usually sneered at. But she was my woman, and I wanted this to hurt as little as possible. I would do anything for my lady, damn it. Even mark her. It was crazy, but this felt inevitable. Like we had been working our way up to this moment since the exact instant we met. It was sacred in a way. It felt ceremonial. It felt like a real commitment. So I began. To her credit, she did not make a sound. Not when I did the outline. Not when I started to fill in the details. Not even when I started the shading. "Want to take a break?" "I am nearly done." She shook her head. I knew she was in pain, but she wanted me to finish. So I did. Then I was cleaning her up, bandaging her carefully and hauling her out of the chair to sit on my lap. Her tat was not in the same place as mine. Hers was on her shoulder, where it would be easier to cover up if she needed to. For professional reasons, of course. The rest of the time, she would wear it with pride. She had even teased me about only wearing muscle shirts and tank tops to show off her ink. I teased her that if she showed that much skin all the time, I would have to run around town cracking skulls because everybody would be ogling her. Molly told me she loved the new tat. She called it her brand, but it was more than that. "It is a promise. You hungry?" She nodded, curled up on my lap like a kitten. I thought we could swing by May's and bring something to the home. I knew she meant for Tommy. We had been back together for a couple of weeks, and Tommy had been improving the whole time. The kid was amazing. Apparently all the stuff Molly had done for him had worked. All that talking and singing and stimulation. She had had the nurses play soft classical music when she was not there. Though not at night, obviously. She had held his hand each and every day he had been in the coma. Just her presence had helped. Her voice had kept his brain working enough to repair the damage. I would be moving in with us soon. I was working around the clock to get the house ready. So were all the guys, even Jack. He had put his own dream house on hold to get us in our home even faster. And damn if I did not love him even more for it. I pressed the keys to her head and set her on her feet. I wanted her, but there was time for that later. She belonged to me now and slept in my bed every night. I did not need to pounce on her when we had family to eat dinner with, but I would pounce on her after that. Life was good. I had my woman, and we were going to start a family together. We already were a family. The two of us would have been enough. But Tommy was the icing on the cake. A baby would be the cherry on top. I was pretty sure I was the luckiest guy in the whole damn world. Chapter 30. Mori, would you like some coleslaw, Bonnie? I smiled fondly at Tommy. I was so polite. He had made fast friends with Bonnie, even though she was in the residential wing, and he had been in critical care all this time. They also had a hospice section, but that was in a separate building. Thankfully, none of our loved ones were there. Now he was in a new room in the transitional wing. It was where they put people before they got a permanent room. People on the way in and people on the way out. Thankfully, Tommy was on his way out. It was heartbreaking to see a kid in a facility like this. The residential wing was really nice, and Bonnie loved it. But Tommy belonged in school, out playing, having fun, and very soon he would be. I was coming home in a few short weeks. Hopefully, we would be ready for him. I was working a lot of hours at the dance studio. Basically anything open on the schedule, I wrote my name in. Callaway had said he would cover my balance at the nursing home, but I wanted to contribute as much as I could. I was my brother after all. My heart swelled with pride as I looked around the room. Family. I finally have my family. That is what this felt like. Callaway and I on the faded green vinyl chairs. Bonnie beside his bed in her wheelchair. Not that she needed it all the time, but it was about 100-yard walk from her room. So Callaway insisted on wheeling her over in it. I was such a good man. I mused to myself. Nate took care of everyone around him. His heart was so big, it had room for all of us. I would never have thought it the first time I saw him, but he was born for this. Callaway is the ultimate family man. So what happened in PT today? Callaway took a bite of his food and waited expectantly. Tommy was always making us laugh with his stories from physical therapy and around the home. He had a distinctly teenage perspective on how things went around here. Oh, I did a new trick. Yeah, what is that? Well, they have these bars. Bars? You put your weight on them to help your legs get stronger? I nodded. I see. Tommy had a twinkle in his eye, so I knew this was going to be good. I have been doing it for a while. Sometimes I even take my hands off and stand without them. Wow, that is amazing. You will be walking in no time. He grinned. Walking? Dude, I am almost ready for the Olympics. Oh, so today I figured out it was the perfect place to do dips. He pulled up his sleeve and flexed for us. I am getting so buff. I chortled, nearly snorting out the French fry I had been snacking on. Callaway gave me a look and Bonnie broke into giggles. Tommy was being funny, of course, but the thing was he did look better. Tommy was no longer the waif-like kid he had been all these years. I had overheard a nurse calling him Snow White at one point. I did not get mad even if it did make me cry. I was so pale and still. Now he had pink in his cheeks and some meat on his bones. And while he was not buff, he was not scrawny anymore either. I was gaining strength and it showed. So buff. I agreed, throwing a French fry at him, and he caught the French fry in midair. Tommy winked as he popped it into his mouth. Grease. Just what this growing boy needs. I was laughing again, holding my belly and trying not to upchuck. I was full and happy. I was safe. I had a roof over my head and so did my brother. I even had a job I liked. I had friends. And most of all, I had Callaway. I laid my head on his shoulder and listened to the three of them talk, feeling like the luckiest girl in the world. Chapter 31. Callaway. Gotcha. I tossed Mac and Lucky each a cold beer. Mac saluted me and popped the top, taking a long pull. It was hot and the guys were all sweaty. I owed them beer at the very least. Lots and lots of beer. Not that I would not have hauled ass for any of them. Even Mac, that bastard. We had nearly come to blows a couple of weeks before. Or I tried to beat the crap out of him but failed, mostly due to being shit-housed. I tried to keep me from drinking myself into oblivion during the almost breakup with Moles. Not surprisingly, my drunk ass had taken offense. I reminded myself not to blame him. He had been tending bar and just following orders. Dev had said to cut me off, so he did, like a good little soldier. Now he was here with the others in my time of need, and I really fucking needed every last one of them. Today was moving day. Mac, his cousin Donnie, Dev, Jack, and Whiskey were here. Even Lucky had showed. Even though the guy had been riding me mercilessly about Molly, he kept asking me if she had a twin sister for him to bone. I knew he was doing it to irritate me, and it worked. I did not find it even slightly amusing. I shook my head. Dev had told me I could not murder him. Dev was the club president, since he was also carrying my shit, just like the rest of us. I decided to do as he asked. Mac was the only real grunt here, still in the probationary stage of membership. But as the cousin of Donnie and the new club bartender, he had a lot more pull than your average recruit. Hell, even as the extended family, he was already in the family even before he set foot in the clubhouse. Even my sweet granny, Bonnie, was protected by the SOS. It was not so hard to imagine her in leather, truth be told. I grabbed another box and carried it into the house. Our house. Nobody had noticed that it was all my shit, I grimaced. Molly really did not have a pot to piss in. I wanted to change all that. Not only was the deed of the house in both our names, but I had already started buying her clothes. I wanted her to have books, makeup, jewelry, and anything her heart desired. I had forced her to pick out all the paint colors and light fixtures. She had been shy at first, but once she got the hang of it, it was easy going. I grinned to myself. My woman has damn fine taste, if I do say so myself. Jack walked past me carrying, I shit you not, a stack of 5 boxes. He looked at me with a raised eyebrow. I pointed to the kitchen. With a grunt, he ambled that way, looking not unlike a redwood that had uprooted itself from the earth and was helping me move. The man really was a giant. I laughed and set my box down in the bedroom, then jogged out to get another. Just in time to see a car pull up. I saw a flash of red hair and knew immediately that Janet was driving. I squinted and saw that Kaylee was in the front seat. Molly was in the back, peering out the window at the house. Yeah, they were all craning their necks. I smirked, wagging my finger at them. You ladies were not supposed to be here yet. Molly smiled beatifically. We were just taking a quick ride. Becky jumped in, finishing her sentence. And we just happened to pass this way, so... Kaylee jumped in, so we decided to say hi. I shook my head sternly. You were all being nosy. Just admit it. They looked at each other guiltily. All of them looked contrite, except Janet, who was giving me a knowing smile. I crossed my arms over my chest and looked at them. Everything was supposed to be perfect before Molly saw it. It is a surprise, remember? It is perfect. She pipes up. I smiled at her. She was so sweet and loyal. She was wedged between Becky and Sally, or I would have pulled her out and put her over my knee for a soft spanking. After kissing those luscious lips of hers, I made a mental note to put a spanking on the menu for tonight. She had not minded last time and it had made me even hornier than usual. That ass of hers was epic. Basically, it had turned me into a set of balls with an erect dick dragging a man around behind him. Alright, if you want to see it, you can come in. I was about to start unpacking, so you did not have to do it. But I want to. Janet got out of the car, slamming the door shut. Silly man. Do you not know women love unpacking? She raised an eyebrow as she walked past. Otherwise, how can we tell you men where things are when you cannot find them? My jaw dropped, and Kaylee and Molly started giggling. Becky nodded wisely, patting my shoulder. It is not like you are not going to ask her where something is 50 times a day. I am? Yes, it is biology. Becky nodded sagely and followed Janet toward the house. Sally and Kaylee were right behind her. I caught Molly in my arms when she tried to sneak past me. Oh no, you do not. She squealed as I hoisted her up against me so that her cute little feet were dangling in the air. Cut away. You are a bad little girl, you know that? Her cheeks turned bright pink as she played along. I am? Oh yes. And later tonight you are going to get a spanking. Her eyes got wider and her cheeks got redder. She opened her mouth to protest, but I stopped her with a kiss. A thorough, heart-thumping, toe-curling kiss that went right to my dick. Yeah, I was once again a walking erection. I sat her down and took her hand, letting her lead me down the front path. It was the original brick, but we had pulled it up and laid again it in a herringbone pattern, just like the picture Molly had picked out online. I wanted her to love every little thing about this house, and I had gone out of my way to make everything perfect for her, starting with the front door. Her favorite colors were blue and green. She especially loved mixing them together to make teal. So our front door was, it is beautiful. Perfect. She traced the outline of the honeybee door knocker I had bought her and smiled. You got it. How did you know? I grinned, shrugging. I had asked the girls for help, and they had gone above and beyond. Janet had taken downtime at work to help her set up a Pinterest account, then put it on her phone. The girls had encouraged her to look far and wide just for fun, and she had gotten into the spirit of things. Just wait. I hesitated. I wanted to get everything set up first. Call away if you do not let me inside that house. I am going to go crazy. I raised my eyebrows. Sexy crazy? No. Nervous breakdown crazy. Well, we cannot have that, can we? I tried to kiss her again, but she just laughed and shook her head at me. I loved making this woman laugh. I kissed her hard and fast before she could protest and then stepped aside. She looked at me, her eyes shining, and I nodded. Go on. She squealed as I scooped her up and carried her through the door. Everything got really quiet as we stepped over the threshold. Almost like the whole world knew this was an important moment. I swear to God, not even a single bird chirped. I sat her down slowly and she did a slow circle. Oh, Calloway. Her breathy sigh of pleasure sounded so close to the way she sounded right before she came. My balls felt heavy as cannonballs. I gulped, realizing me and my erection were going to have to wait a long time. Our house was full of people and the truck was only halfway unloaded. But the moment I was going to have to shoo everyone away so we could christen the house. Every damn room of it. Maybe some of them twice. She turned in a circle, then glanced at me. It hit me like a gut punch, the warmth spreading out from my belly. She loved it. I could tell from the look in her eyes. Do you like it? She squealed and threw herself at me. Her arms wrapped around me and I lifted her off her feet again. It was so easy to hold her up. She was so little and I was over 6 foot tall. I had started calling her my little doll, which earned me an eye roll. She was, though. She was my living, breathing doll. Perfect and sweet and all mine. Whooping and hollering made us break the kiss. Our friends laughing and applauding, even Jack. I grinned as Lucky shouted, "Get a room!" with more than a hint of jealousy. Her cheeks were red. I loved how shy she still was, even after all the filthy things I did to her on a daily basis. It was too cute. She squeezed my hand. Show me the rest. Chapter 32. Mori. Ni had done it. Ni had really done it. This was beyond anything I had ever expected. Anything I had ever dreamed of. And it was all for us to start our life together. But the details, the tiny little things I had chosen, he had done that for me. Calloway had truly created my dream house. Everywhere I looked, there were hints of things I had picked out. Janet and the girls had tricked me into finding things I had liked, spending hours with me picking things out for inspiration. They must have shown him the little sneaks. I would never ever in a million years have asked for all of this, for any of it, really. There are 2 window seats too. There was one in the master bedroom with built-in bookshelves and cabinets on either side. There was a larger window seat in the front room, which would be cozily warmed by the radiator underneath in the cooler months. Sally had made the cushions for both. All those years touring in sparkly custom-made costumes had made her good with a needle and thread. I ran my hand over the cotton cushion that covered the bench in front of the bay window. It was the perfect spot to sit and make a phone call or read a book. You could watch people go by and see the roses grow up the low white picket fence that enclosed the front yard. Calloway had planted roses. For me. I sighed dreamily, hugging myself with my arms. We had been unpacking for hours. The last of our friends had just left. Tommy would arrive tomorrow. There were still loads of boxes to unpack, but not that many. It was not like I had that much stuff. Calloway had kept lots of stuff from the house of his grandmother in storage, so that was here, but he was not exactly a pack rat. It was mostly kitchen stuff and blankets, along with some cool-looking mid-century stuff that he had or planned to refinish. Clean clothes were folded neatly in the drawers and hung in the closets, and pillows and fresh linens were on the beds. Other things had yet to find their place, but the basics were done. That was it. I was finally home. For the first time since the accident that ripped my family apart, I had home. "Hey you!" His arms slipped around me from behind. "Hey you," I answered, leaning back against him. His scent enveloped me. He smelled faintly of good clean sweat and leather. The man did not even have BO as far as I could tell. Time to call it a day. I nodded. "You guys started early. You must be bone tired." Naim had a noise of agreement and pulled me closer. I gasped as I felt his erection pressed into my bottom. His really big, really hard, burning hot erection. "Cal? Well, you said bone. That is all it takes? Breathing is all it takes when I am around you." He turned me around to face him and took my face in his hands. He looked me over, running his thumb over my jaw. "God, you are beautiful." I smiled shyly, not sure what to say. Man gave me so many compliments. I still was not used to it. His words caused a thrill to run through me. It settled in my gut and lower. Warmth spread through me at his words and his touch. "Come on, baby girl. Let us go in the bedroom." I squealed as he lifted me up into his arms, making a big show of tossing me over his shoulder. Then he pulled me to the front and kissed me. Loved manhandling me. I have to say I did not much mind it either. He carried me down the hallway, never taking his eyes from my face. I giggled as he nearly knocked into a wall and was forced to look where he was going. Nani gave me a searing look as he carried me into the bedroom. He set me on my feet and pressed me against the wall by the door. I gasped as his lips found the sensitive spot on my neck, and his hands went right for my breasts, tweaking the nipples and stroking my chest through my shirt. Oh lordy, that was hot. I feel like a teenager getting felt up in the back of a car. Not that I had ever done such a thing. My high school years had not been normal. I was more than making up for lost time with Calloway though. I whimpered as his fingers stroked my pussy through my jeans. Then he was tugging my jeans over my hips and taking my panties with them. He knelt, pulling the clothes off my feet and kissing my quivering thighs. Oh, sure, I am your snack. You would not deny a starving man, would you? No. Oh, I sighed. My head fell back as he pressed his hot, wet mouth against my pussy lips, teasing and tasting me until I thought I would scream in pleasure. He slid a finger inside me and sucked my clit into his mouth, thrumming his tongue against it. Dear Lord, the man was thorough. I started to shake as the first wave of pleasure washed over me, crashing down and leaving me limp and satisfied. But then Kel was on his feet, his huge dick nudging itself between my thighs. He slid into me with an animalistic grunt. Kel! The wall, I moaned as he started to move his hips in smooth circles. You said sex in the bed. He stared at me hard, his dick driving steadily in and out of me. I said the bedroom. His mouth curled into a half smile. But do not worry, we will get to the bed. The night is young. My hands clawed into his shoulders as a second wave of unbelievable pressure overtook me. I screamed softly as he drove into me faster and harder. My back slammed into the wall again and again, but it did not hurt. No, it felt perfect. It felt amazing. Oh! I came again and his big hands squeezed my cheeks. He had one in each palm. He spread my legs a little wider and bit my neck. I howled in pleasure and he kept going. I felt him reach down between us and drag his finger over my clit. So he was holding me up with only one hand, plunging into me and rubbing my clit. Oh my God, Cal, what are you? I screamed again, this time really loud. That is it, babe. Get it out of your system tonight because after tomorrow you are going to have to be quiet. I was almost blubbering with orgasmic exhaustion by the time I felt his dick twitch and swell inside me. Then I come inside you. His voice was gruff with need. I realized that I wanted him to come inside me. More than that, I needed him to. I had let him before. But for the time, I actually craved the explosion of pleasure that happened when we came together. Something about his dick pulsing his seed inside me tipped me over the edge every single time. And also I wanted his baby. I wanted it so bad it nearly made me lose my mind. Yes! I threw his head back and let loose, driving into me hard and fast. He stopped suddenly, holding perfectly still. Then he went wild, thrusting out of tempo and grunting like a wild beast. I was just as bad, mewling like an alley cat in heat as wave after wave of pleasure crashed through me. I must have passed out because I woke up on the bed. Cal was above me, staring at me with a look of concern. You okay, babe? Yeah, I think so. What happened? You blacked out. Is that normal? He frowned and opened his mouth, then shook his head. No comment. Then you sit up for me. I sat up and he handed me a glass of water. Drink this, then get some rest. So we will not be christening the whole house tonight? No, we are going to have to wait until Tommy goes to college. I laughed and Cal raised an eyebrow. But if we get up early enough, we could get one more room or two. I nodded. It is a deal. He lay back on the pillows and pulled me into his chest. I rested my head on his shoulder and sighed in contentment. Our first night in our new bed in our new home. I fell asleep with a smile on my face. Chapter 33. Cutaway. You got that, buddy? Tommy gave me a nod. I was using his cane tonight and helping Molly and me with the party. I told him to sit his ass down, but the kid was stubborn as hell, just like his beautiful sister. We had been here a week, all three of us, and we were doing just fine. Most nights we ate in, but we had gone to the home of Jack and Janet for dinner once. Next week Donnie and Sally were having us over, and Kaylee had invited us once the baby was born, of course. She was ready to pop though, so we were all telling her to take it easy. She had that mama bear instinct already though. She always had. She might be young, but she mothered us all from time to time, especially before any of us had women to look after us. I smiled at Molly, who was sitting between Kaylee and Becky on the window seat. She was wearing a pretty floral dress, red with little white flowers. Her gorgeous legs were tucked up beneath her. She smiled at me and her smile literally lit up the room. She was drinking a white wine tonight, her second glass. I wondered how much she had drank in her lifetime. This was probably the most she had ever had in one sitting. I hope she got horny when she got tipsy. More than that, I hope she was in an agreeable mood, because I had a very important question to ask her. I was pretty sure she was going to say yes, but there was no guarantee. But she was worth the risk. Man up, Callaway. It is time. I cleared my throat and looked around. Everyone was here. Tommy was in cahoots with me and he had hidden a bucket of ice in his room with a bottle of champagne chilling in it. Hopefully we would have a reason to pop it. Hopefully she would say yes. But what if she did not? Everybody, I have to ask Molly something. The room got quiet real fast. I looked at Molls. She knew something was up. I walked over and took her hand, bringing her to the center of the room. Molly, from the first time I saw you, I knew my life was going to change. I knew I had to become a better man. A man who deserved you. Her eyes filled with tears as I lowered myself to one knee. I had a ring in my pocket and I held it out to her. It was a simple gold band with a solitaire diamond. Her eyes got as round as saucers. I loved surprising her. I just hoped it was a good surprise. I would be the luckiest man alive if you would agree to be my wife. Her hand flew to her mouth. She had not been expecting this. Was that a moment of panic I saw in her eyes? Will you marry me? She took a deep breath. She swallowed. She lowered her hand from her mouth. Yes. Yes, I will marry you, Calloway. I shot to my feet, pulling her into my arms. I kissed her hard and lifted her off her feet while everyone cheered. Then I realized I still had the ring in my hand. I sat her down and took her left hand, carefully sliding the ring on. It fit perfectly thanks to Janet, who had tricked her into trying on a ring. She stared at her hand, then at me. Then we kissed again. Who is going to help me pop this? Tommy was grinning from ear to ear, holding up the bottle and a stack of plastic champagne flutes. Everyone rushed to help him at once. Mac popped the bottle and Janet grabbed the champagne flutes. Mac popped it with one hand and started filling glasses while Janet handed them out. I held Molly close against my side as everyone came to hug and kiss us. Soon we were all drinking and well, except Kaylee, who had a glass of sparkling apple juice we had bought for her and Tommy. Come to think of it, looked like Sally was drinking the soft stuff too. We all sat down again, the room full of happy people talking all at the same time. A couple of kids ran around the room with her twins sitting at her feet, staring at her ring. Suddenly everything changed. Dev? Her sweet voice rang out, and he was at her side in an instant. She sounded worried. We all turned to look at her. I think I just ruined your chair, guys. My water broke. Molly ran to her side. Do not be silly. It is just a chair. You are having a baby. Kaylee looked pale. Yes, I am. Right now, it looks like Devlin slipped her jacket over her shoulders and hoisted her purse onto his arm. Come on, love. Let us go. Chapter 34. Molly. 4 men in leather were pacing back and forth. Devlin was in the delivery room with Kaylee, and Jack had taken up a spot on the wall. I was the only one not pacing. Well, except Lucky, who was snoring loudly slumped over in a corner seat. Apparently, he had still been hungover when he got the call, which is why he had been late for our party. But he was a devil rider, so he was here. Becky and I exchanged an eye roll. You would think the rest of them were the ones who were about to give birth. It warmed my heart, though. They all went to every delivery. If Cal and I had a baby, they would all be there waiting. Kaylee was the old lady of the press, and this was his first child, so this was an extra special occasion. He had been the first to partner off. And Kaylee had been like a little sister and a den mother to all of them. She was the first lady of the club, and she was about to have her first baby. Not that any of that mattered to me. I was just happy for my friend. Childbirth was a complicated thing, and there was always a bit of worry involved. But I refused to give in to it. Lord only knew what was happening in there. We were all trying not to worry. Well, the girls were anyway. The guys all appeared to be extremely worried, Jack and Lucky notwithstanding. My phone pinged. You would think Kaylee was giving birth to a custom hog. I giggled. Janet was so funny. It was a group text, and Sally was the next to respond. Or a very large bottle of tequila. Becky snorted a laugh, and we all hid our smiles. I watched the guys circle each other. Mac and Calloway accidentally bumped shoulders in passing and nearly growled at each other. Honestly, they were acting like a pack of wolves. Enough. Janet stood and glared at each of them. As his wife, she was the second highest ranking of all the girls. Not that she ever pulled rank, but she did have a bossy side. She pointed at Donnie. You go get snacks and water for everyone. She pointed at Mac. You go with him. Calloway, sit your ass down. Whiskey, go check on the bikes and take Becky for some air. Last, she pointed at her husband. You carry on holding the building up. Then she waited until everyone sprang into action and very slowly sat down. The girls broke into applause as Whiskey took her hand and tucked it into his arm. Then they left too. Jack was smiling the whole damn time. All hail the queen, I joked, and Janet winked at me. Fewer than 20 minutes later, everyone was back. No one was pacing, and we were all eating junk food and chips from the dining hall. Everyone except Janet and Sally. Janet because she was extremely health conscious, and Sally because, as she would whisper to me softly a few minutes ago, she was finally expecting and would not put anything that was not organic near her lips. I had squeezed her hand in silent celebration. The room got quiet. Jack stood up from where he was leaning against the wall, and I swore I heard the building groan from the sudden loss of a support beam. I looked around to see everyone staring at the double doors that led to the delivery wing. Dev stood there holding a box of cigars. It is a boy. Everyone went nuts. Even Lucky woke up and congratulated Devlin. The guys all accepted a cigar, though Janet reminded them they would have to wait to go outside to smoke them. Then we all hurried down the hallway to see Kaylee. She looked stunning, fresh-faced and joyful, holding a tiny bundle in her arms. Her hair was a little messier than usual, but that was it. The woman was unfairly perfect, and if I did not love her so much, I might have been jealous of how angelic she looked. She smiled when she saw us and we crowded around wanting a look. She tugged the blanket down a bit so we could see his face. I was perfect. Tiny and red but perfect. I could already tell he was going to be a heartbreaker. We named him John. Devlin smiled at her, putting his arm around her and beaming. After my brother. Is perfect. I murmured to Kaylee when it was my turn to lean over. She smiled happily. I know. Later, when we were at home alone and curled up in bed, Calloway told me how badly he had always wanted a family of his own. Like me, he had grown up without parents. It was not that he did not love Bonnie. He did, and he knew he was lucky to have her, but he wanted what everyone else had. Every television show, every movie, everywhere you looked, there were two parents and a kid or two. He whispered to me that he wanted more than two. I laughed and told him to slow his roll. He attacked me, rolling me to my back. He caught my hands in his, holding them above my head. Slow my roll? Yes. I wiggled, trying to get away from his hot lips where they pressed against my neck. He just laughed, giving me tiny little kisses that tickled. He breathed into my ear, and I squealed, my whole body breaking out in goosebumps. That is when I felt it. Calloway was hard again. Cal. What? But he grinned at me. Like I said, I want it all. He leaned down to kiss me, and I wanted all the time. He released my hands and I slid them around his neck as he started making love to me. You are lucky then. I did not lift his head as he worked his way down my body, kissing as he went. Finally he looked up, playing idly with my nipple. Why is that? Because I want it all too. He grinned and gave me a little love bite. I love you soon to be Mrs. Molly Calloway. I love you too. 6 months later, Calloway. There is no reason to wait. We should do it now. Today. I waved the marriage license in the air. Molly was in college and so busy with school and Tommy, even though I helped a lot with her kid brother. And for the past few days, I had had a strong feeling she was not telling me something. I had a feeling I knew what it was. Her cute little pajamas had given her away. She usually wore these little camisoles and short sets to sleep. They drove me absolutely crazy. They were so close to naked but far too covered up. And usually the tops hung loosely over the waistband of the shorts. But not lately. Lately they were riding up. Her normally flat tummy had started to stick out just a little bit. To tell the truth, it was sexy as hell. So were her swelling breasts. I was almost 100% sure she was pregnant. Or hitting the donut shop near her college really hard. Either way, I liked it a lot. I had been sitting on the feeling for almost a week now, waiting for her to tell me. I wanted to get married first. I had been waiting 6 months for her to think it was the right time, and this was it. Our baby was not being born out of wedlock, damn it. Not that I cared about that shit. Not for anyone else. But for my little girl or boy. Hell no. Things were not going down like that. Are you serious? Molly had her hair in a bun with a pencil sticking through it. She was wearing floral sweatpants and a tank top that clung to her curves. Her juicier than ever brand spanking new curves. She must think I was an idiot. Yes, I am serious. It is time. But we cannot just get married. We have to plan it. Yes, we can. I already called Preacher from the Untouchables. I is happy to do a fly-by wedding. Gives him a chance to ride fast and look at pretty girls, the bastard. She giggled, then she sobered. You really are serious? Yes, I am. Why now? I thought we were going to plan everything. I sat beside her in the window seat and pulled her into my lap. It is okay if you are scared. We are going to do this together. I put my hand on her belly so she knew what I was talking about. Do what? The wedding? I stared at her. She was not being cute. She just holy hell. She does not know. I cleared my throat. I did not want to freak her out. I had better ease into it. Let her come to the right conclusion. How are you feeling lately, sweetheart? Any different? I have been pretty tired lately, I guess. And hungry than usual. And what about these gorgeous melons? She giggled as I fondled her breasts. Then she swatted me away when I gave her a gentle squeeze. Oh, sore? Oh, yes. What about nausea? Have you been feeling sick? She looked at me and blinked. Did you hear me? Hear what? Hear me puking. I tried to be quiet. I guess I ate something bad and… Shh, sweetheart. I do not think it was something you ate. She stared at me. Then what? I stared right back, my eyes telling her that it was something else entirely. I rubbed her tummy again. She looked down and then back up at me. Then she jumped clean off my lap. Oh my God. I smiled at her and patted my lap. It is okay, sweetheart. Come sit. I am such an idiot. No, you are not. It is not like you have ever been pregnant before. I should be taking vitamins and stuff. It is okay. We will get all that. Let us just take a test first. Okay, I will go to the drugstore. I smiled sheepishly. I already have some in the hall closet. She stared at me and shook her head slowly. You knew before I did. Looks that way. So you want to take the test? She nodded and I followed her down the hall. I stood outside the door while she used the test. She's way too shy to pee with the door open. I kind of wanted to see her pee, but I did not tell her that. She would have just called me a pervert. And the truth was, she would be right. I was a filthy, dirty pervert, but only where she was involved. It has been like that from the first moment I laid eyes on her. The door opened and Molly stood there. She looked over her shoulder at the stick sitting on the countertop. Very slowly, we walked over to it together. We stared, not looking away as the little minus sign slowly turned into a plus. I held her tightly, kissing her lips over and over again. Finally, I let go and she rested her head against my chest. I was going to be a daddy. So, how about that last-minute wedding? That is how I ended up standing on the roof deck of Jack's a couple of days later wearing a black suit. I was surrounded by the inner circle and a few other club guys. Reacher was there drinking way too much tequila for a man of the cloth, even if the cloth was leather in his case. Tommy was the ring bearer and we had loads of flower girls. He could walk now and was attending high school, though he was a couple of years behind. Honey had tutors and was taking extra classes and attending summer school to catch up. He would end up graduating a year or two behind where he would have. It was good enough. I was going to be okay. I was wearing a gray suit jacket and jeans. He had a little flower in his jacket, just like the rest of the guys. We were ready. The girls, however, were nowhere to be found. Molly had not agreed to marry me that day, but she had agreed to marry me 3 days later. Jack and Janet had gone all out. The loft was tricked out below with tables and chairs surrounding an impromptu dance floor. The roof deck always looked festive with the string lights, but they had gone above and beyond. Twinkling lights, flowers, and white bunting were everywhere. Honestly, I cannot really believe they pulled it off so fast, but I owed them everything for doing it. I would give them anything, including a kidney. Anything but my bride. A red-headed little boy ran up and whispered in his ear. He nodded and we all got into position. Mac played his guitar softly as we all turned to look at the stairs that opened onto the roof deck. A soft breeze made the lights swing just so. It was the perfect night. We were lucky, I thought, just as the door swung open. And then I ceased to think at all. An angel was floating toward me. Her long dark hair was loose, with flowers woven through it. Her beautiful face was serene, with just a hint of makeup. Her lips were extra rosy, and there was just a touch of shadow and liner around her gorgeous blue eyes. The dress was white silk, and it clung to her curves. She held a bouquet dripping with white flowers in her perfect little hands. My mouth went dry as she walked toward me. My mouth must have been open because when she took her place beside me, she gently reached out and lifted my chin to close it. I smiled at her, feeling like a dope, the luckiest damn idiot in the entire world. Then the ceremony began. We are gathered here today to bind these two in marriage. This filthy degenerate with this exquisite young beauty. Now, miss, I have to tell you that you do not have to go through with this. There are always other fish in the sea, and if you like an older man in leather, there are plenty of options. I growled at the cheeky bastard and he winked at me. Molly giggled. Get on with it, preacher. He looked at Molly. Are you sure, sweetheart? I am sure. He sighed dramatically. You always were a lucky bastard, Calloway. I smiled at him, feeling magnanimous. Molly had not hesitated. She loved me. Preacher had a way with the ladies. I was in his late 40s and wore his hair long and his beard was pure white. Apparently, he turned down as many women as I did, and that was saying something. I know it is Santa Claus. He laughed at me, but I knew he would make me pay for it later. Do you, young Calloway, take this flawless creature to be your wife? I do. And do you, beautiful angel, take this disreputable man to be your husband? Yes, I do. Molly was trying not to giggle. He sighed mournfully. Then I have no choice. I must pronounce you man and wife. The crowd whooped and hollered as I kissed her. I was shocked when Preacher pulled her against him and kissed her soundly. He set a surprised Molly on her feet and winked at me as he headed to the bar. That is for not waiting for permission. I glared at his back, ready to do murder. A heavy hand landed on my shoulder. Shake it off, young Calloway. I looked at Jack, then back at the Preacher. You think he would survive if I threw him off the roof? Cannot let you do that. Too many custom motorcycles parked downstairs. You might hurt one. I laughed and we shook hands. I was quickly surrounded by well-wishers. Children were weaving around between our legs playing a game of tag. Champagne and drinks were handed out. Photos were taken. And then it was time to go downstairs and eat. The string lights were hanging down there too. Jack and Janet had mostly moved into the new house and were deciding what to do with this place. It made one hell of an event venue, and I told him that. The high ceilings and old windows, molding and gorgeous wood floors. It felt like we were in a loft in New York City. Something you would see on TV with rich folks hanging around eating strange food and talking about their stock portfolios and summer houses. It was more than we could have asked for, especially with 3 days' notice. In fact, it was pretty much a miracle. Everyone ate, then Mac and Donnie did some light DJ. Then it was time for the toasts and I prepared for some brutal teasing. Molly looked adorably shocked as the story started coming out. I cringed a time or two, but it was not too bad. Anyway, my colorful past was firmly behind me. First Whiskey roasted me, then Donnie roasted me. Even Quiet Mac roasted me, though it was brief. Thankfully, Jack refused to let Lucky anywhere near the mic. That would have been a disaster. But then Jack and Dev made up for it. Callaway is a good man, and he is going to be a good husband and father. I love him like a brother. Congratulations, little brother. I laughed and cheered as the giant took his seat. It was the shortest wedding toast in the world, but in my opinion, it was also the best. Then it was the turn of Dev. Molly is already like family to us. Tommy too. I turned to see her brother turn red. I idolized Devlin, just like the rest of us did. We are unusually blessed in the people we spend every day with. Callaway is one of a kind. There were times I worried that he would not grow up. All it took was one look at you, Molly, and he changed, and became the man we all knew he could be. There was an empty spot inside him and you filled it. We are glad to call you both family. I looked at Molly. She was sitting beside me, holding a champagne glass. Hers had sparkling water in it, though nobody could tell. We were not ready to tell folks about the baby yet. But soon. She was so beautiful it took my breath away. The room erupted in cheers and we waved. I pulled her chair even closer to mine and wrapped my arm around her slender waist. Sweetheart? Yes? Why do we not sneak out of here? We could leave early for the honeymoon. Stop at home and have a little alone time. Honeymoon? I smiled. I had kept that part a secret too. I thought we would just go someplace casual, no big deal. Casual? How does Hawaii sound? Hawaii? Yes, for a week or two. Her eyes got wide. But Tommy and school, it is all taken care of. I is going to crash at the home of Donnie for a few weeks, and I talked to all your professors. They can email you the assignments. How do you feel about studying on the beach? She nodded eagerly. Yes, please. I have never been anywhere nice. This is thank you so much. She kissed me so sweetly, I felt like I might float off my seat. I have never been this happy in my life. I have never felt so blessed. Kiss me again, sweetheart, and tell me you love me. She tilted her head and our lips met. She was so sweet and gentle. She looked so perfect. Something about her always made me want to mess up her hair. Not with my hands, but from her head rubbing on the pillows while I had my way with her. I love you, Callaway. I love you more than I ever thought possible. I love you, sweetheart. I will love you until the day I die and afterward too. I am yours for all eternity. She giggled, her arms still around my neck. Okay then. Okay, what? Hey, let us get out of here. We waited until the cake was served. We made a big show of cutting it. Then she made a big show of getting some on my shirt. We went to the kitchen to clean up. Except we did not stay there. Giggling like school children, we snuck to the giant industrial elevator and closed the gate. Only I had forgotten how loud the motor was. As the elevator slowly started to descend, our friends surrounded the cage and started throwing flower petals on us. We laughed as they teased us for sneaking off. And I kissed my bride as a flurry of white rose petals showered down around us. Like I said, it was perfect. This concludes Marked by the Devil by Joanna Blake. Narrated by Troy Duran and Kendall Taylor. Copyright 2018 by Joanna Blake. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with Joanna Blake, care of Hirschman Rights Management, LLC, and was produced in the year 2020 by Tantor Incorporated, a division of Recorded Books, which holds the copyright thereto. Please visit tantor.com for more information on our growing library of unabridged audiobooks.